Buxu Hall. In front of the main hall, there are still traces of the fighting. With a flash of golden light, Fang Qing had already stepped into the palace door. After getting the 5-element spirit fruit, which is the core of this trip, his second goal is this palace. Back then, Master Bihai was suspected of wanting to open the treasures of this palace, but he was banned from doing so, and he became like this. The last time Ling Hu Chuya and others came, they also did not attack the ban of this palace. Fang Qing walked into the main hall, and the plum blossom E was running in his heart, and he got a hexagram, great luck. He looked inside the restriction, and there seemed to be jade platforms, and they were covered with shadows, making it difficult to see clearly. Fang Qing immediately patted the storage bag, and strange small puppets appeared one after another. Among them are birds, geckos, and villains. They each hold talismans, spirit beads, and other objects that are prohibited by the formation, and try to enter the depths of the hall from different angles. Fang Qing is not very proficient in this puppet technique, but it is quite good to use it as cannon fodder at times like this to test the power of restraint. Bang! Suddenly, a black light fell, and the bird holding the talisman in its mouth instantly turned into ashes. The talisman sacrifice flashed with 3 colors of light and instantly turned into darkness. Boom! In the corner of the hall, a ball of sparks exploded, causing the gecko puppet to fall apart. One of the spirit beads made a whistling sound, and then collapsed. Fang Qing watched this scene silently, communicating Daoshengzhu, Qin is like snow. This is the reaction of the formation beads and the spirit test paper. How about the big formation? Outside the secret realm, inside the bronze underground palace, Qin Ruxue, who was sitting cross-legged, opened her eyes and glanced at Ruan Jishuan guiltily, but found that the woman had no reaction at all. Then she answered in her heart, Sir, the darkness of the spiritual test paper shows that the restriction of this formation is broken. The sound of the wind whistling from the formation beads represents the attributes and power of this formation. According to what I have seen, this formation was originally sharp and extraordinary, but over time, most of it failed. It was also attacked by the Dongjia monks, which drained away most of its power and became broken. To this day, as long as the young master enters the gun position, destroying several fixed formations with the power of pill formation will definitely break the formation restrictions. Qin Ruxue is still in the middle stage of foundation construction these years, but she ignores secular affairs in the sect and concentrates on studying formations. She has long been a second-level high-level formation mage, and there is even a faint possibility of reaching the 3rd level. At this time, Fang Qing appeared. Help to verify, break the formation very quickly. Boom. The palace was filled with light, and turned into the energy of water, fire, wind, and thunder, shaking Fang Qing's sleeves. After a while, all the restrictions disappeared, leaving only the high platforms. Fang Qing's consciousness swept away and he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Most of these high platforms were empty, and only a few places still contained items. He stepped forward and picked up an ancient spear. The entire body of the spear was made of bronze, with a simple style. It was not a magic weapon, but an exotic treasure with no grade. However, this rare treasure is obviously very good, much stronger than the mirage bead in my hand. In the hands of a foundation-building monk, I'm afraid it can only be used as a spiritual weapon, but in the hands of a pill-forming monk, it might be used as a magic weapon. What about in the hands of a nascent soul monk? Fang Qing shook his head, put the ancient gem away, and went to another place. There is only a piece of dark ore on this high platform, with a deep color. Even in Fang Qing's consciousness, it is like a black hole, as if it wants to suck all his consciousness into it. It doesn't look like a 3rd-order mineral. Could it be a 4th-order spiritual mine? If it is really the 4th level, when refining the natal magic weapon in the future, incorporating some of it will definitely greatly increase the power of the natal magic weapon. Fang Qing also took out a jade box, collected the materials, and came to the jade platform where the last item was stored. There was only one thing on the jade platform, which was a token, showing a faint blue color and shining brightly. Swallowing the sea? On the surface of the token, there are 2 ancient characters engraved with cloud patterns. After Fang Qing identified it, he suddenly frowned. What about swallowing the sea? Swallow Haizong? Master Tun Hai? He picked up the token and found that it was also a magic weapon that could be used for sacrifice. After a little refinement, the back of the token was shining with golden light, and countless words smaller than ants appeared, which together formed a magic formula, swallowing the sea kung fu. Swallowing the sea kung fu? Fang Qing's spiritual consciousness swept over and became somewhat clear. It's so powerful. It's also a water-based technique, but it's extremely domineering. It's more profound than Blue Sea Kung Fu, and there's a faint sense of the same lineage. Huh? There is actually a part about cultivation in the nascent soul stage, and a description of the final breakthrough into the divine transformation stage? I see. Could it be that Master Bihai came here to get back this inheritance? Bai Hai Gong can only reach the early stage of yuanying, and then there is no way forward. Zhen Bihai was a great monk who had perfected the elixir formation. Nascent soul was in sight. Perhaps he heard the news of swallowing Si Kung, the superior technique of Bihai Gong, from somewhere, so he searched for the secret realm in many ways. Finally, he found the Buksu Palace all the way, but was blocked by the formation and died on the spot. However, although Master Bihai is not as good as me, he shouldn't be stupid enough to attack the band and cause a backlash, right? Fang Qing put away the sea swallowing order and thought, could it be some kind of plot? So big, Zhang Hongxiu looked at the tortoise shell in front of him, and couldn't help but be stunned. The tortoise shell was as huge as a mountain, with a palace built inside, and it felt like it was a small world of its own. She previously sensed the qi of the Guihaju and found a cave, but accidentally touched the restriction and was transported here. If this turtle shell is peeled off, how big should the Wancho turtle be? Zhang Hongxiu has seen the Jiang family second-order Wancho turtle back then. Compared with the turtle shell now, the difference is not between a baby and a giant, but between an ant and a giant. Could it be a third-order Wancho turtle? Even level 4? She couldn't help but murmured in a low voice, haha, the female doll is knowledgeable. Suddenly, an old voice sounded, who is it? Zhang Hongxiu was startled. Her consciousness had already scanned the surroundings, but she saw nothing strange. Shocked, she quickly affixed a few defensive and evil-driving talismans on her body, and held the spiritual weapon in her hand. The little kid is rude to me, old turtle. The old voice sounded again, and this time it seemed to be heard directly in Zhang Hongxiu's sea of consciousness. Are you a human or a ghost? Zhang Hongxiu was a foundation-building overhaul after all, and he had calmed down and asked. Haha. Isn't my true body right in front of you? Mr. Turtle laughed. Old you, Jiao. Zhang Hongxiu raised his head and looked at the turtle shell that was higher than the sky of the palace. Are you the turtle spirit of this Wancho turtle? Although the Wancho turtle is famous, third-order ones are extremely rare, let alone fourth-order ones, and they probably only appear in myths and stories. Monsters are known for their long lifespan, and the fourth-level longevity turtle in mythical stories can live for almost 10,000 years. Yes, my mortal body disintegrated, but I am not a ghost cultivator. You call me turtle spirit, but it is also appropriate. As expected of someone with some destiny qualifications, old turtle was not angry but said happily, I wonder what the senior has to do with the junior. Zhang Hongxiu felt uneasy. The fourth-level monster is comparable to the power of Yuanying. The most famous thing about the power of Yuanying is that Yuanying can be separated from the body, and it can be taken away and cultivated at will. The body of this long-lived turtle has fallen, there is only one remnant soul left, right? It's just that I felt happy when I saw you practicing the Guihaju for prolonging life, Guilao sighed. The Guihaju for prolonging life? I got this technique from Isanxiu Cave Mansion. Zhang Hongxiu said in surprise, Senior Jingran, do you recognize it? Of course I recognize it. This is the Nanxiang Palace inheritance of my Zhou Tianxing Palace. Even back then, there were only a few true transmissions to learn. Gui Lao said, you can get it, even if it is just a fragment, it is a good chance. It should be the legacy of the descendants of the great monks who built this secret realm. Zhou Tianxing Palace? Nanxiang Palace? I don't know what kind of force it is. Zhang Hongxiu was even more confused. In the Zhoutian column, I control the stars, the Big Dipper is for death, the South Dipper is for life, Old Turtle said proudly. Zhang Hongxiu was naturally confused. Oh, that's all, I'll come back to talk to you about the matter in Tianqing Palace this week. Gui Lao started to talk a little bit. He couldn't help it. At this moment, he seemed to sense something and couldn't help but yell, oops, the Buksu Palace was opened, and the inheritance of the sea-swallowing demon sect was about to be born. Alas, when the monk who had perfected the pill formation arrived, I should have thought of this scene, the sea-swallowing demon sect. Another one that I have never heard of. Zhang Hongxiu was already numb. But I heard Gui Lao said, this secret realm has not been maintained for many years, and has been opened violently. Sooner or later, it will be scattered in Taishu. I originally thought about returning to Taishu, but I still miss the mortal world, so I am afraid I will return to the living world with you, huh? Zhang Hongxiu's eyes widened. What? I follow you, it will be of great benefit to you. This secret realm looks magnificent to you, and the aura is overwhelming. In fact, it is just a branch of the Zhoutian Star Palace established back then. I know the skills and secrets. The skill is far beyond your imagination. In the future, when you have completed your elixir formation, I can also guide you to the Real Mountain Gate of Zhoutian Star Palace. As long as you obtain 1 or 2 pieces of legacy, it will only take a little effort to condense the nascent soul, Gui Lao said proudly. Zhonglingxiu, have you ever heard of the name, Swallowing the Sea? Fang Qing walked out of Buksu Palace and asked Zhonglingxiu in his mind. The word Tinghai is relatively common. There were alchemy monks before who called themselves Tenhai Zhenren, but they soon fell. According to it was said that it was a violation of the one palace, one temple. Because this matter was interesting, I asked more questions at that time, and found out that swallowing the sea was somewhat taboo. It was suspected to be related to the demonic sect thousands of years ago. It didn't matter whether it was used by ordinary qi refining or found Asian building disciples. Above, once it is involved with these two words, it will always hinder your destiny. Zhong Lingxiu's answer came, no wonder Master Bihai only dares to establish a sect in a remote village. It turns out that his foundation is not very clean. I see that this Bihai Gong has been revised many times, and there is no shadow of magic power anymore, but there is no magic method to speak of. No wonder I always felt that there was something unfinished. Fang Qing finally solved a doubt in his mind. A peek. Fang Qing looked at the colorful light screen in front of him and couldn't help but sigh. It's a 4th level restriction, it's troublesome. After taking advantage of the Buxu Palace, he went non-stop to the next marked location in the Zhoutian Star Palace scroll. It's just that the ban here is still very well preserved, and even Qin Rushua doesn't have any good solutions. After all, no monk who has perfected the alchemy here has ever attacked. I can only wait for the next jazzy. Most of the restrictions in the secret realm are neutron arrays, connected to the formations that protect the secret realm, and this secret realm already has cracks, so it cannot be hidden and will always bear the pressure of the void storm in the void. Therefore, the cracks, the gap will become bigger and bigger, and the power of the restriction will become weaker and weaker. Until one day in the future, the entire secret realm will suddenly collapse and be swallowed up by the void, and the treasure will then fall into the turbulent flow of the void. Maybe it will happen to fall into the world one day and be acquired by a lucky person, becoming an enduring legend. Forget it, let's go to other places to look, or search for materials. I wonder what the lucky girl will get in her hands. Fang Qing took out a jade pendant with some anticipation, and his expression suddenly changed. It's invalid? These are the tricks he did on Zhang Hongxiu back then, and they can be easily located based on this. But after a moment of surprise, he became a little excited again, as expected of the Destiny Child. Is this another great opportunity? No wonder I suddenly had a whim and thought of this woman. It's just, although my positioning method has been solved, the aura and cause and effect are all there, and it is too simple to calculate. Fang Qing counted on his fingers, and Plum Blossomy started running. Huh? If she were to be killed by force, she would be a little evil. Has th. Is woman actually mastered the means to threaten me? On the contrary, if I continue to raise it, there may be a big opportunity to give birth in the future? A look of relief appeared on his face. This Destiny Child has grown up. Fortunately, I have no grudges against her. If we follow the practices of ancient Shu and discover that there is a possibility of the destiny being out of control, even if there is a big opportunity in the future, we will definitely eliminate the root cause without leaving any future troubles. It may even have to be 1 or even 2 higher. Only when you reach a higher level can you be sure of nothing. But Fang Qing still prefers to keep raising it and see the harvest. He continued to divination, and his eyes moved. There is wind under the mountain, the wind is blocked by the mountain, and the qi becomes rotten. Guangui Yao? This lord is haunted by ghosts and gods. Could it be that this girl of destiny finally met her grandfather? No wonder I have the strength to fight back. Then how should I take care of this girl next? If Sanji were to come, he would definitely be very happy to see this woman. He would teach her the Sanskrit Dharma and teach her the way to refine and achieve the Bardo body, so that this woman could unknowingly mix her own chi with the old man's fate and turn her into a 5-tong boy Dharma protector. Buxu Hall walked out of the hall with red sleeves and asked in his heart, Old Turtle. In addition to the inheritance of the sea-swallowing demon sect, what other treasures are there in this temple? It's all gone. There is only one ancient treasure and a 9 abyss stone. This spiritual material is extremely rare. Even the refining of the nascent soul magic weapon is qualified. The voice of Guiling came. The key is the inheritance of the sea-swallowing demon sect. It is very important. Tight, you must find out who got it. There are so many monks who have entered the secret realm. How can we check th? One by one? By the way, Mr. Gue, there is something unclear about the little girl. If the inheritance of the sea-swallowing demon sect is too dangerous, why didn't the ancient monks destroy it directly? Stay here? The light in Zhang Hongxiu's eyes was flowing, and he asked, what's more, according to what Mr. Gue said, Zhou Tianqing Palace is the largest force in the East China Sea cultivation world, so what is there to be afraid of? This, that. Gue Lao's voice was unusually hesitant. I have a lack of spiritual consciousness, but I have forgotten. In short, it must be very important for that inheritance to be preserved here. Zhang Hongxiu smiled slightly and did not answer. She has been wandering for so many years and is no longer a fool. It is also doubtful that this old turtle has taken up residence in her for no reason. We can only remain calm and pry out some more information. Humph, you are a little girl, you don't even know that you are being plotted. Fortunately, I have removed the strangeness on you, otherwise if something unexpected happened, wouldn't it involve me? At this time, Gui Ling's old and angry voice continued to be heard. Mentioning this, Zhang Hongxiu's pretty face turned gloomy. Does Mr. Gui know who did it? Could it be Master Zhong? Although the method is wonderful, it doesn't look like it was done by Jiedan. And it should have been very early, probably when you were refining your qi, said Mr. Gui. Qi refining period? Zhang Hongxiu was a little confused. At that time, my magic power was low, and there were too many monks who could do anything to me. 1.5 months passed quickly. The void passage opened, and one after another scarred qi refining monks staggered out. Even if they are just searching for spiritual materials in the periphery, they will encounter countless dangers, and the loss rate is as high as 60 to 70%. A flash of light. A figure dressed in white and with a sharp and cold temperament emerged. It was Fang Qing. Not only was his breath steady, there was not even a wrinkle on his clothes, which was in sharp contrast to the miserable disciples nearby who had broken limbs and arms. What a swordsman. Master Heiyuan smiled and looked at Wan Jixuan. Wan Jixuan's face was calm, and her eyes showed no fluctuation. Fang Qing, however, looked at Zhong Lingxiu, bowed and stood behind his own sign. This time, the three families also learned wisely. The disciples did not need to check immediately after leaving the secret realm, but only watched them until they returned to the sect. Naturally, there are means to prevent leaks. A few hours later, Tianding, Yuxiang'er and other foundation-building monks also walked out of the passage, with more or less joy on their faces. Bang! Finally, the formation could no longer be maintained, and the void passage exploded into a void storm. Huh? Fang Qing glanced at Zhang Hongxiu beside him, and then looked at the other two places. Baiheman was lucky. In addition to the Tianding, there was also a late-stage foundation-building monk who also survived. At this time, although Wan Jixuan's expression remained unchanged, her consciousness was focused on Fang Qing, and she obviously already knew the information that this sword cultivator was a third-level body refiner. But Master Heiyuan was not lucky. Well, among the 3 late-stage foundation-building demon cultivators, only Yuxiang'er survived, and he also lost the 5-element spirit fruit. Obviously, he already knew the tricks played by Baiheman, and he couldn't help but glared at Tianding. The Chaosheng Pearl is a strange magic weapon, which is hidden in the Dantian after being refined by the monks. Not to mention that Baiheman must have secret techniques or treasures specially concealed. It's because I'm used to using tied beads and have strong spiritual consciousness that I discovered something was wrong with Tianding in advance. Tai-Bai Island. Zhong Lingxiu disperse. Ed the Light looked at the dozen or so qi refining monks in the hall, and said in a deep voice, "Take out all the harvest. The owner of this island promises 1,000 gold, if it is worth it is enough, and can be exchanged for foundation-building spiritual objects, or even foundation-building pills." This foundation-building pill was naturally refined by a certain imprisoned third-level alchemist. With Zhong Lingxiu's strength, it is easy to get a few second-level demon cores, but it is not as difficult as finding second-level demonic beasts. It's the island owner. A group of qi refining monks with pale faces and broken limbs saluted one after another, then took out their storage bags and dumped them down. In an instant, colorful treasure light shone through the entire palace. Inside the most numerous are various spiritual herbs, strange ores, monster materials. There are also a few strange and incomplete ancient magic weapons. Well, not bad. Fang Qing glanced around and couldn't help but be very satisfied. The rare resources such as the 1,000-year-old spiritual grass in his hand have long been turned into various mana-enhancing elixirs. After being promoted and completing the foundation construction, he consumed 7788. This time he can finally get a lot of blood back. In addition, there are some rare third-level spiritual trees, ores, and other resources. Zhong Lingxiu's eyes lit up when he saw it. Third-level coral gold? Is that a purple-grain dragon tree? It's such a big one. Oh, if I had these resources back then, I would have collected all my life. The refining materials for the magic weapon are easy, so why owe the sect so much contribution? Even the quality of the magic weapon can be even better. He patted the storage bag, took out the jade bottles, and handed out the rewards of the foundation establishment pill on the spot. The faces of those qi refining monks who had obtained the foundation establishment pill were naturally red, and EY wished they could die for the island owner. Even those who have contributed less than one foundation-building pill hope to be rewarded later on for their merits, and will be happy to receive a foundation-building spiritual item or even other rare resources. Okay, you go to the side hall and go through double inspection. Zhong Lingxiu waved her hand. In order to prevent these qi refining monks from hiding spiritual resources secretly, Fang Qing put great effort into it and even used the methods from ancient Shu. Also, Zhong Lingxiu comes from the nascent soul sect, and her inspection methods are much better than those of the Bihai sect. You can't ignore it. Fang Qing was too aware of the courage of these local monks, not to mention that he was once one of them and took advantage of the opportunity to get huge benefits. Sure enough, not long after, Zhong Lingxiu went out with murderous intent and brought back a strange storage bag. In the consciousness, this storage bag is like nothing else. This seems to be a storage bag made from the skin of an ancient cunning beast. It is good at hiding. Zhang Hongxiu's eyes lit up when he saw the storage bag. You have good taste, but the capacity of this storage bag is very small. Zhong Lingxiu poured it down gently, and several spiritual objects appeared instantly. The first item is a light blue second-order demon core. In addition, there are 3 colorful fruits and a few unknown ores. Man perishes for money, birds perish for food, that's true. Fang Qing, standing aside, couldn't help but sigh. He was reminding Zhang Hongxiu. After all, what is on this girl of luck may be the big deal. The next moment, Zhong Lingxiu's consciousness spread out layer by layer, bringing terrifying pressure. She looked at Zhang Hongxiu. It's your turn, please. Wow. Fang Qing opened his storage bag and poured it gently, and saw the spiritual objects piled up into a hill. The most eye-catching thing is the 5-element spirit fruit in the 2 jade boxes. After he took it out, Zhong Lingxiu still had to give it back to him, so naturally he had to give it to Zhang Hongxiu first. It's just that he finally knew how powerful it was, and he couldn't hide the gains from Buxu Palace, including the exotic treasures Gu Ge and Jiu Yuan stone. As for the so-called inspection methods? Zhong Lingxiu's spiritual consciousness is naturally just a show. Does he really dare to rebel against Tiangang? 5-element spirit fruit? Or 2? Zhang Hongxiu exclaimed. It seemed that only those 2 colorful fruits were in his eyes. After all, this represents the path of elixir formation for foundation-building monks. In fact, Fang Qing was not 100% sure that he would be able to refine the golden elixir in one go, so he kept 2 of them just in case. If he fails to refine the first elixir, he will definitely stop refining the second 5-element spirit fruit and eat it raw. Although a furnace of gold-forming pills may yield several pills, and the probability of pill forming from eating a whole 5-element spirit fruit raw is not as good as that of one gold-forming pill, for him, the calculation is not that way. As long as the success of forming the elixir can be guaranteed, it is a waste. The real person has these 2 5-element spirit fruits, but he wants to refine the golden formation pill? Zhang Hongxiu took out his storage bag, but did not open it. He just asked, "What do you do with me?" Zhong Lingxiu put her hands behind her back, with a strong sense of oppression in her eyes, and asked with a half-smile, "The little girl is just a little confused, don't blame the real person." Zhang Hongxiu bit her silver teeth. This is the best opportunity to form a pill in the world of Xiaohuanhai. There is no such shop after passing through this village, so he said. The master once promised that the little girl can keep 30% of the harvest. But the little girl wants to exchange this 30% share for a gold-forming pill. I wonder if the master can allow it. Oh? It seems that you are quite confident in your harvest, so you can exchange it for a gold-forming elixir. Zhong Lingxiu smiled and said something that made Zhang Hongxiu's expression change. Aren't you afraid that I will kill you on the spot? As long as I kill you, all the spiritual objects in your storage bag will belong to me. Zhang Hongxiu's hair stood on end in an instant. Don't be afraid, this Dongjia Xiaoxiu is scaring you. Although he has murderous intent, he has no killing intention. At the critical moment, Gui Lao's voice came, which made Zhang Hongxiu's heart move. This when he was young, the alchemy cultivator was known as the Bing Pazi. He was a proud man and would not do such shameless things as killing people and seizing treasures. She immediately clasped her fists and said, "The little girl admires the real person's demeanor, so she joined Taibai Island. I believe the real person will not disappoint her subordinates. If the real person needs it, these spiritual objects and subordinates are willing to give them all without taking any penny." Haha. You are a small foundation builder, come to test me. Zhong Lingxiu smiled and cursed. However, I will not go back on my word. One of these 2 5-element spirit fruits has its own use, and I want to exchange it with other Taoist friends for spiritual things. As for the other one, I do intend to give it to the alchemist to refine the golden elixir. I can promise that if the number of the elixirs exceeds 2, there will definitely be one for you. Thank you, the island owner. Zhang Hongxiu breathed a sigh of relief and thanked him quickly. Can the alchemist on your island do it? The 5-element spirit fruit is very precious even in the nascent soul sect. In though SE days, the 3rd-level high-quality alchemist and even the 4th-level alchemist personally refined it. Don't let it go to waste. In the end, it will be a piece of cake. Mr. Gui said worriedly, the spiritual energy of Xiaohuanhai is so thin, I'm afraid there won't be any good opportunities to form a pill. Without forming a pill, it's really dangerous to pass through the thousands of miles of sea passage you call. It should be, no problem. The chief alchemist of Taibai Island has refined many foundation-building pills back then. His alchemy skills are amazing, and it is said that he has already reached the 3rd level. The more he talked about it, the less sure he felt. Ho ho, Don't be that kind of quasi-third level alchemist, otherwise you will be miserable. Old Turtle laughed a few times, and then sighed, you little kid. You girl, you are so short-sighted. Using longevity-burning elixirs to forcefully ripen the Wancho turtle is a waste of potential. If the foundation of your natal spiritual pet is not damaged, I have some secret methods specifically suitable for the Wancho turtle, which can give it a few % more confidence in condensing the demon elixir and being promoted to a third-level demon. When the natal spiritual pet is promoted first, and then feeds back with the secret technique of turtle and crane prolonging life, you will definitely have more than 70% confidence in forming elixirs. There is no need for a gold-forming elixir. For the current plan, you must first advance to the elixir formation, and then use the true elixir source to feed your natal spiritual pet, and cooperate with my secret skills, hoping to make up for the younger generation. Mentioning this, Zhang Hongxiu's face darkened, and he could only answer in his heart, this is the debt I owe. If this really leads to the failure of the elixir formation, and even the inability to condense the nascent soul in the future, it can only be said to be a small mistake. The fate of a woman, humph, we monks must not believe in fate, otherwise why should we cultivate immortality? Gui Lao started chattering again, the man and the turtle were talking in their spiritual consciousness, and Zhong Lingxiu was naturally unaware of it. On the other hand, Fang Qing seemed to have thought of something vaguely, and with a movement in his heart, he saluted, Master. I will step back first. In Zhang Hongxiu's view, this aloof swordsman didn't bother to look at the valuable treasure she obtained in the secret realm, and his character and even emotional intelligence were quite outstanding. As everyone knows, after Fang Qing arrived at the side hall, he used the formation to cover up, and his aura suddenly changed, from the sharp chapter of Lu Jing to the Wing Fire, Daoji of Qinghuan True Fire Sutra Phoenix Seeking Phoenix. The phoenix sings in Qishan, the sound reaches the sky, the phoenix rests on the sycamore tree, and rings on the spiritual platform. The phoenix is the yang, and the phoenix is the yin. The yang takes the initiative, and the yin governs the tranquility. The yang speaks with the piano, and the yin responds with the heart. The phoenix sings in unison, starting from listening to the heart. In short, this Taoist foundation possesses the mystical ability of the heart, has a clear connection and is good at listening to people's hearts. After so many years, Fang Qing has already asked Qing Ha, the empty bird Terra, to practice. After completing the collection of this skill, Zhenshi started to practice his own practice. At this time, he transformed the Dao foundation, took out the mirage beads, and moved the flesh on his face with the third-level body training. He changed his image and aura and walked into the hall again. I have seen the real person. Well, you are here. Zhong Lingxiu received the reminder from Daoshengzhu, and immediately cooperated. This is a guest from this island, who is good at identifying treasures. The owner of this island specially called me, Zhang Hongxiu. You can continue. Although Zhang Hongxiu was a little strange, he still unfolded the storage bag obediently and put a piece of the outside. Monks were extremely jealous when they saw this treasure. What kind of 1000-year elixir and third-level ore were scattered all over the place like gravel and rubble. In addition, there was a stone bottle that exuded an alluring frankincense. This is 1000-year stone milk? Zhong Lingxiu looked moved. The 4th-level spiritual object is a treasure that even nascent soul monsters covet, and you can get it. It's really a good chance. Alas, at the same time, Mr. Gui was still sighing. This object can just work with a secret technique to supplement some of the vitality of your natal spiritual pet. Next to him, Fang Qing, a middle-aged man disguised as inspecting the spiritual object and giving evaluation, quietly raised his ears. Could it be the best spiritual stone? He picked up a spiritual stone and felt the powerful spiritual pressure. The pure spiritual energy poured into his body along the palm of his hand without even pulling it, and he couldn't help but be shocked. Yes, it is the best spiritual stone, Zhang Hongxiu nodded, and said to the old turtle in his heart, Old turtle, is the method you taught me okay? If this pill-forming monk finds out that I still hide it secretly, I will definitely be destroyed physically and mentally. Hey, when it comes to restraining the aura, that is the special skill of our tortoise monsters, not to mention that I have been promoted to the 4th level. You used the formula I taught you to refine my body tortoise shell, and hid it on your body. Even if the nascent soul cultivator comes in person, you may not be able to detect it, let alone just a pill-forming monk. Humph. I could swallow a lot of pill-forming monks just by yawning, but now I am in a state of decline. If I try Oh, kill this person, my last bit of spiritual power will be exhausted, which is really not worth it. In fact, the spiritual things in the turtle shell are just supplements. The key is my nature. The body turtle shell is a defensive magic weapon refining material that is difficult for nascent soul monks to find, and it has many magical effects. Oh, is there really an old man, or is it the remnant soul of a 4th-level turtle? Fang Qing's expression remained unchanged, but his heart was very strange. It's like hiding something from others, or someone is plotting loudly in front of you. It's really hard not to laugh out loud. This is just a little mystery attached to the Daoji Fengqiu Huang. According to the Qingyuan True Fire Sutra, if this Daoji has developed magical powers, it can listen to the voices within a certain range without actively using it. If someone is malicious, the magical power will immediately alert the host, which can be said to have been strengthened several times. Chow, or the way of sincerity, you can know it in advance. How can other monks play with this? It's no wonder that Kinga was able to escape from the catastrophe of the Blue Bird Department in the end. This basic mystery is the most important, and it is worthy of being the true inheritance of Luofeng Mountain. Is this the weight of the magical power directly passed down by the Lord of Fire Virtue? There is obviously a gap between magical power and magical power. And this phoenix seeking phoenix is absolutely no small matter. It should be the top or even the best among magical powers. It's a pity, this magical power has been restrained by me. When Fang Qing casually refined the Fengqiu Huang Taoist Foundation, he had doubts in his heart. Fortunately, Qinghe was around, so he asked about it while the two were refining. This girl really had bad intentions. When the Pu family birthday banquet was trading listening to Zhuangdongquan Sutra, they tried to eavesdrop on their own voices, and later they met several times, but found nothing strange. This proves that Daoshengzhus, as in calculation, are also immune to such magical powers. And, according to Qinghe, there are cases of Qingyuan blood descendants who have perfected this magical power throughout the ages, which means that this magical power is not absolutely foreseeable, but it can still be used. Being restrained. Qinghe is indeed the little princess of the Blue Bird Department, and she sells out all the direct descendants of the demon clan. As for her, a blue bird with strong Qingyuan blood, why is she called Qingling? Fang Qing thinks it's probably because of the contrast between being famous and earning a living. Inside the ice and snow palace. It took Fang Qing half an hour to finish counting the harvest of Zhanhongxiu. Yes. 30% of these are enough for you to exchange for a gold-forming elixir. Zhong Lingxiu nodded and collected the spiritual objects in the hall. Fang Qing, on the other hand, complained in his heart, I hid the most precious part secretly, but the thing I took out is still worth such a high price. I am worthy of being the child of destiny and the daughter of luck. But it is exactly like this that the wool is good for funeral. It just so happens that I also have a headache due to the cause and effect of swallowing the sea. He immediately said, congratulations to the island owner. After some inventory, these auxiliary materials have collected most of the gold-forming elixir recipe, and the rest is not difficult. I think we will be able to start refining the elixir in the near future. Zhanhongxiu originally wanted to say goodbye. After all, she still had stolen goods with her. But when I heard the news about refining the golden pill, I couldn't walk. Yes, if the elixir becomes one when the time comes, I will send it to that by Qing. He is a sword cultivator from the East China Sea and a good friend of mine. It is for this golden elixir that he agreed to take action this time, Zhong Lingxiu said. By Qing, is that swordsman? Hearing the news about his benefactor, Zhanhongxiu couldn't help but become more concerned. That's right. Alas, that Bai Qing is also a poor person. It is said that there are enemies everywhere in the East China Sea, so he had no choice but to flee to this remote place. Zhong Lingxiu said, I heard that he has enmity with the 9 major forces of 1 palace, 1 temple, 3 gates, and 4 islands. It's really difficult for him. Hey, little girl, please ask, where is the Zhoutian Star Palace now? Before Zhanhongxiu opened her mouth, Gui Lao's voice rang in her heart. This can't be done. Howdy. Oh, I know about the Zhoutian Star Palace? Saying it would only arouse suspicion, Zhanhongxiu asked, Island Master, my subordinates yearn for the world of immortality in the East China Sea, but they are not as brave as the Island Master back then. They dared to cross thousands of miles of sea lanes during the foundation building period. I don't know what the scenery of the East China Sea is like. What big forces are there? The East China Sea is a vast territory with countless opportunities. The biggest force is naturally the 1 palace and 1 temple. Not only are these 2 major forces in charge of great monks from the late Yuaning period, but they are also rumored to have the ability to transform into gods. The first palace is Shueiyue Palace, and the temple is Leiying Temple. Shueiyue Palace? Leiying Temple? Damn it, it is Shueiyue Palace and Leiying Palace. These were just 2 branches of my Zhoutian Star Palace, but now they are also called sections. The boss is in charge, and the god transformation background? Boss Gui yelled, obviously the one who transformed into a god and ascended back then was my ancestor from Zhoutian Star Palace. Damn it, couldn't it be that these 2 families rebelled against the Star Palace and divided up the Star Palace's background? Fang Qing's ears twitched. He originally just wanted to hear the secret of swallowing the sea, but he didn't expect a big one to explode. That's all. I heard this today. If I say more, I'm afraid Zhanhongxiu will become suspicious. The rest of the matter of swallowing the sea can be explored slowly in the future. Is it the Zhoutian Star Palace, the last monk who transformed into a god and ascended? He remembered the travel notes he had read from home. Tens of thousands of years ago in the world of immortality in the East China Sea, there was a powerful god transformer who finally broke through the air and ascended to the upper world. On the contrary, it corresponds to the era when the patriarch of Zhou Tianqing Palace's transformation god appeared. If the East China Sea immortal cultivation world can only support one god-transforming monk in an era, then there is a high probability that the two are the same person. A few days later. Bingpa Cave. Fang Qing looked at the various spiritual herbs and minerals sent by Zhong Lingxiu, and nodded with satisfaction. Another wave of fatness, this time it is more contribution than Xiong Dahu's last time. After all, Xiong Dahu was just a person at the beginning, and his cultivation was limited. And during this exploration of the secret realm, there were two people with the power of forming pills who entered. Because of the many experiences last time, with targeted methods, it is natural to gain more. All the main materials and auxiliary materials needed for the Jing 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 Dan Dan recipe have been collected. Next, it is time to ignore everything and concentrate on refining the elixir. A jade slip appeared in Fang Qing's hand, with the Jing Jing Jia Dan recipe on it. Speaking of this elixir, I got it from Tianding back then. The main material, 5-element spirit fruit, auxiliary materials, helix flower, year-dried leaves. Most of the precious auxiliary materials have disappeared in Zaya Wanhai, but they happen to be found in the secret medicine garden. This should not be a coincidence, but the ancient monks deliberately arranged the elixir garden according to the needs of the golden elixir recipe, and cultivated it, raising various auxiliary materials. It must be said that this golden formation pill is relatively difficult among third-level elixirs. If Fang Qing hadn't learned a lot about refining the Great Barrier-breaking pill last time, and integrated the alchemy techniques of the two worlds, he would not have had much confidence in the advancement of alchemy. At this time, the advantages of water method alchemy are reflected. Refining such difficult elixirs can completely nd the time to reduce the difficulty. This is also in line with the principle of water-based creep. Well, you can also go to Sengji's place and ask for some Taoist spiritual weapons that can bless success, or even the Zifu ritual, bless me and increase success. Fang Qing secretly planned his own methods. At this moment, he felt a transmission note floating outside the cave, and he couldn't help but smile, knowing that this woman was trying to visit him in the name of refining the golden pill. It's time to meet her. Just in time, let's test the turtle spirit as well. Thinking of the previous arrangements of his home, Fang Qing couldn't help but smile, and sent a message with his spiritual consciousness. Not long after, he walked into the Bingpa cave dressed in green clothes with red sleeves. The first thing he felt was the astonishing cold air. It's so cold. Oh, Island Master Fang is suffering. Humph. I want to see how cold a third-level alchemist you have always been thinking about is. Can it be compared to the sword cultivator of that day? In the sea of consciousness, Gui Ling said in a disdainful tone. Then, he spread his red sleeves and entered the cave, and saw the fountain, koi, and wind chimes. A strange spiritual atmosphere spread out, making Fang Qing look like a fairy. Huh? There's something weird about this place. It seems to have a Taoist charm? How is this possible? Even the Yuanying monks are those with profound merits, and only the place where they live has such a vision. Guiling's incredible voice sounded in Zhang Hongxiu's consciousness. Dao Yun? Zhang Hongxiu felt weird and almost blurted out. Then he saw Fang Qing drinking tea, and he couldn't help but said with joy, I originally thought that fellow Taoist was imprisoned in refining elixirs, and his life was miserable. But after seeing him today, I feel relieved. After all, I am a third-level alchemist, and in the world of immortal cultivation in the East China Sea, I am enough to be on par with the alchemy monks. Fang Qing made Zhang Hongxiu a cup of Qing Keiling tea, and said with a smile, Zhenren Zhong also wants to win over me and has sent many good things over. You have a taste of this tea. But he was slandering in his heart. After the grandpa received the account, it suddenly swelled. He dared to call me Taoist friend. It really tastes good. Zhang Hongxiu took a sip, his eyes lit up, which made the turtle spirit in the sea of consciousness a little anxious. After all, it is just a ray of consciousness, and it has stopped eating and drinking. Hongxiu came here today, presumably for the purpose of forging the golden elixir. To be honest, all kinds of auxiliary materials have been collected, and I am waiting for a good and auspicious day to open the pool. But if I want to refine this elixir, or even produce multiple genuine ones, I really don't have much confidence. Therefore, a trace of embarrassment appeared on Fang Qing's face. Fellow Taoist, you might as well take a look at this. Zhang Hongxiu handed over a jade slip. Fang Qing's consciousness swept away and he couldn't help but be startled. This is the recipe for the gold-forming elixir? No, there are dozens of times more comments. It seems to be a certain alchemy master's years of experience in refining the gold-forming elixir. What a good thing, he smiled secretly in his heart, knowing that for the sake of the road, he was fooled by his own enzyme again. Although this alchemy handbook only has one kind of gold-forming elixir, the techniques and alchemy skills involved, and even the concepts and experience in handling medicinal materials, if it is slightly enriched, it is simply a third-level high-grade alchemy inheritance. With this addition, how confident are you, fellow Taoist? Zhang Hongxiu asked with some anxiety. Humph, if Xiaofeng can't refine more than 2 finished products, then he, a third-level alchemist, is a parallel import and does not live up to his name. I gave it to you, but it is the experience of the 4th-level alchemy master of my sect in refining the golden elixir, Guilin hummed. I should be 50% sure. Fang Qing accepted the jade slip, thought for a moment, and replied, it's just what? But there are still some shortcomings? Zhang Hongxiu was a little worried. No, it's just using the water method to make elixirs, which takes a long time. It may take several years. Fang Qing smiled. Don't rush for several years. I haven't perfected the foundation building yet. Zhang Hongxiu breathed a sigh of relief. Only after he was promoted to the late stage of foundation building did he know how much hard work it would take to perfect the magic power. It was an unfathomable chasm. No wonder the later monks were called the same realm major cultivators. Huh. I would also like to thank fellow Taoist for the alchemy book. Fang Qing poured another cup of spiritual tea for Zhang Hongxiu and listened to her tell about her experience in the secret realm. After chatting for a while, she deliberately said, did fellow Taoist Hongxiu obtain any ancient secret techniques or ancient techniques from the secret realm? Why do fellow Taoists ask this? Zhang Hongxiu was a little wary for a moment. I heard from fellow Taoist Xiang Dahu that there have been some ruthless characters in the Sea Destruction League recently. They are good at a strange magic skill, which is different from the previous control of magic fire. They are masters of black water, calling themselves sea-swallowing skill or something like that, Fang Qing said in a joking manner. This is not a lie. If you show your red sleeves and inquire, you will find that these demon disciples really exist. What he was practicing was indeed the swallowing sea kung fu, but it was just a simplified version that he understood and was secretly spread by Yu Xiong'er. Beijing is my sect after all, and Tai Bai Isle. And is not suitable. Except for Master He Yuan, who else can take the blame? Fang Qing sighed in his heart. What? The inheritance of the sea-swallowing demon sect is born? Could it be that the person who entered Buxo Hall last time was that Yu Xiong'er you mentioned? Within the sea of consciousness with the red sleeve spread, the turtle spirit immediately started shouting. Senior Guiling, please be patient. Zhang Hongxiu couldn't help but rub his eyebrows, feeling helpless. How can I feel at ease? You know, the sea-swallowing demon sect may be the culprit that caused the decline and division of Zhoutian Star Palace. Guiling was heartbroken. If there hadn't been the battle with the sea-swallowing demon sect, our Zhoutian Star Palace might still be the #1 in the world of immortal cultivation in the East China Sea. So that's it, the sea-swallowing demon sect? The turtle spirit was shaken and revealed many ancient secrets, which made Fang Qing next to him feel happy. He secretly decided in his heart that the existence of the sea-swallowing technique cannot be exposed in the future. This eavesdropping on the heart is also a powerful golden finger. If it were in this simple and honest Zio Wanhai, it might be enough to make people aware of it. The rise of the qi refining cultivator, Fang Qing sighed in his heart, seeing that Zhang Hongxiu couldn't wait to investigate, and immediately sent her out of the cave. Fellow Taoist, please bear with me for now. When leaving, Zhang Hongxiu finally showed some true feelings and secretly comforted her. Haha. Fellow Taoist Hongxiu, don't worry, I will never give up. I will stay strong even if I am poor. Only when the sea is flowing can we see the true character of a hero. Fang Qing also responded with his spiritual consciousness. This fellow Taoist Feng is a firm Taoist. It seems that even if he falls into the hands of the enemy, he still has the heart to cultivate immortality. Zhang Hongxiu walked out for a while, and then communicated with the turtle spirit in the sea of consciousness. Old turtle, what do you think? What do I think? That's how I see it. That little cultivator who had perfected his foundation wasn't even qualified to enter the eyes of this ancestor back then. The turtle spirit's lazy voice came, and it seemed that it had regained its previous calmness. What? Foundation building is complete? Zhang Hongxiu almost said in surprise, then Fang Qing has hidden his cultivation? This is actually a flaw Fang Qing deliberately exposed. If the enemy wants to see through it, a smart person will self-righteously follow the set route. That's right, but it's a pity that how can you escape my reaction? Turtle Spirit said proudly. The foundation building is complete? Golden elixir? Does he want it? Zhang Hong. Xiu's eyes suddenly widened, as if he had discovered something terrible. Should I report to the island owner? What should I do if he takes my golden elixir in a desperate attempt? The girl was stunned on the spot, her expression struggling. Bingpa cave. Fang Qing put away the tea sets, his expression unchanged. If you really want to hide your cultivation and use the Daoshengzhu to transform it, even the old monster Yuanying won't be able to tell it in person. The reason why he is like this is a test. It is very likely that I will succeed in secretly refining the gold-forming elixir after my foundation building is complete. I will swallow it immediately and try to form the elixir. This is the only way to get out of trouble. At least in Zhang Hongxiu's opinion, so she can choose to report me to Zhong Lingxiu, or risk losing her chance to form the elixir and hide from me. If Zhang Hongxiu chooses to report, the Son of Luck will obviously not be able to stay. It just so happens that she has not yet obtained the golden pill. When the time comes, she must gather all the strength of the golden pill and sacrifice Zhong Lingxiu in exchange for the turtle spirit. She is still very confident that she will be completely eliminated. If you choose to hide it, you can let this woman form a pill and try the great opportunity of the Zhoutian Star Palace. Although Fang Qing laughed at himself in Qi Refining Road, as long as there are enough resources, pigs can condense nascent soul, but the key lies in the lack of resources. Ningyi resources are very scarce even in the East China Sea cultivation world, so we have to make plans early. Huh? At this moment, Fang Qing frowned and received a message from Qin Ruxue. Tianding, has he passed away? That's all, this person died because his lifespan was exhausted, which is considered a happy death, not to mention that he regained a 5-element spirit fruit for the sect, which is considered to have fulfilled his wish. ACC. Wording to what Qin Ruxue said, the sect has a good impression of me, staying at the stage of loyalty and endurance of humiliation, just in time to pave the way for Feng Fengguang's return to the sect after forming the elixir. A few days passed, and Fang Qing still did not wait for the report from Zhang Hongxiu. Well, do we have to wait until the refining of the golden elixir is successful? He thought for a moment and stopped thinking about it, playing with a Taoist spiritual weapon of a prayer wheel in his hand. This was presented by Sangji, the White Bone Dharma King, and is called the prayer wheel with blessings of all phases. It is said that every time it is turned, countless blessings will fall on the body, which can increase blessings and increase happiness. Increase the success rate of refining elixirs and making talismans. Fang Qing held the view that he would rather believe it, and reluctantly turned a few times, but he felt nothing. Forget it, I still have to rely on my true ability to make a living. He came to the Ice Soul Cold Spring. The cold spring was now very different. Jade walls were built on all sides, like a well. And there is the intersection of yin and yang in the water well. This is the result of Fang Qing's many years of meditating on the water and fire alchemy technique. Ji Shui's Taoism has continued to rise, and he has obtained a large amount of rare materials, and finally refined a third-level fire liquid. After pouring into the Bingso cold spring, this spring can be temporarily upgraded to a third-level mid-level cold and hot twin spring, which is more suitable for refining elixirs. He took out the 5-element spirit fruit and looked at it carefully. The Jing Jing Dan, to be refined this time, is also used to break through the realm, which conforms to the meaning of the change of, well, wood. The cold and hot springs fit the image of Kanli Kuangua, the axis of movement of water and fire. Kanli is the intersection of water and fire, and Jinshuan is the birth of wood and fire. Well, wood belongs to Sun and Zhen are both trees. Zhen is the movement, and Sun is the entry. Therefore, water-based alchemy must be static first and then move, first in and then out. With Fang Qing's theory of alchemy, one after another Dangui tree spread all over the cave, constantly expanding outward. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, Fang Qing has been refining alchemy for 2 years. Zhang Hongxiu is naturally restless, and is too lazy to go back to Sanyuan Island. He has been waiting on Taibai Island. Even the matter of confirming the swallowing sea demon technique has been left to the subordinates of Sanyuan Island. This kid's alchemy scene is quite scary. I thought I had seen a 4th-level alchemy master. Old Turtle was still chattering in her sea of consciousness. Zhang Hongxiu remained silent, going to the Bingpa cave to check almost every once in a while. On this day, she obviously noticed something different. Wow. One spring after another flows out of the cave, and the place where it passes is filled with the fragrance of herbs. One after another, the osmanthus trees grow vigorously, and silver crows stand on the branches, constantly crowing, although there must be a vision when the 3rd-level elixir is completed. But is this boy's vision too much? In the sea of consciousness, Mr. Gui was still mumbling. After a while, many of the strange phenomena dissipated. Fang Qing walked out of the cave and saw Zhang Hongxiu. Fellow Daoist Fang. Zhang Hongxiu saw Fang Qing coming out, and a hint of excitement suddenly appeared on his face. Fortunately, I have lived up to my fate. 2 genuine Qingdan can be delivered to the real person. Fang Qing smiled slightly and came to the ice and snow palace with her red sleeves. Zhong Lingxiu naturally came forward quickly and accepted the 2 jade bottles he gave. Opening one of the jade bottles, he saw one of them blooming with golden light, and there was an elixir with an inexplicable Taoist charm. It is undoubtedly a genuine golden elixir. Zhong Lingxiu was very satisfied and took away one of the jade bottles and threw the other to Zhang Hongxiu. Since you didn't ask for the 30% share before, I will give you this Jing Jing Dan directly. If you want to find the Jiadan spiritual land in the future, the third-level cave in this island can also give it to you. Thank you, Master, Zhang Hongxiu saluted immediately, feeling extremely excited. If you grasp the golden elixir, you seem to have grasped your own path. Okay, what are you waiting for now? The gold-forming pill has been refined, and that kid has no one to rely on anymore. Just report him to this pill-forming monk. The turtle boss yelled, but if this kid wants to form a pill, could he have hidden a genuine gold-forming pill? The fourth-level alchemy master in this palace at that time could only produce 4 or 5 genuine pills in one furnace. He had just completed the foundation construction and could produce 3 pills in one furnace. With just this alchemy skill, he was probably qualified to be the true disciple of Star Palace. Zhang Hongxiu remained silent, bowed slowly, and exited the ice and snow palace. Xiaohong, you don't do anything? Old Turtle was a little surprised. Although this island owner gave me a blow before, it was consensual. Later, he helped me build the foundation and was kind to me. Zhang Hongxiu shook his head, his Taoist heart firm again. Fang Qing watched the girl leave and said the same thing in her heart. It seems that there is no need to destroy the flower. If this girl has bad intentions, he will definitely attack first. As for now, she can still raise her. However, you must ensure that your strength far exceeds the destiny stone, otherwise you will have to bear the consequences of being counterattacked at some point. However, the golden elixir is very difficult to refine, and I only became 2 genuine ones. Fang Qing looked solemn when he thought about this elixir refining process. If he hadn't gained the experience of refining the golden elixir from that turtle, he might have failed in opening the furnace this time. Even if you barely succeed, you will only get a low-quality gold-forming elixir at most, Mr. Behind him, Zhong Lingxiu bowed respectfully and presented the jade bottle that previously contained the gold-forming elixir with both hands. When I adjust my condition, you are going to attack Baihaman. Just leave a gap for me to form a pill. A smile appeared at the corner of Fang Qing's mouth. As the sex alchemist, he endured the humiliation and secretly took a gold-forming elixir, and then brazenly and successfully formed the elixir while Zhong Lingxiu was out fighting. It was quite a scene. Although everything else is fake, our breakthroughs and strength are real. Moreover, supporting Zhong Lingxiu before was definitely not unnecessary. If it weren't for Zhong Lingxiu, he would have been transferred back to the sect long ago. He doesn't know how many open and secret arrows he would have to face. Even if he could resolve them one by one, he would still have to work hard and refining elixirs for others. How could he still have the time to silently practice until the completion of foundation building? Moreover, for this secret realm harvest, if Zhong Lingxiu wasn't in front, how could he get 1/3 of it? The most important thing is that before accepting Xiao Zhong as a disciple, facing the Bihai sect's 2 major alchemy battle powers, combined with the 3rd-level formation and the sect's background, it is still possible to overturn. If I expose too much, Master He Yuan might come to fight me together. Fang Qing came to the cave specially prepared by Zhong Lingxiu. This cave is located at the core of the 3rd-level spiritual veins, with the richest spiritual energy. It even has its spirit gathering array, and the are a large number of spiritual stones next to it to ensure that the spiritual energy will not be insufficient when forming the elixir. He sat cross-legged and took out a few things. They are 10,000 years of stone milk, the best spiritual stone, the fountain of youth, and the newly refined one. The authentic gold-forming elixir. At critical moments, no matter how precious the resources are, your own realm is still important. If you encounter difficulties, you can use them. Fang Qing closed his eyes, silently recalling the secrets of elixir forming in Bai Hai Gong written by Master Bai Hai, adjusting his energy and spirit, and began to make the final preparations before elixir forming. Xiaohong. Now that we have obtained the elixir for forming pills, why don't you go investigate the successor of the sea-swallowing demonic skill? In the Sea of Consciousness, Old Turtle is urging again. Zhang Hongxiu is a little helpless. Wait a minute. Master Zhong suddenly announced that he will expedition to the north of Baihaman. I think the opportunity for fellow Taoist Fang to fight to the death is coming soon, so I have to watch the monks forming pills, right? Hee. You are from Tai Bai Island now. Which side are you going to stand on this time? Gue Lao was a little curious. Naturally, I don't take any side. After all, my benefactor, the Bai Qing, heard that he took the Jia Jindan and left directly. He said with red sleeves. For a monk like you, even if you are neutral, you are actually showing your attitude. Old Turtle seemed to have thought of something and said no more. I and the spiritual medicine garden Bai Lingshu is taking care of a 2nd-level spiritual grass. Her face was abnormally pale, and she made a hand with her hands, which turned into spiritual rain and fell on the roots of the spiritual grass. After performing the magic, the leaves of the spiritual grass were covered with dewdrops, which were crystal clear and reflected the rays of light in the sun. I wonder what happened to the sect. Bai Lingshu finished taking care of a piece of spiritual grass, then stood up, wiped his cheeks, and said with a sense of sadness, I heard that Zhong Lingxiu raised troops to attack Baihaman again, with great momentum. Even Master He Yuan was attracted. Could it be that the world of immortality is about to break out again? A war. Alas. I am now a traitor, so why should I worry about Baihaman? She did not die immediately because of a sudden thought, and was banned by Zhonglingxiu later. Xiang Dahu was imprisoned. I came to visit with Fang Qing several times, and finally realized the reality. I was semi-surrendering, but I was responsible for the spiritual flowers and herbs as usual, and I was determined not to attack my former classmates. Zhonglingxiu was also magnanimous, so she agreed. Alas. I, a surrendered person, can't care about so many things. I just hope that I won't end up too bad in the future. Bei Lingshu thought of Xiang Dahu again, such an honest man, who was the first to kneel in front of Zhonglingxiu. Sure enough, until the critical moment of life and death, we will never see the true color of the monk. Bei Lingshu adjusted his breath and prepared to continue planting grass, but suddenly his expression changed. Boom, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is rioting, affecting the entire Taibai Island. Countless spiritual energy emerged from the void, the earth, the snowy mountains, and the grass and trees, gathered in the sky, and turned into a spiritual cloud with deep pressure, shrouding a certain cave. This, pill-forming celestial phenomenon? Bei Lingshu came from the Dongjia sect after all, and he has a good eye. He just glanced at it and was immediately surprised. Who is Jiedan on the island now? Boom. The ground on Taibai Island was shaking, and there was a faint sound of Buddhist chanting, flowers falling from the sky, and golden lotuses surging from the ground. Shockingly, the Third Order formation was activated. Xiang Dahu's voice spread throughout the island along with the Third Order formation. According to the order of the Island Master, the formation is opened. All monks are not allowed to act rashly, and those who violate it will die. This is Xiang Dahu? As the general manager of Taibai Island, he does have the authority to form formations. Could it be that a certain pill-forming seed arranged by Master Zhong is secretly forming the formation? Dan? Bei Lingshu recalled all the foundation-building monks on Taibai Island, and it seemed that there was no other candidate except the mysterious Bai Qing who had left long ago. Don't believe this person. Xiang Dahu, you are just a dog raised by my real family. How dare you bite the master? A snow-white stream of light flew up, and in it seemed to be a certain Zhong family foundation architect, who was quite angry. But the next moment, a ray of Brahma light fell. This Zhong family foundation architect didn't even scream, but turned into white bones and scattered in the air. Anyone who violates the rules will be like this person. Xiang Dahu's voice was full of murderous intent. Bei Lingshu's eyes lit up. The sky on Taibai Island is going to change? Could it be that senior brother Xiang has been enduring the humiliation before? Who is the person who formed the elixir? That's it, I said. How could the Fang Island master dare to form a pill in the enemy camp? It turned out that he had already prepared. Zhan Hongxiu suddenly realized when he saw this scene. I have seen this big tiger before and was loyal to the Fang Island master. He was the first to surrender back then. It turned out to be a fake surrender. He has endured the humiliation for many years. Bo, is it possible to gain the trust of Master Na Zhong and gain control of the formation in order to one day rebel? This is to take risks on the head of a Master Jiedan. Even if it finally succeeds, is it a joke to offend the Master Jiedan? First of all, he needs the protection of the formation. And Xiang Dahu is the only one who surrendered to the enemy many years ago. It's just a wash. These are all trivial matters. With the third-level formation, the boy's pill formation will not be disturbed by external forces, and he has the golden pill, so he should be able to reach the step of condensing the true pill. It depends on the quality of the pill formation and the calamity that follows. In the sea of consciousness, Gui Lao's voice came. The quality of the pill formation? Yes, the step of condensing true elixirs actually has different qualities according to different techniques. There are 3 classification standards in the internal secret book of Zhoutian Star Palace, which are low-grade true elixirs, medium-grade true elixirs, and high-grade true elixirs. This true elixir corresponds to the fake elixir that has completed the foundation building. The quality is closely related to the speed of cultivation during the elixir formation period, the strength of the bottleneck, and even the breakthrough of the nascent soul in the future. Generally speaking, those who condense low-grade true elixirs will have no hope of the nascent soul for life. The voice of Gui Lao's guidance came. That Zensenren? Zhan Hongxiu asked curiously. The ice spiritual root cultivator is a middle-grade true elixir. Although the possibility of nascent soul in the future is very small, he is certain to practice to the late stage of elixir formation and become a great monk in elixir formation. On the other hand, the other elixir formation monks from Baihaman and the demon cultivator condensed low-grade true elixirs, and they have not broken through the elixir formation in this life. It is very difficult to reach the middle stage of the elixir. Xiao Hong, you should take this as a warning, Gui Lao said. Don't think that you are safe just because you have the golden elixir. You still need to practice the secret method of elixir formation in Daoshengzhu of prolonging life, and try to find 1 or 2 more elixir-forming spiritual objects, a moment ago. In the cave, Fang Qing opened his eyes, his energy and spirit had reached perfection. The elixir-forming content of Bihai Gong suddenly flowed down like a gurgling stream in his heart. The so-called elixir-forming in Qi refining Dao is nothing more than turning the liquid true essence into a solid true elixir. And there are 3 levels of quality of the true elixir. Top-grade true elixirs require deep foundations, top-level skills, as well as elixir-forming elixirs and spiritual objects to assist. According to what Master Bihai said, I have practiced a secret elixir-forming technique, and the effect is equivalent to a top-level elixir-forming spiritual object. Let's get started. He closed his eyes and silently began to sprint towards the pill-forming bottleneck. Crash. With the operation of Blue Sea Kung Fu, the spiritual energy in the cave rose and fell like a tide, and like a turbulent sea, all was absorbed by Fang Qing. In the sky above the cave, the spiritual energy gathered and turned into an astonishing pill-forming celestial phenomenon. Column forming and foundation building have the same 3 levels. The powerful spiritual energy of heaven and earth poured down, which brought a powerful test to Fang Qing's body. The first level, the Qi and blood level. Thanks to the help of the 2 terras, I have reached the 3rd level of body refining. Fang Qing was able to control the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to swim through his meridians without any discomfort, and then fell into his dantian, turning into surging mana. He kept beating and hammering the semi-solid mana pill. The secret technique of forming a pill, the 100 turns and 1000 returns technique, is to use mana to simulate the turbulent waves of the sea, and constantly hammer the mana pill, in order to forge it into steel. At this time, the spiritual consciousness of the person who formed the pill is extremely tested. If there is a slight mistake, the Dingfei pill will be easily destroyed. Fortunately, Fang Qing's spiritual consciousness has already reached the 3rd level. At this time, his powerful spiritual consciousness is fully displayed, controlling every ounce of mana, compressing and beating the liquid mana pill with all his strength. Thanks to this, the blue pill continues to compress, and the magic power inside continues to crystallize and solidify. The level of spiritual consciousness passed unknowingly. Then, comes the final mana level. This level requires turning the liquid true essence into the true elixir power, which tests your daily practice. And Fang Qing finally felt a little tired for the first time. With the Daosheng pearl, my mana has no erysipelas and is extremely pure. I just encountered the same problem as when I was building the foundation, that is, most of my mana is enhanced by taking drugs, which is a bit vain. But it's not a big deal. The realm-breaking elixir was used at this time. He took out the genuine golden formation pill and swallowed it. Crash. As soon as the gold jointing pill entered the abdomen, it was burned away by the Xiantian true fire. In an instant, streams of extremely pure mana were produced and flowed into the liquid elixir. Inside the half-solidified true pill, a bit of golden light emerged, and then became brighter and brighter. Thanks to Fang Qing's first completion of the Qi, blood, and spiritual consciousness levels, the mana of this gold jointing pill fell into the dantian without any waste. In addition, with a thought in his mind, many yuanjis he had previously stored rolled down, turned into the mana of the blue sea kung from the same source, and injected it into the true elixir. Boom, the dantian trembled, and a large amount of spiritual energy from heaven and earth was poured into it, and a blue-green true elixir quietly emerged. As soon as the true elixir came out, a round and full elixir power emerged instantly, and a terrifying aura overflowed. We are half successful in forming the elixir. The power of the true elixir is indeed very different from the liquid true energy mana of the foundation. Fang Qing took a deep breath, and the spirit gathering array arranged around him started to move instantly, and each high-grade spirit was the stone burned directly, and many spiritual energies gathered together and turned into drops of spiritual liquid, which dripped on the newly condensed true elixir, making this true elixir fuller and fuller, and its breath became more and more terrifying. The quality improvement began. His heart moved, and he sensed that the quality of the true elixir in his body at this time had reached the limit of the low-grade true elixir, and a breakthrough was made. Fang Qing felt that a certain bottleneck in his body was instantly broken, and both his spiritual consciousness and elixir power were greatly increased. Improvement. And the blue-green true elixir shrank a lot in an instant, becoming more and more dazzling mid-grade true elixir. He sensed the desire for the true elixir and continued to devour the vitality of the world. The elixir power of the middle-grade true elixir skyrocketed until it encountered a certain bottleneck. It has reached its limit. Could it be that only the middle-grade true elixir can be condensed this time? Outside world. Zhang Hongxiu stood on the top of an ice cliff, looking in the direction of Fang Qing cave mansion. Suddenly, a terrifying spiritual pressure emerged and swept across Taibai Island. The sky changes again, there is a faint gathering of spiritual energy, turning into colorful auspicious clouds, and the scope is still expanding. That kid has succeeded in forming the elixir. Next we will see how good the quality of the elixir is in the Sea of Consciousness, Gui Ling said in an old-fashioned way. Zhang Hongshou looked nervous, watching the auspicious clouds continue to expand, and soon exceeded the 3-mile range. Yes, it has exceeded the limit of low-grade true elixirs and entered the category of mid-grade true elixirs. Gui Lao commented, "It is a pity that the successors are weak, but it is good for the foundation-building monks in this small place to be able to form a mid-grade true elixir." Sure enough, in Zhang Hongshou's regretful eyes, the scope of the phenomenon finally stagnated at about 5.5 miles. This means that the quality of true elixirs is relatively high among mid-grade true elixirs. However, it is not a top-grade true elixir and cannot be called a nascent soul seed. Huh? But at this moment, Zhang Hongshou's expression changed, and he saw that the alchemy celestial phenomenon suddenly surged as if he had taken a big tonic pill. 6 miles, 7 miles, 8 miles, 9 miles. Breakthrough, the top-grade true pill? There is such a genius here? No, this kid must have hidden some top-notch elixir-forming spiritual object. Oh, what a missed opportunity. Old Turtle shook his head and sighed. Island Master Fang, has he achieved a top-grade true elixir? Zhang Hongshou showed a hint of fighting spirit in his eyes. I will form elixirs in the future, and I will also try to sprint for high-grade true elixirs. Inside the cave, looking at the true elixir in the body shrinking again, but the whole body is like a piece of green jade, perfect and flawless, and there is even a faint purple meaning on the true elixir. Fang Qing exhaled, high-grade true elixir, or is it even more? This fountain of youth is really useful. This thing was originally his trump card to ensure that even if he failed to form the elixir, he could still save his life. But after successfully forming the elixir, even if he took the golden elixir, he still remained at the level of a mid-grade true elixir. Fang Qing was moved and took the fountain of youth. This Sifu spiritual object can indeed be taken as an elixir-forming elixir, instantly boosting the quality of his true elixir to a top-grade true elixir. Not only that, but there is also a hint of purple on top of the true elixir, so comfortable. Fang Qing recalled the feeling of taking the fountain of youth just now. It was as if the whole body was soaked in a long river of vitality. Even the effectiveness still has a lot of precipitation. Maybe after this elixir formation, we can try to hit the bottleneck in the later stage of Daoji? As for the eternal appearance that comes with it, it is just a small effect. Finally, the elixir is formed. Fang Qing stood up, and his spiritual consciousness swept 3 miles in an instant, and the range was doubled than before. When his spiritual consciousness was released, he instantly felt the ultimate danger. It was a whim that was about to cause catastrophe, and the location was in the sky above. Elixir formation thunder tribulation. Fang Qing had known about this for a long time, and methodically familiarized himself with the magic, took out the magic weapon, and slandered, "It's really unreasonable. There are a lot of evildoers in ancient Shu who were not struck by lightning, but I, who didn't even use the blood elixir, was struck by lightning. A good person if you don't live long, will the disaster last for thousands of years?" Of course, Fang Qing also knows that this is because the water in ancient Shu is too deep. If the thunder fruit position is not eaten by all the ways like Xuanfeng, then it has not been proved yet. But the mere pill-forming Tianlei still wants to do anything to me? Fang Qing thought of how difficult it must have been to watch the sea dragon snake survive the tribulation. But now he is different. Not to mention the terrifying elixir power that faintly exceeds the limit of high-grade true elixirs, there is also the third-level body refining. Even if it is just a low-grade true elixir, he is not afraid of thunder at all. The tide is born. With a thought, Fang Qing used the power of the elixir to communicate with this external elixir. Using the power of the true elixir, the power of this external elixir was finally brought to its limit. The terrifying mana was vaguely combined with his own blue sea skill, pushing his mana to the mid-stage elixir formation level. It's just a heavenly thunder that forms an alchemy. If it can kill a monk in the middle stage of the Liandandan, then the monks here don't have to mess around. The art of outer alchemy is actually a trick for monks to avoid disasters. A figure flashed. Fang Qing has arrived outside the cave and faces the terrifying thunder. At this time, all the celestial phenomena within a radius of 9 miles have been transformed into dense black clouds. Countless electric snakes rolled and entangled, with terrifying power. The pill-forming heavenly tribulation? Zhang Hongshou looked at this scene with a solemn expression, not wanting to look away at all. Why is this figure so familiar? Is it Fang Qing? In the medicine garden, Bei Lingshu looked at this scene, his eyes widened instantly. How is it possible? Hasn't he been imprisoned for alchemy all the time? His cultivation is only in the middle stage of foundation building. No, why is this person? Damn, he is an alchemist. He must have concealed his cultivation before, and also hid a gold-forming pill. Old ancestor, you don't know people well, and you killed me. The Zhong family on Taibai Island were excited, and that Xiong Dahu, it was like a dog back then. Sure enough, a dog that bites people can't Xiang Dahu had no expression on his face. Following Fang Qing's instructions, he directly closed the third order formation. This formation is also the final insurance. But the young master is so powerful that he wants to face the power of the heavenly calamity alone. A cyan thunderbolt as thick as an arm fell instantly, breaking through the light shield condensed by Fang Qing's true elixir power, and exploded. Slender thunder snakes scurried around him, causing a numbing feeling. Is this the power of thunder? The first path is the weakest, but it can easily kill the foundation-building perfection monk earth. After experiencing it in detail, Fang Qing nodded. He has the third level of body refining, so he can rely on his body to withstand the catastrophe like a monster, and when he is slightly short of strength, he can use 2 magic weapons, and he has nothing to fear, huh? But at this time, Fang Qing had some inexplicable feelings. This catastrophe is both a disaster and an opportunity. I feel that it is actively instilling Daosheng into me. Thunder, the hub of yin and yang, Daosheng, this is the foundation of ancient Shu monks. What's more, it is the thunder that has disappeared in ancient Shu. It seems that we must endure the heavenly calamity to achieve such good things. It is natural law that blessings and misfortunes depend on each other. Fang Qing's eyes widened, and he took the initiative to let go of his defenses, using his strong body to resist the second thunderbolt. Boom. This time, the skin on his chest was slightly burnt and his eyes were brighter, the way of thunder and fire, stab. The third thunderstorm fell and blasted Fang Qing into the ground. No. It's not thunder, heavenly calamity is born from heaven and earth. I ask heaven and earth, and even and earth answer me. This is actually not the infusion of Taoism, but the process of asking heaven and earth. So, I don't have to worry about the virtues of thunder and fire. I only need to focus on one direction, and that is the virtue of water. His own family knows his own affairs, and it is impossible to prove the thunder fruition in ancient Shu Kong without this kind of natural understanding. Therefore, it is best to ask the heaven and earth about water, and improve his family's ability in Jishui, Daosheng. Stab. Thunders became more and more dense, gradually submerging his entire figure. Fang Qing was slightly absent-minded, as if he was wandering in Jishui. In a trance, he seemed to be no longer a human being, but a pool of spring water, rolling eastward, gathering into the sky, and turning into clouds, mountain mist, and dewdrops. When he came back to his senses, the thunder in the sky disappeared and the clouds had dispersed. The thunder had passed the 9th level, and the pill had been formed. What a pity, why didn't you chop me more? Fang Qing used magic power to transform into a suit of clothes, smacked his lips, and had some aftertaste. Until next time, it will all be condensed nascent soul. No, maybe I can cheat with Daoshengzhu, change a book of Qi refining Dao exercises, and try pill formation again? Or interfere with other people's pill formation heavenly calamity? But as soon as this idea appeared, Fang Qing knew it was impossible. Now that he has more experience, he knows this cheating method, just like a nascent soul monk regaining his body and cultivating back to the realm of nascent soul, it is impossible to experience another nascent soul thunder tribulation. If you remove the true elixir and rebuild it, this is probably the same reason. The world has already recognized you as an elixir-forming monk, and it is impossible for you to suffer another elixir-forming heavenly calamity. As for helping outsiders overcome the calamity, the heavenly tribulation only believes in triggering the monk's anger, and rash intervention will only kill both of them. This is a story full of blood and tears in the history of the world of immortality. My current, Jishui, Daosheng, Fang Qing silently recalled it, feeling a kind of throbbing in his heart. If he retreated immediately after going back, I am afraid that he would break through the Daoji in one breath at the later stage, and would not need to take any auxiliary pills. This is the benefit of having a high Daosheng. Of course, it may also be because the effectiveness of the previous Sifu spiritual object Fountain of Youth still remains in the body. At this time, several foundation-building escape lights slowly approached, revealing the foundation-building monks on the island. Zhan Hongxiu paid homage to Master Fang. Congratulations to Master Fang on his successful elixir formation. The nascent soul is in sight, and the immortal path will be everlasting. Zhan Hongxiu bowed with a very complicated expression. Xiang Dahu was more straightforward and saluted directly. Congratulations, sir, for forming an elixir. From now on, we will live forever. You actually formed an elixir? Bei Lingshu still had a look of disbelief on his face, and he continued. He hurriedly saluted. My dear, forgive me. This junior made a mistake for a moment. Haha, let's go. Fang Qing waved his hand and looked at the foundation-building monks belonging to the Zhong family and Taibai Island. Although Taoist friend Zhong has imprisoned me for many years, I have been refining elixirs for him, but he is still an upright person. I have succeeded in forming the elixir today, and I will not go so far as to attack his people. Just wait and do it yourself. After saying that, he looked at Bei Lingshu. Now that the sect is in trouble, I want to go to the rescue. Do you want to come with me? Bei Lingshu felt hot in her heart. This uncle really understood her. Little girl. I will not give up even if I die. Good. Fang Qing immediately took up the escape light, wrapped up Bei Lingshu and Xiang Dahu, and galloped away in the direction of Baiheman. Zhang Hongxiu was left behind to look at each other with the foundation builders from Taibai Island, and then suddenly dispersed. All the casual cultivators are smart people. Now that Baiheman has 3 alchemy masters, the Zhong family and the sea-destroying alliance may end up in a bad way. Whoosh! A black light swept across the sea, and the pressure of the Dongjia level overflowed. Neither the monks nor the monsters dared to do the slightest offense. In the light, it is the Master He Yuan. At this time, his face is as gloomy as water, a smart boy, shortcomings, and conspiracy. It's just that he has been attacking Baiheman for many years without any results, and his own lair can still produce an elixir-forming celestial phenomenon. He was robbed of his lair without realizing it, which is simply ridiculous. This man was originally supervising the battle on the front line, but he received the news that someone was forming pills on Taibai Island. He immediately knew that it was going to end again, and even his own family might be in danger, so he abandoned the army and prepared to escape to a secret cave for resettlement. It's not like this real person, who has placed a ban on his disciples. Even if he has been out for many years, the cave is safe and worry-free. This time the ruins have gained more. I really can't accept it, but the strength of Baiheman has greatly increased, and I am afraid that I will be targeted next. I am afraid that I can only go to the East China Sea to cultivate immortals, and invite a few friends to come back. Master He Yuan originally had the intention of monopolizing the ruins, but now he has it's getting weaker and weaker. Although he is a demon, he still has a few bad friends. If he gets together, he can destroy everyone in Baiheman. But people in the demon have always been selfish. A few intrigues may not be much better than the current situation. Just when Master He Yuan came to the desert island where the secret cave was located, he was about to wait a few more years to see the direction of the wind. Whoosh! The breeze blew. A figure was still far away, but it seemed to be traveling through the void, and it struck with a fist. La la! The opponent's body emitted Brahma light, and the surging blood was Li Ku, a 3rd-level demon king. This punch directly shattered the elixir defense of Master He Yuan, and fell on him. The soft-armored magic weapon resisted. Even so, Master He Yuan screamed, and black flames appeared all over his body. In his hand, the natal magic weapon, He Tiangu, appeared. Whoosh! The figure flashed again, seeming to blend into the wind, dodging Haixian's powerful blow. Until then, Master He Yuan had the time to spit out a mouthful of blood and looked at the attacker in surprise. That was a young man in a blue shirt. His eyes were like morning stars, exuding the aura of elixir power in the early stages of elixir formation. The strange breath of true elixirs. You are the new alchemy monk on Taibai Island? Why are you in trouble with me? Master He Yuan was secretly frightened. Why, you can find me. Not only that, this enemy is too terrifying, and his wind escape technique is so mysterious. Combined with the body refining technique, I am afraid that ordinary early-stage alchemy monks will suffer a big loss when they meet. Even an old devil like him still has to vomit a mouthful of blood. Stop talking nonsense. Fang Qing sacrificed the sea transformation pearl. As soon as this magic weapon appeared, it released endless mountains and seas, suppressing it like a mountain da. What's more important is that his magic power increased again, reaching the middle stage of pill formation. Impossible. He Yuanjinren's eyes were about to burst, and his He Tiangu magic weapon collapsed at the first touch, and he screamed when he was hit by the Huahai pearl. I will fight with you. He made a fist with both hands and took out a dark token. Just as he was about to activate the restriction on it, his expression suddenly changed. A transparent flame exploded in his body. It was Wu Mingzhao Jin. Fang Qing deliberately found the location of his secret cave and put up a covering curtain to hide the sneak attack, not just to make the demonic pill FO. Remang vomit blood. He had even killed the opponent's eldest disciple, read the entire Black Mysterious Sutra, and understood most of the demonic pill-forming methods. It showed that it was a battle of arts. At the same time, he seemed to be restrained in every aspect. Although he was already at a higher level, he still restrained his opponent at every turn. This fight was unfair from the beginning, and even had the flavor of a dimensionality reduction attack. But what Fang Qing likes most is fighting over the next level. Humph. He didn't give He Yuanjinren a chance to react. He snorted coldly. The demon-conquering Vajra spiritual consciousness and secret technique also exploded, making the Dongjia stunned. Then, the jade flute magic weapon appeared in Fang Qing's hand, put it to his lips, and blew hard. The invisible sonic attack ignored most of the defenses and fell directly on He Yuanjin. Human organs and the sea of consciousness. Within just a few moves, Master He Yuan has been severely injured. It is impossible to say that he will die here inexplicably today. I thought that this new alchemist would join forces with the two major alchemy forces of Baiheman to surround Zhonglingshu. After all, this is the real blood feud. No, this new Jiadan definitely has a big secret. Master He Yuan's thoughts were spinning, and suddenly a look of madness appeared in his eyes, and he took off his left arm. He muttered words, and his left arm exploded instantly, turning into a bloody escape light, wrapping his whole body and escaping to the sky. The secret method of blood escape of demon disintegration is waiting for you. Fang Qing gave a long laugh, and his body seemed to blend into the wind, constantly teleporting to pursue. This is actually not a teleport through the void, but an afterimage of a Daoshengzhu-level wind escape technique. With just a few flickers, Fang Qing caught up with the blood-colored escaping light. In the desperate eyes of Master H. Ei Yuan, the Huahai Pearl crashed down, smashing Master He Yuan into a pile of minced meat, with only his head still barely intact. After a moment, he put away the storage bags of He Tianga and Master He Yuan with a casual move. He just checked them and couldn't help but smile with satisfaction. In this way, almost 2/3 of the proceeds from the opening of the secret realm fell into my hands. Not to mention, when I return to Baiheman, there should be a generous gift. Fang Qing weighed his head in his hand. After all, my gift is also very important. Today, if I use the tidal bead to increase my magic power, I will be almost the same as an ordinary monk in the middle stage of pill formation. Crash, from a seaside cliff, the sound of waves crashing continuously came. In a hidden place in the gap between the cliffs, there is a strange dark coffin. What is inside the coffin is not a corpse, but a strange spiritual tablet. At this time, the tomb was covered with a layer of blood, as if it was possessed by something evil. Damn it, the roar of Master He Yuan came from the spirit tablet. The black mysterious scripture he practiced was an ancient magic skill, which was profound and mysterious. This splitting of the soul was a kind of thing. The second way to escape by feigning death. But this secret method is too costly, leaving him with only a residual soul. Even if he finds a suitable body, he doesn't know how long it will take to return to the realm of pill formation. At this point, the only way is to use the possession technique to control the prepared iron corpse, and then use the restraint to sense the disciples, and let them find a suitable body, or directly seize the body. Alas! What a pity for my eldest disciple. His skills and spiritual qualifications are the same as mine. He was originally trained to seize the body. Master He Yuan secretly regretted it, and a sound of bells came from the coffin. Crack! As the mechanism opened, a figure walked to the edge of the coffin. This was also prepared by him. No. Master He Yuan was just about to use the secret method of possession, but he found that he couldn't sense the refined corpse at all, and he couldn't help being horrified. Then, he saw a snow-white palm gently grabbing the spirit tablet. What came into view was an extremely delicate and beautiful face. Is it you? Yu Xiang'er, are you betraying yourself as a teacher? Master He Yuan's eyes were splitting. No. Even if you betray yourself as a teacher, you won't be able to find this place. Don't you want to die? As soon as I die, the restriction in your body will also break out. Ho ho, the old guy is shallow and ignorant. How can he know that the young master is powerful? Yu Xiang'er leaned on someone. It was Fang Qing. He got the body of Master He Yuan, and it was easy to divine the location of this person's remaining soul. I didn't say much at this time. I just grabbed the spirit card and started to use the god-splitting soul-searching technique. This soul-searching technique also comes from the Black Mysterious Sutra, so it can be regarded as Master He Yuan's own fault. Ah! Master He Yuan screamed again and again, and finally fell silent. Fang Qing waved his hand to release a burst of elixir power, and said to Yu Xiang'er, who was pale and bleeding from the corner of his mouth next to him, "This person is dead. I will help you suppress the backlash of the ban first, and then use the method found in the soul search to lift your imprisonment." Thank you very much, Master. After my concubine's death, I finally belong to the Master alone. Yu Xiang'er smiled happily, as if this is the more important thing. This has been brainwashed into even more fanatical belief. Fang Qing felt a chill at the sight, and then said, "Next, you know what to do. I will hide in the dark and continue to take charge of the remnants of the Destroy the Sea Alliance, operate with the young master." Yu Xiang'er said. This is actually just a casual move by Fang Qing. He laid it out casually to see which idiot will bite the hook in the future. Bu Island, Baiheman. Jingjima Island. After the battle, Qin Rushue quickly led many disciples to work together to repair the formation. Is that Uncle Jin Dao Qin Master? He is truly unrivaled. Many Qi refining disciples saw him and admired him one after another. In a corner, two female foundation building cultivators looked at Qin Rushue, with no trace of jealousy on their faces. This girl was just lucky enough to get in touch with Fang Qing, otherwise how could she have managed to build the foundation with just 3 foundation building pills? Humph, junior sister Qin was quite famous back then. Later, Fang Qing acted as Dan Island, and this woman presided over the Formation Island. She really covered the sky with one hand, but retribution came, and Fang Qing was captured by the master of Tai Bai Island and made into a slave. This woman was said to be kneeling in front of the ancestors' cave of Jiadan and begging, but she was coldly rejected. The Taoist monk ended up like this, and this woman will naturally be implicated. What if she betrays the sect for the sake of the Taoist monk? It is better to keep the hub in the hands of our own family. Now there are several second-level formation mages in the foundation building stage on the formation island. We are just in time to promote the next sect decision and change the position of the leader of the formation island. At this moment, a blue light of the elixir formation level came outside the Baihaman, and Fang Qing's figure appeared, and he said loudly, "Baihaman Fang Qing, now that he has returned, he offers Master He Yuan's head as a congratulation. Where are senior sister Wan and brother Shi? Jiadan. Fang Qing?" The two female foundation establishment cultivators who were talking about each other looked at each other. And a thought suddenly appeared in their minds, that junior sister Qin is shaking again. Call out. A figure flew out from the depths of the Beihai Gate, and Wan Jishuan's beautiful face appeared. When she saw Fang Qing, she felt the true power of the elixir in surprise and said in surprise, "Are you Fang Qing?" Wan Jishuan had met Fang Qing back then and would not recognize the wrong person. But Fang Qing was only building a foundation at that time, and he was completely different from the current Master Jiedan. Yes. After I built the foundation, I discovered that I had awakened a spiritual body that was beneficial to my practice, so I applied for external transfer. I used the third-level spiritual energy to practice silently on Tai Bai Island until the foundation building was complete. Unfortunately, I was captured. Fortunately, I was captured. Zhonglingxiu was so good at condensing qi, but he didn't notice my level of cultivation. Instead, he asked me to refine a gold-forming elixir for him, so he took the opportunity to take one while he was out to form the elixir. Fortunately, he successfully formed the elixir. He killed the enemy chieftain and returned to the sect. Fang Qing explained with a smile. Although there are still some details that cannot be explained clearly, he is now the real person of Jiedan. The status is different, so what if he knows that he has a great opportunity? Not only can the sect not covet him, but he must try to win over him. This is completely different from coming back when he was building the foundation. As the number one alchemy cultivator in Shao Huanhai who can kill Master He Yuan, he can follow him. Just giving an excuse is already very embarrassing. If Wan Jishuan doesn't know how to catch it quickly, then it is impossible for this character to successfully form a pill. At this time, even if the incident of Daoshengzhu is exposed, Wan Jishuan and Shi Tiexing may have no choice but to do it. Knocking out teeth and swallowing blood. However, Fang Qing did not do this very well, so he would not expose it. Rashly. So, junior brother has gone through many hardships and refined the elixir. The sect should congratulate junior brother. Wan Jishuan glanced at the head of the great enemy, Master He Yuan, and a gentle smile immediately appeared on her face. Welcome home, junior brother. Down below, many foundation-building monks and qi-refining monks have already been divided into two rows. The leader is Qin Ruxue, and they all salute respectfully. Congratulations to the ancestor for achieving the true elixir, and a long life. Welcome to the ancestor for killing the enemy and returning to the sect. After being promoted to the alchemy stage, Fang Qing was automatically elevated to the rank of ancestor. Coming back at this time was really a sight to behold and a great honored. He gave Qin Ruxue a look, and then followed Wan Jishuan to the depths of the main island of Baihaman. There is another alchemy warrior waiting here. It is the leader Shi Tiexing. Before, Fang Qing's enemy was unknown and his fighting strength was overwhelming. It was only right for him to stay in the formation and take command just in case. At this time, the three of them met again, and Fang Qing naturally said that he was a senior brother and senior sister. Come. Junior brother, have a try. This is the white jade cloud tea that senior sister has treasured for many years. Wan Jishuan invited Fang Qing to a third-level cave and brewed a pot of high-level spiritual tea. This spiritual tea is not only full of spiritual energy, but also has a wonderful taste. Fang Qing took a sip lightly, and his eyes lit up. Good tea, haha. I am also influenced by you, junior brother Fang. I usually come to senior sister's cave. Where can I find such good tea? Shi Tiexing smiled and said authentically next to him. He did not show the strictness when governing the sect, but he was full of witty words. He was an excellent compliment. By the way, junior brother, you have been promoted to pill formation. And your senior sister and brother haven't given you a congratulatory gift yet. Wan Jishuan chuckled lightly, and with a flick of her sleeves, there were several more jade boxes on the table. Fang Qing blew a breath, and immediately opened the jade box gently, revealing his elixir power that was running smoothly, which made Shi Tiexing shudder next to him. Fang Qing was too lazy to care about this person, and his consciousness swept away. They are all third-level spiritual herbs, thank you for your love, senior sister. He knew in his heart that 80% of these spiritual herbs came from the secret realm of Zhoutian Star Palace. Plus this one, it really comes from the secret realm, and 70% to 80% of it belongs to me. This time I really tasted so much, haha, senior sister, you are so generous, master. I can only borrow flowers to offer to the Buddha. This is my gift. Shurtiexin handed over a jade slip with a smile. Fang Qing glanced at it and found that it was the pill-forming technique of Bihai Gong, and couldn't help but smile on his face. Thank you, senior brother. Well, although there is no part of condensing the nascent soul, it is pretty good. The treatment in this sect is good, and I can continue to stay. By the way, Wan Jishuan also taught some condensation techniques in the early stage of forming the elixir. The skill of the true elixir, then he said, I just heard from my junior brother that I can refine the golden elixir. I wonder what the success rate is. Fang Qing noticed that although Shurtiexin next to him was still calm, he had a somewhat disordered aura, and couldn't help but chuckle in his heart. Of course there was a serious look on his face. The rate of making the elixir is acceptable. One furnace can produce between 1 and 2 authentic elixirs. But this elixir is difficult to compete with. I have only refined it once, and it may fail. In any case, if you can refine the elixir, junior brother's alchemy, I'm afraid He technique has surpassed Xiao Huanhai. Wan Jishuan took out a jade box, opened it, and said with some treasures, Junior brother, please take a look, 5 elements spirit fruit? Fang Qing was even more speechless when he saw this familiar fruit. This is exactly the one he gave the Tianding as a gift back then. Since the death of master-nephew Tianding, our alchemy masters have been in decline, and we are no longer able to use this 5-element spirit fruit. How about asking our junior brother to take action to refine the golden pill? Br Wan Jishuan said with a smile, after the matter is completed, no matter how many pills are formed, this pill island, our elixir garden, and the spiritual field will all be under the jurisdiction of my junior brother. When it comes to business, the faces of the several pill masters are much more serious. Is this starting to divide the interests of the sect? Fang Qing knew well that Shurtiexin seemed to be a pill builder, but in fact he was still a foundation builder, so most of the interests of the sect were in the hands of Wan Jishuan. And the owner of the Dan Island who had been driven out of his position was in the hands of Wan Jishuan. Now, not only is the position eagerly delivered to his family, but also the sect's spiritual field and elixir garden. Wan Jishuan is obviously cutting the flesh. It is my duty to make elixirs for the sect, but I don't need any reward. The beginning of Fang Qing's words, seeing Wan Jishuan's slightly changed face, smiled and said, I mean to be the pioneer of the sect and recapture Taibai Island. If the senior sister and senior brother love each other, the junior brother is willing to continue to sit on Taibai Island. In fact, the trend of Baihaman to dominate Zhao Wanhai is already obvious. Fang Qing can not only go to Taibai Island, but also Tianqin Island. But who told Taibai Island to have a third-level spiritual spring? And he is used to living there and doesn't. T want to move, Taibai Island? Wouldn't it be too unfair to junior brother? Wan Jishuan and Shurtiexin looked at each other. They originally thought that junior brother Fang was greedy for power. Now it seems that he is an ascetic monk. Those things the original caution turned out to be a bit of a villain. Of course not, junior brother, I really like Taibai Island. The third-level spiritual veins there have recovered, which is perfect for cultivation, and the third-level spiritual spring is suitable for alchemy. Fang Qing laughed secretly in his heart. Before, the sect was afraid that he would become a vassal town outside, but now they are eager for him to become a vassal town and rarely come to get involved in the central power. Once you achieve pill formation, the treatment is really different. Taibai Island, a huge spiritual boat is quietly floating on the island. The monks all over the island were cleaning the cave, filling the storage bags, and then boarded the flying boat. Everything seemed orderly, busy, and not chaotic. This flying boat is bigger than the 5-toothed ship of Baihaman, and more importantly, it also has a spirit-gathering formation inside, cultivating a small spiritual vein, which can supply spiritual energy. It's really luxurious. Zhang Hongxiu had visited once, and now standing on the deck, he couldn't help but sigh. Zhong Lingxiu was not furious after he came back. He just said that Baihaman's strength had greatly increased, and he would definitely come to destroy the family, and was ready to pack up the family members and run away. As for the destination? Naturally, it is the East China Sea cultivation world, and he also brought out such a giant ship. After all, he is the direct descendant of the nascent soul sect, and he still has a lot of capital. Knowing the sea, Gui Lao said with a smile, this method of cultivating spiritual veins in the spiritual ship was originally exclusive to my Zhoutian Star Palace. This kind of airship is most suitable for traveling to such extraordinary places. Originally, if the ice spirit root boy left you alone, it would not be that troublesome to travel through thousands of miles of sea lanes. But after adding you, I have to use the spirit boat. With this spirit boat, even if it is attacked by the third-level demon king, it can last for a long time. You must seize the opportunity and leave this remote country. Only in the East China Sea cultivation world can you find the top pill-forming spiritual objects and improve the quality of the true pill. Zhang Hongxiu sighed, looking in the direction of Sanyuan Island, feeling quite uneasy about leaving his homeland. There is also the sea-swallowing demon technique. I caught a few practicing monks, but after checking it, I found that it was not the same. It seemed to be a simplified version. I don't know which demon cultivator passed it on. Now the Sea-Destroying Alliance has long abandoned Tianqin Island and hidden it. Come on, I can't find any more clues. Zhang Hongxiu thought about his own affairs, and then thought about the figure under the sky thunder. Master Fang can physically bear the sky thunder. I'm afraid it is also a third-level body training. Could it be that he is practicing the black water dharma body of Baihaman? Or, at this moment, a chi-refining monk from the Zhong family came over and bowed. Senior, my real person is here to invite you. Zhang Hongxiu nodded, walked into the cabin, and saw Zhong Lingxiu sitting cross-legged. Meet the real person. Get up, I am no longer the master of Taibai Island. Most of the monks who were attached to me have fled, but it is rare for you to be loyal. Zhong Lingxiu's white hair is scattered on her shoulders, and her posture is very leisurely. It seems that Baihaman was defeated miserably and was even forced to abandon his family and business. For him, it was just a breeze and had little impact. Loyal ones are rewarded. What d? Oh, you think of this thing? The light flashed in his hand, and something like an inner elixir appeared. I don't dare to take it. Zhang Hongxiu was about to refuse, but the turtle elder in the Sea of Consciousness said loudly, then, is that the second-level high-grade Wancho turtle inner elixir? Damn it, which bastard dares to kill an old man? Take it down. You must get this thing. This thing is used as a medicine, and combined with the 10,000 years stone milk in your private collection, it is enough to complete most of the foundation of your natal spiritual pet. Zhang Hongxiu felt his heart heat up after hearing this, and immediately changed his words. Elder, I don't dare to say goodbye. I wonder where this thing came from. Of course I got it from someone else. Speaking of which, you know that person, it's Bai Qing, Zhong Lingxiu said with a half-smile. Half a month later. Taibai Island. 5-toothed ships entered one after another, but no Zhong family monk was found. Bai Lingshu had a dreamy face on his face. He came to the elixir garden all the way and found that all the mature elixirs had been harvested, but all the seedlings were preserved, and he looked very polite and courteous. Her face became even more confused. This time Fang Qing went to Taibai Island and also brought her and Xiang Dahu with him. According to the instructions of Patriarch Fang Qing, Xiang Dahu endured hardships for many years, and risked his life to activate the formation protection when he was forming the elixir. He had great achievements. And she, Bai Lingshu, is in the enemy camp and her heart is in the blue sea, so she can be considered a meritorious service. The result is like child's play. The entire Taibai Island has been recovered. Now a group of formation monks are busy under the leadership of Qin Rushue, arranging a real third-level formation for Taibai Island, as expected of Master Jia Jia. Sitting here, he can I want a set of third-level formations from the door. There is a lot of blood in the door. It is said that from now on, Senior Sister Qin Ruxwicken will sit here all the year round, presiding over the formations. Xiang Dahu will be the deputy to assist, but he is happy with it. This has gone around in a big circle, except for the addition of Qin Rushue. Why do you feel that nothing has changed? After a long circle, I'm back again. In the Bingso cave, Fang Qing stood with his hands behind his hands, looking at the Bingso cold spring in front of him, although it seems that nothing has changed. In fact, the changes have been too great. If it were the disciples on the island now, I would kill them all, and I could dispose of any elixirs planted in this elixir garden or the ice soul souls in the cold spring. It can be regarded as a true turning of public into private. He turned his palm and a 5-element spear. It fruit emerged. This is the one from the Bihai sect. Wan Jishuan gave it to him directly, claiming that he would only need to give the sect a genuine gold-forming elixir at that time, which could be regarded as compensation to a certain extent, coupled with the third-order formation. It was indeed very sincere. Refining the gold-forming elixir, I can stably produce 2 genuine elixirs. Just leave one to prepare for you, Xianger. It will always be useful. As for Qin Rushue and Xiang Dahu, if they practice to the perfection of foundation building, I still have a 5-element spirit fruit in my hand that can be used. If the people around him can go to the point of forming elixirs, Fang Qing will naturally not hesitate to support them. It's a pity that most of them can't achieve it. For example, if he hadn't swallowed the rare mana-enhancing elixirs for foundation-building monks every day, how could he have perfected the foundation-building mana cultivation at the age of 100 or so with his mediocre qualifications? You must know that the masters Ling Hu and Shur in the sect have better qualifications than him, but they were only able to reach the perfect state of foundation building when they were more than 150 years old. Sure, Tianxin was still trapped in the bottleneck for many years, and he barely broke through with the help of the Great Barrier breaking pill. Qualifications and time. 100-year-old foundation building perfection is completely different from 150-year-old foundation building perfection. As for a foundation establishment close to 200 years old, there is not much possibility of impacting the core formation. This is the significance of the large amount of resource consumption before. If taken out, it would be enough for dozens of top-level people to spend decades cultivating to perfection in foundation building. But what is piled on Fang Qing is to allow him to reach foundation establishment consummation faster, so that he can seize this opportunity of the secret realm and achieve one step faster, each step faster. With my qualifications, I still have to take drugs. Fortunately, I prepared in advance, and this time the secret realm was opened. I got 70% to 80% of the profit. These spiritual grass resources are enough for me to complete the early stage of pill formation. The cultivation level has been consolidated even further, and it's time to practice in seclusion and break through to the late stage of Daoji. After forming the pill, he rushed to block people and kill people. Fang Qing had no time to improve his Qi Dao realm. Fortunately, if you have enough Taoism, you don't need auxiliary elixirs. Breakthrough is a natural thing. As for refining the golden pill, of course, he must be ranked behind his own cultivation. Fang Qing returned to the cave, went to the retreat room, and communicated with the Taoist priest again, and saw the scene where Zhonglingxiu gave the inner elixir of the turtle with red sleeves and longevity. This actually came from his instruction. Zhonglingxiu is the chess piece he sent to the world of immortal cultivation in the East China Sea, so he naturally needs capable people to assist him. As a girl of luck, Zhonglingxiu is destined to stir up troubles. As long as the situation is not manipulated in his direction, it doesn't matter if a slave dies. Instead, it will allow Fang Qing to see more of the true face of the East China Sea forces and obtain more information. And the demon core of the Wanzhou turtle was naturally that of the Wanzhou turtle from the Jiang family on Sanyuan Island. Zhonglingxiu. Maybe I have some doubts in my heart. After all, third-level body refiners are extremely rare, and the possibility of two appearing in the same place at the same time is even lower. And I physically carried the thunder, and in the end, in order to gain great benefits, I leaked some trump cards, but no matter which ident it. Why I have everyone is kind to her, just tacitly admit it. What's more, I also gave her hush money. I am somewhat looking forward to this woman's experience in the world of immortality in the East China Sea. Fang Qing had a smile on her lips and began to retreat. Time passed by. Inside the cave, Fang Qing's whole body was covered with a layer of water mist, and streaks of jishui light enveloped his whole body, making him even more extraordinary. The late stage of Daoji is accomplished. Recalling the ease of this breakthrough, Fang Qing couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, high moral practice is the foundation. This retreat is much easier than the previous breakthrough to the middle stage of Taoism, and it takes less time. After the Zifu, the requirements for Taoism are higher. Of course, the risks faced by the monks are also greater. It is easy to suffer from the disaster of Taoism. Is the monk chasing the Tao, or is the Tao chasing people? Fang Qing sighed in his heart. Since the retreat time is still short, he is not in a hurry to get out of the retreat, but to get familiar with the various Tao foundations. He is now majoring in Tingxian Dongquan Sutra, but once he has attained the permanent certification, the Tao foundations of other techniques have all reached the late Tao foundation stage, and the Taoist insights they bring are worthy of his study for a long time. Sword. A few months later, Fang Qing wore a blue shirt and gently opened his mouth to drink the light of jishui. In the void gathered and turned into a sharp translucent sword. In terms of quality, it is almost as good as the flying sword. Although all Daoji have tried it, none of them are as comfortable as my jishui Daoji. Furthermore, the talent of talk and sword has been strengthened again. At this time, it is barely useful in the Daoji fight, except for the jishui Tao that suits his destiny. He has never seen this kind of innate spell on other Daojis. Perhaps it is because of the deficiencies in my other skills? After all, my jishui Taoist skills must be the most profound. Fang Qing even had a vague premonition at this time. My own innate spells were still just a minor path when I was in Daoji. If I wait until I break through the Z mansion and develop my magical powers, and my magical powers are consistent with my destiny, I am afraid that even more bizarre and miraculous powers will be born. Come. Now that Shaohuanhai is unified, there is no war, and the ruins will not be opened for at least several decades. Zhonglingxiu and the others have also gone to the East China Sea to cultivate immortals. It's time to pay more attention to ancient Shu and consider the path of my own Z mansion. It's hard to climb to the sky. Sanji had struggled to save up for decades and almost failed to break through. He still managed to break through with the help of Xinjuan's ascendance to the throne and Deitude's spiritual atmosphere. Fang Qing knew that his success in the Zifu would not happen overnight. And, although Dizzy can also practice, it is very weird and can easily attract attention. The place to break through the Zifu can be placed on the side of Qi refining Dao. I don't want to be hit by some inexplicable spiritual atmosphere, leading to failure and death. Although there are no benefits here, there are no disadvantages. In other words, the spiritual atmosphere is balanced among the 5 elements, extremely stable, and unchanged for thousands of years. Of course, this stability does not mean that the 5 elements are absolutely average. For example, on Taibai Island there is more ice-cold aura, but the other fire, water, and wood auras also exist. Furthermore, although there will be changes due to monks' training, changes in formations, etc., they will rise and fall like the tide of the sea, and then remain on an average line. They will not rise and fall as strangely as ancient Shu, it will not affect a county or even the entire world for several more years and decades. After transforming all the ancient Shu Taoist foundations, Fang Qing took another step. He came out of He Yuan Zhenren's natal magic weapon He Tian Ge. He transformed it back into the alchemy magic power of Qi refining Dao. Within the green true elixir, a little elixir fire emerged, refining this natal magic weapon of He Yuan Zhenren. Indeed, there is resistance means that the power will be permanently lost by tens of %. But because it is the natal magic weapon of Master He Yuan, it is of good quality and has been trained by his elixir fire. It is better than ordinary low-grade magic weapons, but not as good as the jade flute and the sea pearl. After being promoted to the Dongjia stage, the innate true fire in his body when he was building the foundation has been transformed into the unique elixir fire of the Dongjia monk. This fire can refine the true elixir, and even cultivate the natal magic weapon. Over time, it can even make the natal magic weapon break through the level along with the monk's breakthrough. After the elixir is formed in blue Si Kung, there are also many secret techniques that can be used to repair the lamp. I can even switch to the swallowing Si Kung Fu. With the Daosheng pearl, I can use other techniques to cover it up. If I dig out the real thing at critical moments, I won't be afraid of being discovered. Fang Qing's face looked a little weird, and his aura suddenly changed. Threads of wood attribute spiritual energy gathered together, covering his whole body with a layer of green light. The Daosheng beads rolled around, and the high-grade true elixir in his dantian was melted away. In its place is a true elixir that glows green and is full of vitality. It is the true elixir formed in the turtle and crane Ju of prolonging life. A Qi refining Dao monk has all 5 elements, so he can naturally practice other attribute techniques. But the efficiency will be very low. But with the Daosheng pearl infusion, he does not need to practice at all. It is also of top quality, superior to ordinary high-grade true elixirs. Fang Qing realized it and felt awestruck. It is limited by the quality of the elixir formed by my blue Si Kung. No matter what kind of technique it is transformed into, the quality of the true elixir cannot be better than the blue Si Kung true elixir. However, the Daosheng pearl can transform the true elixir and transform the techniques at will, which is already a great show of power. He was not greedy, he just sensed the power of the turtle and crane life extension technique and couldn't help but shake his head. Without the contracted natal spiritual pet, the upper limit of the magic power is here, and it is impossible to make progress no matter how you practice. And there is no ability to extend life, which is equivalent to a very ordinary health-preserving skill. The secret of this skill lies in the contracted natal spiritual pet. Fang Qing can practice this skill to the elixir formation stage without a natal spiritual pet, which is already cheating. And he had no intention of using this skill for anything, he just wanted to be prepared. After all, this skill was cultivated by the lucky girl who showed red sleeves, and it is vaguely related to the Zhoutian Star Palace. Maybe there is some chance involved. Some secret realms and treasure prohibitions require specific skills to open. For Fang Qing, this is the only use of this health-preserving skill. If you really want to wear a vest to kill people and steal treasures, it is better to use the Black Mysterious Sutra to transform a magic pill. Inside the cave, Fang Qing sat cross-legged and looked inside at the dark true elixir in his dantian. This elixir is not condensed from the Black Mysterious Sutra, but obtained from the swallowing Si Kung Fu. He spent some time to get started with the practice of swallowing the sea, and refined a little of the magic power of swallowing the sea as an introduction. Xianji transformed his own blue Si Kung true elixir into this dark true elixir through the Daoshengzhu transformation. The swallowing Si Kung Fu is indeed a superb magic skill, and the quality of its magic power is amazing. When I transformed the true elixir, my original Qi refining Dao mana was not enough, so I had to use the Qi Dao Yuanjia reserve. Fang Qing murmured, and then glanced at the dark true elixir, only to feel that its color was extremely deep and slow. It spins like a black hole, constantly devouring everything around it. The reason why swallowing Si Kung Fu is a magic skill is that it can naturally swallow many water-based elixirs, treasures, and demon pills. The effect is incredibly good, and it is somewhat similar to Tuda Daoji's refining Yuan Ding, of course. It can also swallow the mana of water attribute monks, and even true elixirs. It's still a great supplement. In this way, your cultivation will naturally progress rapidly, and in the elixir formation chapter, there are special secret techniques that can purify the mixed parts of the mana and true elixirs. The effect is far better than that of ordinary magic skills, and the consequences will be smaller. But when it comes to purification, how can this secret technique compare to the Daoshengzhu pearl? If it were me, I could completely wipe it out without leaving any trouble. As long as a true elixir cultivator keeps devouring water attribute skills, the cultivation speed during the elixir formation period will be incredibly fast, but Fang Qing sighed quietly. He was not even willing to take lit elixirs in ancient Shu, so how could he swallow the blood essence and blood of monks and practice true elixirs now? The reason why people are human is that they still have some bottom line. Although Fang Qing considers himself not a good person, he is not so depraved as to eat people. This swallowing sea technique embraces all rivers. Even if you just swallow water attribute elixirs, the effect will be hundreds of times better. Even eating spiritual grass raw will do. Also, although I don't eat people, I can eat monsters. The inner elixir of the third order demon must have good effects. It's a pity. It's also very rare. The resources of the Wanhai Immortal realm are still a little poor, and apart from the secret realm, it can't support the cultivation of true elixirs. When the resources I have are exhausted, I will consider going to the East China Sea Immortal realm. By then, Zhong Lingshou and others should have laid a good foundation for him. 1 year later. Ancient Shu, Shitua County. Fang Qing went into seclusion for a period of time to consolidate his cultivation. He was about to refine the Jin Dan that he promised to Baihaman. After ordering it to be sent to Baihaman, he came to Ancient Shu inside Wuxing Temple. Sangji, what do you think of this treasure? Fang Qing took out the bronze spear obtained in Buxu Hall. This spear was bronze in color and heavy in weight. Furthermore, the quality should be better than the sea pearl and the jade flute, but it is not a magic weapon, but a rare treasure. This bronze sword is as tall as a person and extremely heavy. When it falls into Sanji's hand, it is as light as nothing. He waited for a moment, and a circle of supernatural light bloomed behind his head, falling on the bronze sword and refining it. After a while, the white-boned Dharma King opened his eyes with a little regret. The quality is excellent, it seems to be forged from a mixture of various spiritual irons. It has a little bit of the power of Zifu, but it is not a Zifu magic weapon. It has no magical powers. It can only be regarded as an extremely high-quality Zifu. The magic weapon embryo. If you can find a weapon refining master, you might be able to cast it into a real Zifu magic weapon. Is it possible for the monks from the Black Spring Temple to do it? Fang Qing thought of his own Miachu and Jingpin. I'm afraid there are some shortcomings. In today's world, gold and fire are in full swing, and the best weapon refining masters still come from these two traditions. Sangji said, Wing Fire is the correct position of fire, and there are many demon clan weapon refining masters on Luofeng Mountain. It's a pity that the attack and defense have changed, and I'm afraid it will be difficult to contact her again. The White Bone Dao took in the Conque Terra. It was obvious that he saw the strength of the demon clan and decided to help Moyunya. Now that he and the demon clan are in a hostile relationship, he should not think about asking for help. Besides, the Ghost Gold and Niao Gold monks in Jin Dezhong are also quite good at refining gold and iron weapons. That's all. We can discuss this matter in the long term. Fang Qing knows that a Z-Mansion method is extremely valuable, and it requires a lot of favors and resources, and it cannot be done overnight. Even Sanji, the white-bone Dharma King, was in the sect's glory. Only after breaking through the Zifu could he ask for the bone relics from the Zheshengguaxing temple for use. If it were an ordinary Zifu casual cultivator, he would be completely naked after the breakthrough. It would be difficult to accumulate a Zifu magic weapon for decades, and he would still be struggling to use the Daoji spiritual weapon. The scarcity of spiritual objects in ancient Shu can be seen. However, this time the elixir formation was successful. Although the combat power is still not as good as the white-bone Dharma King, it should be no W. Worse than the two terras of Conque and Yuguangbai. Although if they want to run away, I will definitely not be able to stop them. Fang Qing looked to the east. You can try to explore further afield. Of course, there is no rush at this time. Let's go and take a look at the archives first. I wonder how Shitua County has developed in recent years. Qingli Mountain. Fang Shanglin has a mustache and his appearance is still handsome, but he has a little more grace and dignity. Now he is married and the father of several children. Fang Yisin and Fang Wujiu even deliberately trained him to take over the family business as soon as possible, so he became the head of the Fang family. Nowadays, the Fang family not only occupies Qingli Mountain and cultivates many spiritual fields, but also recruits a loose cultivator as a son-in-law for his twin sister Fang Shangning, and takes in several casual cultivators as tenants. The Qingli Fang family also has a reputation in Shitua County. But Fang Shanglin felt that it was not enough. Working so hard to farm, make wine, and accumulate family property. Even if you accumulate it until your death, you may not be able to exchange it for a Taoist spiritual object. He played with the jade pendant in his hand and walked into the hall. I met my grandfather and second uncle, Fang Qing and Fang Wujiu were both there. Fang Wujiu looked middle-aged and said with a smile, Shanglin is here, thank you for taking care of the little things before Shanshuan and Shangqing. Fang Shanshuan and Fang Shangqing are both his heirs. They were named after the Xianqing magic sword captured by Fang Yixin that year. They are the only two people in his lineage who have the qualifications to cultivate immortality, and no matter how good the Fang family's fortune is, it is impossible for everyone to have the qualifications to cultivate immortals. At this time, there are a large number of mortals settled at the foot of Qingli Mountain, preparing to marry and have children as soon as possible, multiply their families, and then establish villages and towns. Our second uncle, you're welcome, Fang Shanglin said a few polite words, and when he saw his grandfather squatting on the threshold, smoking his pipe silently, he couldn't help but said, Grandpa, how have you considered the matter that your grandson mentioned before? I went to Qingyu Mountain to see, and there is indeed a sapphire vein there. If I can take a share, it will be a huge profit in the future. It is impossible to save a Taoist spiritual treasure for my grandfather and second uncle to use. The old man has lived his whole life and only knows one thing, how much food he can eat. Fang Xian finished smoking his pipe in silence and knocked on the threshold. I'm afraid it will be difficult for the old man to cultivate to the point of perfecting his qi in his lifetime. Even if he can reach perfection. The deadline is not far away at that time. Qi and blood are declining, so how can we make a breakthrough? Even if you can eat it, how much will it cost? How much manpower is required? Second uncle, don't worry, I have already negotiated with the Xing family. His family is a Daoji family and occupies the majority. My family only needs to provide 50,000 kilograms of spiritual rice. When the time comes, his family will account for 70%, and my family will account for 30%. If my family hadn't been related to the Xing family, how could such a good thing have happened? Fang Shanglin took care of everything. Is there any problem in this? Fang Wujiu took a breath. 50,000 kilograms of spiritual rice? Our family has been farming for decades, and we only have 20,000 kilograms of savings in the warehouse. When the time comes, we can borrow some from Master Fai Yuan or the Sifeng Chamber of Commerce. When the sapphire is mined, everything will be fine. Fang Shanglin's heart was filled with excitement. My grandfather is olden. His second uncle's qualifications are too poor. When the time comes that he really gets the Daoji spiritual object, wouldn't it be prepared for him? What relationship does my family have with the Xing family? If there is, it is the relationship between being a tenant and kowtowing to others. When I met the noble daughter of the Xing family on the road, I would always give way and salute. How can I have any face in front of others? Fang Yixin suddenly spoke coldly, implying that he was not optimistic about this business. Grandfather, Fang Shanglin's eyes turned red. For this transaction, my grandson ran up and down, spent countless efforts, and finally managed to get in touch with the master of the Xing family. Are you going to reject it at one word? My grandson has gone to check it out in person. The sapphire vein has been confirmed, and the reserves are huge. It will definitely make my family a lot of money. It's a hugely profitable business. Why did they bring you in? Fang Wujiu sighed and asked. Of course he values our Qingli Fang family and his grandson himself. My family has undergone major Daoji repairs. My father can do Ji, so naturally I can do Ji too. Fang Shanglin's tone became more and more intense. In the end, the three of them broke up on bad terms. Alas, looking at Fang Shanglin's leaving back, Fang Yixin sighed. Shanglin, why did this happen? Fang Wujiu murmured to himself, what else could it be? He is no better than you. You were a tenant farmer of the Xing family when you were a child, and you suffered a lot. As soon as he was born, my family was established in Qingli, and the foundation was already established. We pity him for losing his father when he was young, and we can't bear to criticize him. Instead, we raised him like a son of aristocratic family. He didn't learn anything else, and the arrogance of a son of aristocratic family was revealed. It's quite a lot, Fang Yixin smiled bitterly and said, he is right, he does have a Daoji father. He has the ambition to build a Daoji father in his heart. As soon as this person comes of age, he will not be able to change without suffering a big loss involving life and death, family destruction and death. Even if some people suffer this disadvantage, they may not be able to get better. No. The patriarch's seal? Fang Wujiu was immediately shocked. Shanglin is acting in an extreme way. If he takes the family master's seal and turns raw rice into cooked rice, what should we do? Damn it. Go and catch him quickly. Fang Yixin's expression also changed greatly. A few days later, the group carried the stretcher and came to Qingli Mountain. Fang Qing, the deacon of the Sifeng Chamber of Commerce, asks to see the master of Qingli Mountain, a monk in the late stage of surrender, said loudly. It turns out to be Meng Dao. Fang came out to greet him with a cane. When he saw the person on the stretcher, he was suddenly startled. Grandson? But Hu Lao's power is still there. The meridians are broken, and the Dantian Qihai is damaged. Fang Wujiu, who followed him out, checked and found that Fang Shanglin's limbs were still slightly injured. The real trouble was the Dantian Qihai. What is going on? After all, he was better at nourishing his energy and looked at Fang Qing. To be honest, your young master went to Yuyifang that day and had a dispute with the Xing family. It was just a small matter at first, so it was over with 50 big blows each. When Fang Qing mentioned this, he felt a sense of admiration in his heart, but your young master is shouting loudly, saying that the Xing family's Daoji Dashio defrauded money. Do you need to know how noble Ji Dashio is? How can you allow Xiao to slander you? Even if a monk from the Xing family takes action to punish him, the young master will be like this. My boss is still kind-hearted and doesn't want to see others die in front of his eyes. He also thinks of his friendship with the Fang family and ordered me to send him back. Lin, Br. When Limingxue saw this scene, she burst into tears. No matter how angry she was still filled with sadness and resentment when she saw her son had truly become a waste. That's it. I'm so rude. Everyone, please come in and serve tea. Fang Yisen clasped his fists and saluted. You're welcome. The nobles must have a lot of chores now. I will follow the boss to visit another day. Fang Qing smiled very politely. He left with his men, and the last sentence was a faint reminder. Father, Fang Wujiu's expressio. And changed continuously. Shang Lin borrowed 20,000 kilograms of spiritual rice from the Sifeng Chamber of Commerce. I know. Fang Yisen waved his hand, but if the soldiers come to block it, the water will come and the soil will cover it up. At worst, we will go back to being sharecroppers. Fang Wujiu was speechless for a moment, and saw several servants and tenants approaching, and shouted, It's none of your business, go back first. The Fang family cultivated their spiritual fields and became very wealthy for a while. Naturally, they bought slaves and became landlords. After living in good times, you still want to go back to the past? How is this possible? 1 month later, a black light fell on Qingli Mountain. It was Su He. Behind him were several monks from the Sifeng Chamber of Commerce, and Fang Qing was among them. Brother Fang, sigh, Su He sighed, as if he was forced to make this trip. In my heart, I am still complaining. This Xing family is worthy of cultivating. They are really stubborn. Even if the young master doesn't care, when Fang Wuchen comes back, I think the Xing family will have to be displaced sooner or later. Just in time to waver. It's just the news that there are survivors among those in the Way to game, at least at the first level of the Zifu. How could a subordinate know the information? After seeing him for many years, he could only treat it as dead. The group came to the living room, and Fang Yisen ordered someone to watch the tea. When he saw Su He drinking it, he thought to himself, this person is not a good person. Senior Su came here today, but for the sake of borrowing money from my unfilial descendants? Fang Yisen was the first to speak. Not bad. Su He put down the teacup. Let Sun use the seal of the head of the Qingli Mountain family to lend 20,000 kilograms of fine spiritual rice to our company. According to the rules, 9 out and 13 return, so the earlier the better, the better. Okay, if you drag it on, I'm afraid your Qingli Mountain won't be enough to compensate you. Brother, what do you think? Yes. Fang Yisen closed his eyes. The debt is now 26,000 kilograms, and our Fang family still has 20,000 kilograms of spiritual rice in stock. There are still 6,000 kilograms of spiritual rice. I will use magical weapons, elixirs, and spiritual objects to compensate for it, and I asked the seniors to show their respect. Yes, Su He was very happy and took out another spiritual contract. There is also this Master Faiyuan. 10,000 kilograms. Now 1 month later, it is 13,000 kilograms. Damn it. Fang Wujiu almost fainted. If the debt was only 6,000 kilograms, then the Fang family could grit their teeth and get through it. But another 13,000 caddies? The only option is to sell the land. Fang Yisen sighed. In that case, then use that green mulberry jujube tree to compensate. A woman walked into the hall. It was Lo Mingxue. She bowed to her father-in-law and Su He, and said, It's all the fault of my family's evil deeds, so it will be solved by my family. That jujube tree also belonged to my family back then. I guess I can keep my word. Naturally I will. Fang Yisen closed his eyes. Okay, 1 chi spiritual root is worth 10,000 caddies, and there are still 9,000 caddies. Even if you have 1,000 caddies and 1 acre of spiritual land, how about giving you 9 acres of spiritual land? Su He said with a smile. He came here today to force the Fang family to sell their land. Ling Tian is different from ordinary fields, involving changes in the Earth's atmosphere and inspiration. The Fang family has cultivated less than 20 acres in Qingli Mountain for so many years. There are also 3 acres of land for 2-bedroom properties. Yes. Fang Yixin gritted his teeth, I am drawing up a spiritual contract here. It would be easier for me to ask my senior to send it to Master Faiyuan's temple. It's just that there are tenants cultivating these acres of spiritual land, and they are all honest monks. I would like to ask my senior to take care of me, yes. Su He smiled and said, your Fang family is good at farming. I actually want to hire your family as spiritual farmers. Fang Wujiu smiled apologetically, seeing that his old father was still groveling despite his age. He clenched his hands unconsciously and dug his nails into his flesh. Okay, I will open the granary now. Fang Yixin took out a small formation flag and shouted, bring that little beast out. I want him to watch the spiritual rice being shipped out of the warehouse and the spiritual field being delivered with his own eyes. Wuxing Temple, after Fang Qing's daily exercise, he discussed Taoism with Kong K. Terra. This former green clam demon general not only became much more solemn after achieving Terra, but also had a circle of colorful divine light behind him, which made people dare not take any offense. In this way, your ancestors have also achieved this position, which is really disrespectful. Fang Qing was a little surprised. The phoenix raised 5 chicks, and each of the first 5 sons is an earth-shattering big shot. Kong K. Terra replied lazily, Phoenix certified, wing fire, and gave birth to 5 sons. Jingwan got it. Pure, living in the position of fire, later heard about the death of the one on, so he climbed up. From this point of view, the age of Phoenix's enlightenment should be in early antiquity. Fang Qing started his habitual archaeology again. By the way, Kinga, where are your ancestors now? Of course he has fallen, otherwise, how could I have fallen to such an extent? Kinga sighed, is also known as fishing lights, which means floating. It is really not a good image. The true kings have already fallen several times. In this case, why did the ancestor Qingwan want to prove, back then? Fang Qing was surprised. Naturally, there are other people occupying the other positions of fire virtue, or there are unspeakable reasons. In short, the ancestor of Qingwan declared his death not long after he attained enlightenment. It seems that he fell at the same time as the kitchen lord. Terra of the Skybird clasped her hands together, recited a scripture, and then said, maybe it's because several golden elixir masters have fallen on the golden throne of, and there has been some kind of ominousness since then. Most of those who practice, in future generations will end badly, maybe it is destiny. Nowadays, there are no big forces cultivating, or the famous Sifu Immortal clan. There are only some Taoist and convinced forces, ignorant and fearless, and they are still using, to pass down their families. Fang Qing saw this, but something moved in his heart. According to the Tai Su Golden Book, there are several ways to prove a gold position, which means that more than one true king can be proved. Even if the phoenix occupies the main position, there can always be one in the sequential, subordinate, guest, or even absent positions, right? Why do you want to monopolize it and sit back and watch Qingwan fall? Is there some way to do this? Unfortunately, even Qingwan is hard to know about this kind of thing. Some time later, the Dharma King ordered me and Moonlight White Terra to go out to deal with an important matter. You will need to take care of this Wuxing temple. Fang Qing said, I will obey the order of the Dharma King. Empty Bird Terra replied solemnly, even though the person in front of me ran away for decades, he was still favored by the Dharma King after he came back. The leader of the sons. Although Kinga is a little confused, thinking about her identity as Terra, she can only obey her orders. What's more, she can build the little Kongke temple and house the monsters who follow her, so she can live in peace in this chaotic world. Of course Fang Qing would not do anything for the Bone Master, all he had to do was his own private matters. While the situation is still relatively stable, it's time to start the previous plan. At this moment, his mind moved, and through Daoshengzhu, he saw a cartload of rice being moved out of the Fang family warehouse, gathered into a convoy, and transported to the Sifeng Chamber of Commerce. That Fang Shanglin looked really miserable, but he was forced to do so. He must look directly at this scene, his face is very depressed. This man is useless. The injury to Qi Dao's Dantian Qi Hai can only be repaired by at least Dao-based spiritual objects, or magical powers. If you take my Gonlin spring water, you will have to take it for at least many years to have any hope of improvement. Who would pay such a high price for him? Unless he waits until the Taihuang sky opens and Fang Wuchen comes out. Fang Qing felt quite emotional when he saw the scene. Even if it is impossible for a big family to produce wise heads from generation to generation. If it encounters someone like Fang Shanglin, the accumulation of several generations will be wasted. This is like the ancient feudal empire, where the extravagant expectation that every king will follow the founding monarch is as wise and powerful. It's all a joke. The Fang family still has me taking care of it, but it has fallen into this situation. If it were any other casual cultivator family, if there was a slight movement, the family would be destroyed, especially if the Wuxing temple moves even a little bit. Shitua County and the surrounding Daoji forces will tremble. A grain of dust falling on the upper cultivator will be like a mountain. In the twilight, there was darkness. Occasionally, bright silver light flashes. These are extremely dangerous void storms. Even with the miraculous protection of Moonlight White Terra, she can only bypass or retreat. Even encountering overwhelming silver white light, sometimes I have to exit Taishu and enter the real world to escape. Fang Qing asked Moonlight White Terra to take him to escape Taishu. His only feeling was, no wonder only Zifu after that, he will be qualified to travel around the world. Given the vastness of ancient Shu, even if his speed at Daoji lasted for 10 days and a half, he might not be able to fly outside the scope of ancient Shu, let alone the dangers he would encounter along the way. Of course. He can't fly at full speed every day, and his mana consumption can't keep up. He also needs to reserve mana. With the help of Taishu, he can easily avoid these, and the time consumption is shorter. It's just that Taishu is also very dangerous. Big. Moonlight White Terra is the shame of Zifu. With her strength, she has to escape for half an hour before returning to the living world to regain her magic power and magic. If she encounters Zifu's formation or even any dangerous place in the void, she must stay away. Detour from the real world, Danshui Baijia. After half a day of traveling through Taishu, Fang Qing and Moonlight White Terra arrived at the Baijia residence. Surrounded by beautiful mountains and clear waters, there are many Baotu springs. The Bai family land in the middle is shrouded in a layer of strange light, sealing the void. The Zifu formation. Sure enough, the Zifu immortal clan who cultivated Jishui in this life has an extraordinary background. Fang Qing sighed and motioned to the Moonlight White Terra next to him to come forward and kowtow in the formation. He came out this time, naturally, to use the name of the secret treasure realm and the White Bone Dharma King to collect Jishui skills and even spiritual objects for his fami. Ly, even if it was a discussion, I have done divination before traveling, so as long as I act carefully, I should be fine. The Danshui Bai family is located in the boundary of Hahuan sect, so they will not act like those famous sects. Refuse to accept the advice of me, the Bone King, right? Fang Qing has great hopes for the Bai family. Moonlight White Terra stepped forward, and white light bloomed from her body. This light was not a magical power, but it had the mystery of the White Bone Temple magical power. With this magical kowtow formation, the internal monks naturally knew that someone from the first level of the Zifu was visiting. Not long after, a series of water curtains opened, and from a late Taoist cultivator came out from Zhongfei. He was dressed in white and had an old appearance. He bowed and saluted. Bai Mulan, the head of the Bai family in Danshui, has seen 2 real people. I wonder if the real people are here. Hearing this sentence, Bai Mulan had a look of fear on his face and some hesitation, as if he didn't want to let these 2 real people enter the battle. This scene made Fang Qing feel a little strange. As a serious Zifu master, and within the Zifu formation, are you still afraid that the 2 Taoists, Terra, will not succeed? 2 Taoist friends, I have made a mistake in my practice, and it is difficult to welcome me in person. Please forgive me, Mu Lin, invite the 2 Taoist friends to Dumulin. At this moment, a magical power came, with an old voice. I obey the order of my ancestors, please. Bai Mulan breathed a sigh of relief. The more he was in the Zifu immortal clan, the more he knew how trustworthy the Zifu master was. Horrible, a Taoist monk like him has no business standing in front of others. He can stand tall thanks to his status as the head of the Bai family. Fang Qing and Moonlight White Terra naturally didn't care. When they walked into the Zifu formation, they saw a raging light of Jishui. There is a series of lakes on the earth, like pearls, constantly spurting out spring water. In the spring water, there are also Jishui, spiritual objects of the level of submission, and sometimes even the aura of the Daoji level is hidden. What a treasure land of Jishui. Fang Qing felt it and couldn't help but admired. My family has cultivated Jishui for a long time, and there have been 3 real masters. They all chose to break through in the clan area, and under the accumulation of weather, they reached the level of Jinren Bai Mu. In the past, it became such a treasure. Bai Mulan introduced respectfully, and landed in a dense forest beside a lake. Fang Qing and Moonlight White Terra also pressed down to escape the light, but they were startled. Where is Master Bai Mu? This forest is formed by a huge banyan tree. Countless aerial roots penetrate into the earth, just like a single tree forming a forest. There are even countless tree roots entangled in the lake, forming a dense network. The scenery is beautiful. But only Bai Mu was missing. 2 fellow Taoists, Bai Mu. Just when Fang Qing and Moonlight White Terra looked at each other in confusion, a voice suddenly sounded beside them. Huh? Fang Qing was startled, and then he realized that the source of the sound was less than 2 feet away from him. From this distance, the Dongjia monk could arrive in an instant. Even if he was wearing a sky-shielding curtain to sneak up on Master He Yuan, it was much farther than this. If this person suddenly attacks Miaoshan and I will at least vomit blood. What kind of magical power is this? Fang Qing looked over with fear, and was stunned again. I saw an old man with white beard and hair, wearing white linen clothes, looking at the two of them with a smile, and his breath was almost nothing. What's even more terrifying is that its lower body is completely integrated with a banyan tree, with vines, and even the aerial roots of the banyan tree spreading out, and water flowing through it. The water flows endlessly, emitting the light of Jishui, and seems to be some kind of living thing with vitality, constantly squirming on the roots. Bai Mulan next to him had already lowered his head, not daring to look any further. Obviously, this kind of scene is very dangerous for the late Daoji monks. Supernatural power overflowed? On the other hand, the moonlight white Terra next to me seemed to see something. Fellow Baimu, is it because he failed to practice his magical power, and he was hurt by the backlash? Alas, that's exactly what happened. I have been able to achieve magical power with Jiu Gonlin for more than a month. In these days, I want to refine the second magical power in Lin Bank. Breaking through the middle stage of Zifu, something went wrong and he had to sit here, which made the two fellow Taoists laugh. Jinren Baimu flicked his sleeves and put down his white linen clothes, completely covering his lower body. Mu Lin, why don't you serve tea? As he spoke, the roots of the banyan tree emerged and entangled themselves, forming a set of tables, chairs, and benches. Thank you, fellow Taoist. Fang Qing and Miaoshan looked at each other and both sat down. When Bai Mulan personally held the refreshments and served the fragrant tea, Bai Mu opened his mouth and took a sip. The tea suddenly turned into a thin line, and there seemed to be a little bit of golden light in it. It sank between his lips and teeth, and turned into a golden bug the size of a finger. Master Shiraki chewed with his mouth open, making a squeaking sound, as if he was chewing golden iron. After swallowing, his cheek suddenly turned a bit red, and his condition was obviously better. Kongjin, spiritual object? Fang Qing identified it and already had a guess in his mind. It seems that the wood energy in the Taoist friend's body is too strong, so he had to cut it down with gold virtue, but we too were reckless. Although he is ordinary, the moonlight Whi. T. Terra next to him was achieved with the help of Sanji's magical power, and Sanji's magical power belongs to female earth. Obviously, the weather of their arrival made Master Baimu feel a little uncomfortable, so he needed to swallow the Kongjin, spiritual substance to relieve himself. Female earth is acceptable, and the two of you have no magical powers. I can still hold on with my old bones. If a Lu Tu, master comes who is good at cultivating vegetation, I will have to wonder if he is here to harm me. Senior Baimu chuckled, but explained nonchalantly. Is it possible that fellow Taoist cultivators are not sure about their magical powers? Why are the results so tragic? Moonlight White Terra asked with her hands clasped together. Alas. Although my family is known as the Zifu Immortal clan, there is only one Jiu Gonlin magical power inheritance that is complete. After the cultivation is completed, other, Jishui, Taoist foundations will have to be involved. How many, Jishui, Taoist foundations are there in the world? Ancient methods and new methods are mixed, most of the true knowledge is of low grade, and the magical power is hopeless. Occasionally, I got a fragment of the hidden forest Zifu, so I repaired a few and tried to practice the magical power. Unexpectedly, I had bad luck. At the critical moment of practicing the magical power, I met the master who preached the Tao. Bai Mu Jinren said with a bitter smile. This is also an unlucky guy. At the critical moment of cultivating Shui De, he encountered the spiritual atmosphere of destitute. However, looking at his appearance, I'm afraid it's more than that. It's impossible to say that he used some blood sacrifice pills and other crooked means to develop magical powers, but he was hit by a gun. Fang Qing mourned for Master Bai Mu in his heart. If it weren't for this person there is also a magical suppression, and it is said that he will die. The aftermath of the Kitchen Lord's enli Tenment has not dissipated to this day, and it is profoundly affecting this world. In order to complete the Jishui path of a junior, I wonder if the nobles are willing to trade the two Zifu techniques. In addition, I also want to collect some Daoji, Jishui, spiritual objects. It would be better if there are Zifu spiritual objects. Jishui, Zifu spiritual objects, my family doesn't have them. Shinran Baimu shook his head. As for the Zifu techniques? It's the foundation of my family. If I want to change, it has to be a first-level Zifu magic weapon to have a chance. Fang Qing sighed. Then let's change to some Jishui, spiritual objects that are beneficial to the later stage of Daoji. I have some Shinshui materials in my hand. Yes, Master Baimu is injured after all, and he may not want to offend the secret area, but he is very easy to talk to. Fang Qing is also very talkative. After all, it is rare to see a real person from Zifuan, Jishui. The two sides chatted for a while, and then they talked about the Hehuan sect, the top sect of the Bai family in Dongshui. Shangzong has always been good to the local immortals, except for asking for materials every few years. There is nothing, Master Baimu said it very calmly, and he didn't know how much blood and tears he had hidden. Fang Qing is quite interested in the true lord, Fengri. After all, he is the dividing line between ancient times and modern times, and he is suspected of being involved in many major events. After a little insinuation, Master Baimu immediately said, the Empress has also not appeared in the world for a long time, but her title has been passed down. His expression became solemn and he said solemnly, the Empress is honored in the big day, named Fuyu, with dragons and phoenixes in auspiciousness. She is the supreme female immortal, so she is called Yuanjun. The great Sun Fuyu Longfeng Yuanjun? Fang Qing thought silently in his heart, but did not say this title aloud. Instead, he praised, as expected of the Zifu immortal clan, and his family background is indeed. Of course, the name of a true king above the golden elixir is not taboo. Can speak out at will. If you think about it, there will be a response. Even if he is resurrected, he will not dare to say Dong Yuan Si Ming Linging Shinjun, and at most he will call him Zao Lord. Or, like Master Baimu, separate a section of the honorific name. Otherwise, maybe Zhenjuan's gaze will fall. I just don't know if there will be a response if I shout this honorable name from the Qi refining roadside. Forget it, let's not commit suicide, but I have the golden finger of if you are in the reckoning, maybe it will be fine even if I shout it here. Can it be blocked? However, Fang Qing couldn't help laughing when he thought of the title of Yuanjun. I can't say that this Yuanjun was actually a true king. The two sides talked for a while, and Fang Qing mentioned Songhai sect. It is difficult for us to seek the path. I wonder if there is a perfect inheritance of Jishui, Zifu and Songhai sect? This should not exist. Master Baimu thought for a moment and replied, this sect has produced a great master, Zhen Shui, with extraordinary power. There are at least 3 magical powers of Zhen Shui in the sect. Do fellow Taoists want to go to the authentic realm of Taixianmen? What? Isn't it possible? Fang Qing asked. We in Z Mansion can come and go as we please, and further east we will reach the authentic realm of Taixianmen. But the golden fire Taoism over there is very powerful, and they look down on those of us who are demon cultivators. Master Baimu sighed, tradition, family background, origin. Those righteous people like this tone, and even casual cultivators are looked down upon by them. There are many who fled to the open sea and joined our demonic path. The implication seems to be that the secret realm and the Hu Yao are included in the large circle of the demonic path. Fang Qing was speechless for a moment. I really don't know about the customs in the East. I am very curious. I wonder if the real person can explain it. When I first became the Purple Mansion, I did travel a bit. The East is a vast land with abundant resources, and it is divided into 2 countries, the Northern Zhou dynasty and the Southern Wu dynasty. Due to the prejudices of orthodoxy and family status, they have never been harmonious, and there have been frequent attacks. The virtue of fire prevailed in the Northern Zhou dynasty, and there were Jindan sects such as Jiutian Fire Mansion who were in charge for fireworks. In the land of Wuyue in the south, swordsmen were popular, many people had haircuts and tattoos, and dual sword fighting was common. There were sword cultivation holy places such as Wenjian Mountain. As for the Songhai sect that fellow Taoists asked about before, it is already located in the southeast of Wuyue land, close to the outer sea, 9 Heavens Fire Mansion. There seems to be a monk there who has a big cause and effect with the White Bone Dao. Fang Qing's heart moved, but Sanji is not in a hurry to find someone to settle the cause and effect. Obviously, he has a very big background, so I am even less anxious. Anyway, it is not my face that is embarrassing. On the other hand, Miao Shan next to him, the light behind his head fluctuates slightly, obviously thinking of the difficult time in the White Bone Dao. It's really fascinating. Fang Qing looked yearning. Haha, I was finally recognized as a demon and was chased all the way out of the Northern Zhou dynasty. Senior Baimu laughed. If Dizzy wants to go, be prepared to not come back. So dangerous? Then let me go to the Z Mansion. Fang Qing's heart moved, and he complimented, the real person can defeat powerful enemies in a row and break out of the encirclement, and his methods are amazing. Well, we monks of Shueda, what else can't be said? When it comes to fighting skills, we are the last among the 5 virtues. It was also the real person from the Z Mansion who recognized my background, so he reluctantly let me go. Zhenbaimu sighed said, golden fire appears in the world, Taoist unity has always been strong, and Tu De, Mu De, are also powerful against my Shueda. Among the same ranks, my Shueda is always weak. Who can I ask to explain this? Back then, that person from the Songhai sect, Zhen Shui, a great cultivator in the later stage of Zhen Shui's achievement, he met a demon clan Zifu and laughed at how could Shui to be a great monk. Then what? Fang Qing was a little curious about the follow-up. Oh, that demon happened to be a cultivator of, by you, and was immediately beaten to death by the great master. I always felt that there was a deep inside story. Perhaps the great demon of the Zifu had committed some taboo and was plotted by a big shot to die, or maybe he was obsessed with some magical power. Baimu took a sip of tea and said leisurely, fellow Taoist must not underestimate the Taiyin system because of this. According to what I see, apart from the Great Sun and Golden Fire Taoist traditions, the Taiyin Taoism is the most powerful. Nowadays, the Taiyin Taoism is mostly in the hands of the demon clan. Do you think how powerful the demon clan is? Even the one on Moyun Cliff has retreated and has to form an alliance with me. Thank you for your guidance. Fang Qing feels that he has gained a lot from this discussion and has solved many doubts in his mind. By the way, you can also buy a batch of Jishui, Taoist spiritual objects that are useful for spiritual practice, which is a worthwhile trip. It's a pity that the Tai Xianmen area to the east seems a bit dangerous, but Songhai sect can't go there. Just when he was about to say goodbye and Leah. He heard Master Baimu say, if fellow Taoists want my clan-suppressing technique, it's not impossible. Oh? Fellow Taoist, please elaborate. Fang Qing became interested. I am now trapped in my family. I have been thinking about ways to escape, and now I have gradually gained something. I have become possessed by practicing magical powers. Kanli is out of order, yin and yang are separated, and the energy of cold wood fills the meridians, so that I am so trapped. Senior Baimu continued, if you wanted to save him, he must obtain the Zifu spiritual object belonging to Kong Jin. He needs to blindly golden Shaoyang Yuan to save him. Moonlight White Terra said, the golden Shaoyang Yuan is transformed by the essence of Kong Jin. It was born in the land of the extreme sun. After thousands of years of condensation, it is full of Yang He Qi, but it is quite counterproductive to the Qi of cold wood. Yes, Kong metal, belongs to Qian, the ridge is water, and Qian is gold. The trap in the profound abyss is due to the overwhelming prosperity of Kanshui and the loss of heaven and earth. The golden Shaoyang Yuan enters the body, like dry gold, calming down the chaos in Kanshui, causing Kanli to return to its position, and the spiritual machinery will operate as usual, then the heaven and earth will be clear and bright, and all demonic obstacles will be dispersed. Fang Qing also understood something, so, you want us to help you get this golden Shaoyang Yuan? Yes, I traveled to a hidden place in the past, and there was a golden Shaoyang Yuan growing in it. If my Taoist friends can get it for me and relieve my troubles, I am willing to donate the Zifu Kung Fu for my clan. Master Baimu bowed deeply. This matter, Fang Qing's heart moved, and several plum blossom petals fell, scattered into hexagrams. Mr. His expression changed slightly, and he immediately shook his head. There must be dangers around these spiritual roots of heaven and earth. We are not going to be like Terra, and our strength is a shame for the Zifu. We are afraid of missing important matters for fellow Taoist. Fellow Taoist, you should ask someone else. After saying that, he did not give the Master Baimu any chance, and took Miashan away. It's so dangerous outside. If you do any mission, you'll be killed. Who dares to go? This is indeed a shabby place. How can I have the simple folk customs of my little Huanhai? Now I can kill with my sword alone. Old ancestor, when Fang Qing and Moonlight White Terra left the Zifu formation, Baimulan stepped forward timidly. Is your body feeling better? Kill me painfully, Master Baimu screamed. The flesh and blood on his face broke open, and golden bugs emerged one after another, and he swallowed them all. How can a female earthly, Terra, how can I feel better? I am holding on and trying not to let anyone see that I am tired. Otherwise, other families will pounce on me like hungry wolves and swallow my family whole. Who knows if those two people are him? A test invited by them? But, my grandson looks at those two people as if they are sincerely asking for advice and purchasing, Jishui, spiritual objects, and they are quite aggressive. Baimulan is a little confused. Ho ho. Terra, the disciple, wholeheartedly relies on the Dharma King to practice, so why bother to practice on her own? For the sake of future generations? Have you ever seen any of the disciples in the Vajrayana realm who have the spare time to support future generations? The so-called Terra is nothing more than a slave of the Dharma King. Master Baimu's face was grim. If there are any children in my family who are greedy for the convenience of secret skills and who practice secret skills, they will be killed without mercy. If there is a Brahma who is extradited and becomes a disciple, he will not hesitate to kill the whole family at the command of the master. Yes. Baimulan hurriedly bow. Wed and obeyed. He originally saw his ancestor chatting happily with the two secret masters, thinking that they had a good relationship. Unexpectedly, it was this result. No matter how good the secret teaching is, it belongs to others, and no matter how bad the way of Jishui is, it belongs to oneself. You are the master of the family, so you must understand this clearly. Master Baimu turned over with difficulty, and the vines on his body moved like a python, wrapping him tighter. Although I am in poor condition now, it is not the fault of supernatural powers. That book, Seeing Deers in the Forest, can indeed be repaired. Refining, Jiu Ganlin plus Yin Lin Bian is the same path in the middle stage of the Purple Mansion, but the method of blood sacrificial elixir must be used less. Old ancestor, by Mulan burst into tears. Are you crying? Our family of casual cultivators has not always been like this. Our ancestors started the journey, established the foundation, and used human lives to test the magical powers. I inherited the ambition of 3 generations, and after 100 years, I finally destroyed the White Deer Gate, plundered its treasures and true traditions, opened the way to the middle period of the Zifu. I am already a broken body. If future generations are lucky enough to be able to pave the way to the Great Master, they should come to my grave to toast. I am under Jiuquan, and I should also congratulate my descendants, Shinran Baimu said. It is difficult for me to protect you and others in my current situation. The few Zifu seeds in the family must be careful not to harm others. The 2 Terras who arrived today were strange, and it is difficult to guarantee that they were not tested by enemies. I specifically instructed them to get the golden Shaoyang Yuan, but they did not agree, which made me a little confused. Ancestor, if the Purple Mansion spirit flower is indeed beneficial to you, we will get it for our ansas. Tours even if we risk our lives. Bai Mulan said quickly, confused. That dangerous place, I'm afraid it will be useless even if you risk your lives. If the Zifu spiritual creature could be created with Daoji's life, I would have done so long ago, Shinran Baimu replied disapprovingly. Shitua County. The void opened, revealing the figures of Fang Qing and Moonlight White Terra. Terra has worked hard this time. Please Miaoshan, please go back to the temple first, I have to go shopping elsewhere, Fang Qing said to Moonlight White Terra. This Terra had a very good temper. She did not complain about being used as a free driver by Fang Qing. She just smiled slightly, clasped her hands together, and left with a salute. Fang Qing drove the white-bone temple Daoji and opened up a temporary cave on a hilltop. He settled down and silently sorted out the harvest. The boundary of Dongfang Tai Xianmen is a bit dangerous. The only Zifu immortal clan in Jishui, cultivated by the Hehuan sect is the Dongshui by family, but the Daoji but there is a lot of power. I visited around this time and I actually picked up more than a dozen copies of Daoji Kung Fu. Unfortunately, there is not even a fragment of Zifu Kung Fu. If it is a fragment of Zifu like the whale swallowing the Songhai Ju, the true power it has swallowed must be above the 7th level. Not all Zifu exercises are the same as the treasure land Guiyuan Jing, and they also come with secret techniques to improve the quality of truth. So Fang Qing focused on this and could easily make a judgment. 4 of them are Jiu Ganlin, which is very different from the Book of Guanhailing, and some are even worse. They may be inferior substitutes of Jiu Ganlin. There are also a few books, some of which are like the simplified Dao Foundation of Wei Linfeng. Wei Linfeng is the Dao Foundation cultivated by Zifu cultivation technique, so it is naturally unique. In short, they are all rubbish. There are still 2 books, which are quite interesting. The true knowledge to be taken is the 5th grade Lin Zhongqing. You need to find a place with lush vegetation and black deer inhabit, and collect it in the forest using a secret method. It can be completed in 10 years. The Tao base is Cal. Led Lin Zhongqing, which is quite hidden. Fang Qing thought about the breath-holding ability of Master Bai Mu that he saw, and suddenly felt that this deer in the forest was probably not the lower Taoji of the hidden forest bank. The 2 deer in the forest skills came from 2 Taoji families. But our ancestors were all disciples of the White Deer sect. Unfortunately, the White Deer sect has been destroyed in general. It is better to be in the Dongshui by family, at least they can get a lot of Jishui spiritual objects. He shook his head, finally understanding the suffering of casual cultivators. The Tao of Jishui is not very obvious. There are more than a dozen Taoist foundations. Without inheritance, wild cultivators can only practice whatever they want. No one knows whether it will be a dead end in the end. What's more, if you accidentally swallow the Rongjinyang, you will be hopeless for the rest of your life. Even if you are lucky enough to reach Sifu, you will still be confused about which magical power you should cultivate next. There is a difference between ancient and modern magical powers. If you practice it wrongly, there is no hope of achieving gold. Well, ordinary Zifu masters don't want to prove gold, but they can't find the 3 suitable magical powers. Even the great masters in the later period of Zifu it won't work. If I practice wrongly, I will end up like Pushenjun. Fortunately, I have a way to produce pearls, then it will be fine. At worst, I will have to try and make mistakes one by one. Sifang Chamber of Commerce. I've seen the young master. Fang Qing walked into the Chamber of Commerce, showed a token, and was immediately taken to a secret room. The first person to come in was Meng Qing. He bowed respectfully and brought the account book. This is the income of the Chamber of Commerce over the years. 8 copies of Daoji Kung Fu were purchased, and 3 spiritual objects. Unfortunately, there are n. Remaining chapters of the Zifu. Guildmaster Su He is negotiating a business in Lishan. Fang Qing took the account book and flipped through a few pages carelessly, not caring about checking the accounts at all. After all, in addition to Su He, Fang Qing and several other deacons were also cultivators who had been saved by him. Back then, each of these guys made a lot of noise at the trade fair and decided on the trading location. After that, he visited them one by one and took in several good dogs. Later, I felt that they were of little use, so I threw them all to Su He, forming the backbone of the Sifeng Chamber of Commerce. With these people here, this Chamber of Commerce will never be able to escape from its own hands, let alone deceive others. On the other hand, Qingli's Fang family. After this hemorrhage, even the servants and tenants were dismissed a lot. After the injury of Master Fang Shang Linfeng improved slightly, he had to go to the ground himself. Fang Qing didn't care about this little thing at all. After a little inspection, he returned to Wuxing Temple. I have seen the venerable Sangji, the white-boned Dharmic king, clasped his hands together and saluted respectfully. These days, he has been trying to improve the exotic bronze weapon in Fang Qing's hand, but he doesn't seem to have much of a clue. After all, it is indeed a bit difficult for a female cultivator to study weapon refining. And it is also difficult to trust such a precious Zifu magic weapon embryo to others for refining. There is a Zifu slave, it is really useful. If it weren't for the King of Bones standing in front of me, how could I be so comfortable now? I could even visit the Zifu Immortal clan at will, bully and search for Taoist forces? Fang Qing sighed in his heart, and casually asked about the situation of White Bone Dao. Today's White Bone Dao is no longer just in Shitua County, but spread to the surroundings. The situation in ancient Shu is not bad. There is the old practice of Xuanta sect, but several forces to the south have been attacked by the Incorp sect, and the Kumaraji Dharma king of Daoshengzhu temple has sent a temple order, ordering the young monk to go to the south to investigate the news of the Nanta blessed land. Sanji said with his hands clasped together. Although he is actually Fang Qing's slave, on the surface he is still the hidden Dharma king and the general leader of Eastern Brahma affairs. So you can't do whatever you want, you still have to contribute to the secret cause. Even as the Dharma king of Daoshengzhu temple, he must also deliver benefits to the temple and complete specific tasks. The Dharma kings are not fools. If they do something too outrageous, it will naturally arouse suspicion. The blessed land of the lost master? Is it left behind by a real person from the Z Mansion? Those who can build the blessed land are all strong men in the Z Mansion, or it is only possible if several Z Mansion join forces. Fang Qing sighed, if the conflict is fierce, then we really have to fight, not with the Xuanta sect. That's a joke. After all, the master of the Corpse Forest and the one behind the Incorp sect are both true kings on the Ntu, but they are not the main ones. This battle for the position is the biggest Taoist dispute in the world. Master of the Corpse Forest is also a code name. Like Kitchen Lord, reciting it will not link the true monarch. The real name of the society is recorded in the Shichilan Master Speaks of Nuta Sutra. It is a long secret text, and Fang Qing will certainly not say it casually. Although in this state, there is a high probability that he will not be heard even if he shouts. When the Lord came to the throne, the Incorp sect killed a great master, Kai Yuanzi. He has been keeping a low profile in these years. This test should be a near miss. Sangji said with relief, without the ancient true Lord, the great True Lord in the later period of the Z Mansion is the top combat force in the world. The Incorp sect is missing one person, and its strength is greatly reduced. And when they encounter the Kitchen King who forbids blood and cannibalism, it rains all night. After all, most of them practice Tuda, which happens to be restricted by the status of Tuda. Really? Fang Qing always felt like he was acting on a whim. The plum blossoms in my heart are easy to predict, but I got a Zhongping hexagram, and I couldn't help but feel a little irritated. Golden elixir doesn't count. Is this really an ordinary task? Or a test? Sangji's chi has been reduced. Although he has achieved the purple mansion and has great fortune, he must have replenished his chi. But will it be seen during the enthronement ceremony? Or is it the temptation and assassination of other temples where all Dharma originates? It's still okay, but the Incorp sect itself is hidden in danger? The blessed land of oblivion? Fang Qing had a lot of thoughts in his heart, and suddenly said, do you know the origin of this blessed land of oblivion? This blessed land is extremely ancient, and the young monk has no idea of its origin. I only heard from the temple that this blessed land is destined to be a female soil monk. However, the cave heaven blessed land is isolated from the universe, but it is difficult to send out Terra. The young monk may have to make this trip in person. Sangji said Dongtian paradise is a self-contained void, which isolates the outside world from the void. For Terra, it is very troublesome and the magic is limited. Even Sangyi or other secret Dharma kings do not have the power of the Daoshengzhu. They cannot watch the live broadcast, let alone possess it in person and be immersed in it. Therefore, it seems even more deliberate and suspicious that the deity must be dispatched. Are you destined to be a Ms. Monk? Fang Qing thought for a while, and the Suhei he had penned to be the female Taoist priest. However, there is only one Daoji monk under his command. He rarely succeeds in self-study, so it seems not good to send him to die. Wait a minute. I have fallen into a misunderstanding. Other techniques are not easy to open to the public, but the master of the corpse forest speaks of the Nuta Sutra is a pure secret technique. Zhengzhu was initiated with this technique. Of course, I can also use this technique to create Taoji Mingzi for the two ladies. Furthermore, I'm different from Sanji. He can't perceive everything about Terra in real time, and he can't go online to fight on his behalf. There is a barrier between heaven and earth, so even the true spirit may not be able to escape after his death, but I can. So, Sanji should be allowed to take over. I will send two Mingzi first to see what's going on in the blessed land of oblivion. If it's really dangerous, Sanji can fool him. Anyway, as the Dharma King, he is already a high-level official in the secret realm. Who can force him to die? After the senior officials of Wuxing Temple made the decision, the entire Shitua County and several nearby places began to commotion. If a thought from a superior falls on a subordinate, the world will be turned upside down. Qingli Mountain. Fang Xianglin's hair turned white overnight and he looked dozens of years older. He sat on the ridge of the field and stared blankly at his mother, sister, grandfather, second uncle, and cousin, working in the fields. After his cultivation was abolished, it was difficult for him to assume the original tasks of a monk, and he could only do some tricks. I have suffered a lot these days. But looking at the spiritual fields not far away that no longer belong to my family, I feel even more painful in my soul. At this moment, a monk with a big face and a ruddy complexion, holding a Zen staff, came to the edge of the spiritual field. Master Faiyuan? Fang Yixin wiped the sweat from his forehead. And felt empty in his heart. Why do you come in person? Of course there is something important. Monk Faiyuan said solemnly, there is an order from the White Bone Road. There are Brahma enemies in the southern border. We should be vanquished by the Brahma soldiers. War order? Fang Wujiu was in a daze and looked at Fang Xiangli next to him. Back then, during the battle against the Xuantu sect, this eldest nephew was still an infant. Now, is this happening again? Master Faiyuan, Fang Yixin's face was a little pale, but with a hint of tenacity. I wonder how many people from our Qingli Fang family will be involved in this battle. 2 people from the late Qi stage, and 4 people from the early and middle Qi stages. Monk Faiyuan clasped his hands together, with a look of mercy on his face. But this time, no Suhei was around to say anything nice. Ho ho, this is going to wipe out all our Fang family. Fang Yixin smiled sadly. I and Wujiu are in the late stage of admiration. But the monks in the early and middle stages of admiration really need someone to take care of their families. It shouldn't be like this, but this is a big war, and the noble master has already separated his family, so naturally he should be treated separately. Count me in the same lineage. Monk Faiyuan looked very serious. This is a war, and the punishment will be severe. Anyone who dares to escape will be punished by the whole clan and the sect. Of course, when the thing is done, the reward will be very generous, and there will be no delay. Count me in. Lu Mingxue stood up and said softly. Alas, let's go to Shangshuan and Shangqing, too. Fang Wujiu sighed. If we spend a lot of money to hire a casual cultivator, it should be enough, right? He and his old father looked at each other and both looked at Fang Xianglin. If it hadn't happened this time, the young head of the family would definitely not have been able to escape. But now that he is a useless person, he does not need to go to the battlefield anymore. I don't know if this is where the misfortune lies and the blessings depend on it. Refining the Tao of Qi, Xiao Huanhai cultivates the world of immortality. Taibai Island. This time, is really different from the little drama-like fight at Xuantaman last time. Fang Qing sat in the cave, untouched by cause and effect, invulnerable to all laws, and looked at the scene on the other side of the Qi Dao through the Daoshi. Engzhu. At this time, the White Bone Dharma King was taking the 2 Terras, Yuguangbai and Kong Ke, to meet with the real person of the Purple Mansion of the Incorp sect. After all, the noble Zifu can be served anywhere. He sighed with emotion, and his eyes fell on the real person of Zifu of the Incorp sect opposite Sanji. This real person has a hook-like chin, thin cheeks, and an unattractive appearance. He is wearing a jet-black Taoist robe, but there is a circle of magical power behind him. There seem to be countless jet-black seal characters inside, swimming like fish. The poor Taoist Liu has met Dharma King and Terra. Master Liu glanced at Sanji and the 2 Terras, and there seemed to be a hint of greed. After cultivating the Z mansion, naturally he was not greedy for skin and color, but greedy for their magical powers. Br, what a white bone temple. The Dharma King must be condensing cleaning the fate of the dust, now. The aura of Master Liu has already reached the middle stage of Zifu, and the two supernatural powers in his body are not based on the White Bone Temple. Yes, fellow Taoist Liu has made further progress, which is really gratifying and congratulatory. Dharma King Sungi clasped his hands together. I think back then, when the young monk followed Dharma King Kumarajiva to meet the real person had just developed the magical power of rebirth land, but now he has perfected the two magical powers and has been promoted to the middle stage. I should be congratulated, ho ho. Kumarajiva? I'm afraid she's a female, Daijin now, right? Of course, your secrets are all called Great Dharma King, they are all the same. Jinren Liu was a little afraid and asked Sanji to sit down and drink tea. Fellow Taoist, is it because of the war below? From my point of view, just follow the convention. The Zifu's methods will not end, and others can be left to the Taoist base and perseverance. You can also set some bets to get a good fortune. It's so good, it's just the blessed land of the lost land. Sanji smiled and listened to Master Liu's ears, but it was as if he was shocked. Damn secret monk, how did you know this information? Since the donor knows our sect of secret monks, he knows that I must get a share of this blessed land. Sanji also broke his face and showed a cruel smile. Now your Incorp sect is missing a great master, and you are forbidden to eat blood. I'm afraid that all the great masters are not in good condition, right? Why bother provoking a powerful enemy at this time? If we let go of the blessed land, wouldn't it be good for you and me? Master Liu's expression suddenly turned serious. The blessed land of oblivion is an ancient secret realm. Since it has been known to the secret treasure territory, our sect has no exclusive intention. Otherwise, with the habits of secret monks like you, Moyun Cliff will definitely be dragged into it. That's all, but you need to come up with people. To open the blessed land, you need a destined person. This is easy. Sanji clasped his hands together. Actually, the cave is not bad, but the blessed land is only built by the real people of Zifu. There are always flaws in Taishu. If several real people of Zifu join forces, they can directly force the opening without any conditions. It's just that this can easily damage the blessed land and cause a lot of trouble. Secondly, it will damage one's luck, so neither the master of the Purple Mansion nor the Dharma King of the secret treasure will take it. Instead, they will try their best to find someone who is destined to come over. They just want to take advantage of it and do not want to bear the consequences. According to Fang Qing, if the blessed place is compared to a beauty, these Purple Mansion just want to take advantage and do not want to be responsible. They found another unlucky guy to get the certificate. But it was them who made the groom. Not only that, but a blood sacrifice is also needed. You and I each have a Taoist foundation and a convinced monk. The eerie voice of Master Liu came. Southern Xinjiang is now overgrown with weeds, and it is time to harvest and clean it up. Southern Xinjiang is mountainous and full of miasma. A camp surrounded by firelight. Fang Wujiu opened the tent and saw his old father wiping the broken Shanqing magic sword. In addition, my two boys and my sister-in-law Lu Mingxue are also there. We have already found out that tomorrow we will set off with the team of Guildmaster Su Hei to attack the Black Miao village. There are Daoji monks in that village, so I'm afraid it will be a fierce battle. Fang Wujiu said with a serious expression. This time Wuxing Temple has strengthened its troops. Even Su Hei cannot escape and can only bring the men and horses of the Sifang Chamber of Commerce to serve. At least he is an acquaintance. Senior Su can be easy to talk to as long as he has enough spiritual talent. Fang Yisen breathed a sigh of relief. This time, it is different from the Xuanta sect. As an old man of Baijian, he knows it very well. The last attack on Xuanta Gate was just a small fight. But this time I am really risking my life. If you are in danger, you can hide here. Fang Yisen took out his cigarette pouch out of habit and looked at Lu Mingxue. Girl Shui. I have suffered a lot for you these years. Lu Mingxue was very calm. I am not bitter. Fang Wujiu looked frustrated and slapped his two brothers, Shang Qing and Shang Xian, on the head. I usually don't study spells well at home, but now that I'm on the battlefield, I just come to the battlefield to sharpen my spear. We Shuai monks are already weak, so we should practice more. Fang Yisen took a puff of dry cigarette. We junior martial arts practitioners basically focus on talismans and magic weapons. Whoever has stronger magic power, sharper magi, sea tools, and more talismans will have an advantage. Spells and other things are too troublesome to use in battle, and are far less convenient than talismans. However, talismans are expensive. And which I'm afraid that with my family's financial resources, it will be difficult for you to get a magic weapon to convince you. Old man, I have been practicing the Guan Heiling book for many years, and I have learned a few tricks. Listen carefully, everyone present is from the Fang family, and Fang Yisen doesn't shy away from it. This spell is called Wind Traveling Hezi. The Ji is the beginning of wind. Water moistens the essence below. When performing this technique, make the Sunda seal with your left hand, draw the water from the bucket with your right hand, and chant the wind moves the water and the water dries up. Then the wind will blow the water, which can break the enemy's formation and cleanse the dirty air. The old man said very seriously, if you encounter a strong enemy, change the formula to Jiguang protects the body, then the wind will flow on the water, which will be beneficial to the body. Tomorrow we go into battle. I don't ask you to break the formation and kill the enemy, just to save your life. Alas, it's a pity that my family's practice is its Jishui. If there are, Bishui, monks here, you can feel much more at ease while healing your injuries and saving your life. At the same time, in another tent, Fang Qing was sitting cross-legged when he suddenly felt a mysterious force falling from the sky, and shrouded in radiance, gathered in the sea of qi in his dantian, and actually condensed into a foundation, which was the White Bone Temple. This Dao foundation can see through illusions, bless oneself, and bury the gloomy corpse energy. Have I achieved the Dao foundation? Fang Qing's expression changed, and he immediately restrained his aura. Young master, do you want to ensure that tomorrow's battle is foolproof? The N. EXT Day. Black Miao Village. Alas, poor old man still has to go into battle and fight desperately despite his age. Su He sighed and took out a Daoji spiritual weapon. This spiritual weapon is dark and inconspicuous, and looks like a small mountain. The skills he practiced were not secretly taught, but were deliberately leaked by the Incorp sect. Therefore, the basis for attaining the Taoism is not the White Bone Temple, but the rebirth earth. At this time, a piece of black soil gathered on the ground, and bulrushes and dark Ganoderma lucidum grew in clumps and pieces, exuding the fragrance of herbs. The Daoji spiritual weapon in Su Hei's hand was built by his own family over many years. It is called 10,000 mountains. It is not only extremely strong in body, but also weighs 10,000 mountains. It can transform into thousands of ravines to suppress the enemy. No. It's the enemy's main force. The only Daoji monk in Heimiao village is an old drum master. He wrapped his head with a piece of indigo cloth, tied knee pads to his legs, and held a gong and drum in his hand, but it was no more than a magic weapon. Seeing Su He sacrifice the 10,000 mountains, I couldn't help but be shocked. His Black Miao village has been exploited by the Incorp sect every year. Not only does it demand a large number of spiritual objects, but the corpses of the tribesmen and monks are not allowed to rest in peace after death, and they have to pay a corpse tax. It is not easy to get a Taoji, but it has been stuck in the early stage of the Taoji for many years, and there is not even a Taoji spiritual weapon at hand. Grandpa. How about we surrender? Behind him, a Yungu master couldn't hold himself back and shouted, the Incorp sect is unkind. We don't. This small village naturally has no inheritance or orthodoxy. This young man learned the Gu technique of D2, and he has long wanted to seek refuge in the north, so as not to have N. Oh, inheritance, idiot. Lao Gugong raised his hand and slapped him, his face as gloomy as water. You dare to surrender? Believe it or not, the real person is watching from the sky. Surrender is death. Resist to the end and satisfy the Lord, but there is still some way to survive. Fellow Taoist, why don't you show up yet? From the sky, Su Hei's loud shout came from the sky. Old Drum Master exhaled a long breath, black smoke billowed out from his body, and he lifted himself up into the air. Shangzong has an order, the offenders will be killed without mercy. His whole body exuded Taoist visions, turning into billowing black soil, surging towards him. Huh? Is he also a reborn in the land of death? Su He exchanged a few moves, but gradually gained confidence. I originally thought that I was the master of Daoji, but I didn't expect that there was a better one. He didn't even have a Daoji spiritual weapon. Su He raised his hand and made a move. Wan Zhongshan came to the top of Old Drum Master and pressed down with a crash. This Dao-based spiritual weapon is made of Liuhe soil mixed with Kunchen jade. It is as heavy as a 10,000 stone, and it also has a change called Xuanzhong Liguang. Enveloped by this light, Old Drum Master suddenly felt that his whole body was stagnant. It's like a huge mountain, and it can't even control the light. Boom. 10,000 mountains suddenly transformed into a huge mountain the size of a house, and crashed down. Old Drum Man. A young man screamed loudly, his skin and flesh withered, his body was broken, and he spit out a small insect. The small insect turned into a dark arrow and shot straight towards Su He. Successful monk? This is, sacrifice all one's own essence and blood into natal goo, and then burn it all into a single blow? Su He chuckled and raised his hand slightly. The light of Ntu gathered and turned into a piece of black soil, burying the arrow. The huge gap between the realms of the Qi Dao cannot be solved by risking one's life. Aligu? Old Drum's eyes couldn't help but turn red when he saw the tribesmen sacrificing themselves for themselves and using their meager magic power to delay the Daoji monk. There were cracks all over his body, as if porcelain was about to break. And his magic power surged. We have to fight hard. Su Hei's expression turned solemn at this time. He is not afraid of thousands more monks in the conquering Qi realm, but these are monks in the early stage of Daoji who are still worthy of attention. Kill. Below, a group of convinced monks have entered the Black Miao village. Fang Qing is holding the Qianqing magic sword. Every time he uses the sword, one of his opponents will fall. Beside him, Fang Wujiu is holding several talismans in his hand. Every time he uses it, his face is full of tears. There was a hint of physical pain. Don't, Dad, save me. Suddenly, Shangshuan and Shangqing were faced with a group of dark insects, looking in a hurry. Wujiu, go and save people. Fang Qing immediately made a circle with the sword in his hand, pulling Fang Wujiu's enemies to his side. Dad, be careful. Fang Wujiu took a deep breath and the light from the jishui around him gathered, turning into streams of water, rushing towards Shangqing and Shangxian. Fang Qing looked across from him, and now there was another master who was convinced of the 7th level. That was a man of few words, who used a pair of copper maces, and his mace techniques were quite organized, as if some inheritance. Oops, as a casual cultivator, he is most afraid of encountering this kind of family background. Fang Qing was stunned. The brass mace hit his Qianqing magic sword, and he felt a numbness in his arm, and an inexplicable corrosive force was transmitted along the palm of the sword to his wrist and arm. Drink. He quickly kneaded the knot, and jishui, light flowed, and he felt better. Even so, Fang Qing spit out a mouthful of blood. A young man with a miao knife next to him was overjoyed when he saw this, and immediately stepped forward, stabbing with a long knife, preparing to kill Fang Qing. No. The monk with the mace reminded loudly, but unfortunately it was too late. Fang Qing rolled around like a lazy donkey and held out the Qianqing magic sword in his hand. This sword was not elegant, and even looked very clumsy and ugly. But on the battlefield, he looked extremely vicious. He just managed to dodge the blow and stabbed the Miao Dao young man in the lower abdomen. The Miao Dao young man fell to the ground with eyes wide open. There's another one. Fang Qing gritted his teeth secretly as he felt the mana in his dantian beginning to become thinner. Ah. At this moment, an exclamation came from the side. It was Lu Mingxue. Fang Qing glanced out of the corner of his eye and saw that his daughter-in-law's clothes were stained with blood, and she was already helpless in the face of the siege of 2 convinced 6th-level monks. Alas. Mingxue's qualifications were not bad at first, and she was expected to be in the later stage of convincing. But her vitality was damaged when she gave birth to a child, and Wuchen never came back. She had a knot in her heart. Something went wrong when she was trying to reach the later stage of convincing. His old eyes seemed to see Xingjia town, Lijia, and the green mulberry jujube tree again. I owe her after all. Fang Qing gritted his teeth, and his aura suddenly changed. He stepped forward, and the magic sword in his hand suddenly turned into several afterimages. The mace man was startled. He quickly retreated and hit Fang Qing with his mace, but it landed on Fang Qing's left shoulder. In an instant, Fang Qing's left hand was shattered, but the magic sword in his right hand was gently handed over and landed on the mace man's throat. If the earthen pot is not broken from the well, the veteran will inevitably die before the battle. Fang Qing smiled softly in his heart, and the light of jishui on his body gathered again and turned into a line of water vapor covering the ground. Spells are popular in Heezy one by one. With a flash of his body, if he was flying on the water, he came to Lu Mingxue in an instant and held out the Qianqing magic sword. Poof. Fang Qing was in the late stage of convincing after all. He had strong magic power and was desperate. With one sword strike, the enemy on the opposite side was immediately beheaded. When another monk saw this horrific scene, he immediately shouted and retreated frantically. Father? Lu Mingxue looked at her father-in-law covered in blood and couldn't help but mourn. Fang Qing just used the secret technique to destroy the body. At this time, the whole person fell to the ground and became extremely weak. It even feels like the vitality is constantly passing away. In the Dantian Qi, the jishui mana overflows and turns into a trickle and pours into the earth. Don't cry. I'm still on the battlefield. Fang Qing smiled miserably and handed the magic sword in his hand to Lu Mingxue. After I leave, the big room will be handed over to you. Boom. At this moment, the battlefield was shaken. Lu Mingxue raised her eyes and saw a strange white skeletal figure standing up slowly, clasping her hands together. There seemed to be a person imprisoned between the white skeletal palms. It was the Daoji of the Black Miao village. President, let's join forces to wipe out this beast. Fang Qing was in high spirits. The White Bone Temple's Taoist base was moving, controlling the White Bone Dharma that was higher than the hill, and laughed. Haha. Good. Su He was overjoyed, and the mountain suddenly collapsed. Crack, old drum master, who was imprisoned by the White Bone Law, could no longer move. He was suddenly suppressed by a mountain and sank into the ground. Old drum master is dead, run away. In an instant, countless Miao people in the Black Miao village were running and screaming, completely losing their fighting spirit and fleeing in all directions. Hoo, it's finally over. Fang Wujiu wiped the blood from his face, but saw Shangxian next to him hugging Shangqing, crying, Dad, my brother is dying. He was startled, and saw his cyst. in-law covered in blood and his father lying on the ground. He quickly touched his arms, his heart felt empty, and he shouted, "Comrades, do you have any healing elixirs? I am Qingli from the Fang family, I will thank you greatly in the future." It's a pity that at this time, there are so many mourners on the battlefield, where can anyone listen to his cry, even if there is a healing pill, the priority is to save one's own life at this time, and it is impossible to trade with him. Just when Fang Wujiu was desperate, a ray of light fell, it turned out to be Fang Qing, little friend Fang. Fang Qing exuded Taoist pressure at this time and looked at Fang Shangqing. "Your family has contributed a lot, and the capital will see it. I will allow your family to borrow the healing elixir on credit. I happen to have a water elixir here, let me give it to you first." "Thank you." Fang Wujiu quickly took the azure pill and gave it to Fang Shangqing to drink. A gurgling stream of water suddenly emerged from the wounds around Fang Shangqing's body, stopping the bleeding. He began to vomit again, vomiting out clumps of strange black hair, with countless small insects crawling out of them. D2, acting as troublesome, Fang Qing shook his head and came to Lu Mingxue and found that Fang Yisan had lost his breath. "Alas, the old master is old. Even if I take action in advance, it will be difficult to rescue. Thank you, sir." Lu Mingxue's eyes were slightly absent-minded, and she clenched the Shanqing magic sword in her hand. In this world, if the Zifu doesn't come out, the powerful characters in Daoji are still quite useful. Fang Qing used Fang Qing's perspective to observe the battlefield throughout the whole process, and had a slight understanding in his heart. Zifu masters rarely fight in person, and usually sit back and watch the subordinates do it, dividing their interests through gambling. At this time, it would be really useful to have a Taoist gene Ral who is good at fighting. Coupled with the secret initiation method, it is even more shameless. He slowly took a sip of tea, turned his eyes again, fell on Sanji's perspective, and looked at Kong K. Terra next to him. "What's wrong?" Kong K. Terra has been in Taishu before, observing the traces of the blessed land of oblivion. At this time, the five-colored light flashed in his eyes, and he said respectfully, "There are traces of the blessed land. It will probably fall within the range of Kurosawa. Southern Xinjiang is mountainous and full of miasma. Kurosawa Plain is a rare piece of flat land, but it has always been relatively barren before. This time, Wan Xiao spilled his blood on this plain. I am afraid that the land in the coming year will be extremely fertile. It will be regarded as a treasure land in the future." Fang Qing controlled Sanji and sighed with emotion. "The corpse of a Qi Dao monk is a treasure. If the Purple Mansion is here, it will immediately become a treasure land or a desperate place. This is the merit accumulated by me, female Earth. Kong K. Terra clasped her hands together and said solemnly. Fang Qing looked at the enchantress and was speechless for a moment. "How long have you been a Terra? Your thoughts have become secretive, which is really scary. But, so far, I haven't found anything wrong. The Incorp sect is also working hard to kill its own disciples, to gather the fate and turmoil that shakes the blessed land. Sangji is not besieged by anyone, it's all normal. Could it be that I'm a little too conceited?" Tai Bai Island. Inside the cave. Fang Qing always has some doubts in his heart. In any case, we will see the results when the Oblivion land opens. Anyway, Sanji will definitely not be the first to enter. Then I can control the Tumingzi, enter it and investigate, and take out any bees or dog treasures. Kurosawa. Tens of thousands of monks are mixed together in one place, and the battle of magic continues to shine. Even if you are as noble as a Daoji monk, you will fall as soon as you fall, turning into a vision that fills the world. Above the sky. The strong wind turned into a gentle breeze and drizzle in one place, and then dissipated. Shinran Liu and Sangji, the boneless Dharma king, watched the scenes below with their eyes extremely calm. Not long after, the bones and flesh on the plain turned into mud, blood flowed across it, and turned into a pond. A huge white skeletal statue was submerged and buried in the endless black soil, and white Ganoderma lucidum grew out. Fang Qing cursed secretly when he saw the scene. One of the Tumingzi who were temporarily promoted, died. There is nothing we can do about it. After all, the war is fierce and dangerous, and there are real people from Zifu watching above, so it is difficult to do anything cool. Fortunately, wait. When more than half of the monks from Shitua County and the Incorp sect were killed or injured on the battlefield, there was a faint fluctuation in the void, and an inexplicable door opened. A stream of light fell down, and several, female Earth, Daoji monks were selected and fell into the blessed land of oblivion. Huh? Fang Qing sensed it and found that Suhei was not selected. Perhaps it is because the old man has exhausted his potential and lacks luck? On the other hand, Fang Qing, the only surviving Akiko, has arrived in a new world. Haha, the blessed land has been opened, fellow Taoist, please. Master Liu laughed and looked at King Sanji. No hurry, no hurry. How can these Taoist monks escape from your hands and mine? Sangji had already received Fang Qing's signal, but he answered calmly. Is this the blessed land of oblivion? On Taibai Island, Fang Qing took full control of Fang Qing. Looking at the dark sky, he couldn't help but sigh, it is a blessed land. Tioch. There is no view of the sun, moon and stars, and the scope is much smaller than the cave sky. If it were another guru, Dharma King, his subordinate Mingzi Dizzy would immediately lose most of his magic after entering the blessed land, and due to the barrier of the void, the true spirit cannot escape after the death and cannot bring out any information. But unlike Fang Qing, he still has the strength of Taoism and can be possessed and manipulated instantly. My body is still on Taibai Island, safe and sound. I can explore it carefully. He chuckled, and a mountain-like white bone statue appeared, holding Fang Qing in his palm, walking in the blessed land. Rumble. Every step of the white bone statue made huge footprints on the black soil. This blessed land is indeed very ordinary, smaller than the Yanba blessed land. Fang Qing walked forward slowly, and suddenly felt a wave of fighting skills, and his expression was stern. After getting closer, he discovered that it was actually two Taoist monks from the Immortal sect fighting among themselves. Is this a demon sect? Fang Qing was speechless, but when the two Immortal sect Taoist priests saw someone coming, they immediately stopped and looked at him warily. You too, there are so many opportunities in the blessed land, why bother killing each other? Fang Qing showed a smile, ready to persuade, and then saw the opportunity hidden behind the layers of black soil that the two sides were fighting for. The darkness broke through, revealing a little golden light. The golden energy overflowed, and several burning flowers appeared. Burning golden flower. This flower is similar to peony, but its branches and leaves are like gold, with golden light rising from the sky. Is this golden Xiaoyang Yuan? There are 3 of them? Fang Qing couldn't help being surprised when he saw this, and he understood why the two Immortal Daojis were fighting each other. After all, the golden Xiaoyang Yuan is a spiritual object of the Z Mansion, even if its value among the spiritual objects of the Z Mansion is low, and it is not the kind of great medicine that can assist Kongjin, Daoji perfection monks to break through, it is still needed by the Z Mansion. For example, Master Bai Mu had previously begged Fang Qing to pick a golden Xiaoyang Yuan for him to relieve his own cold wood. The golden Xiaoyang Yuan is transformed from the essence of Kongjin. It was born in the land of the extreme sun. After thousands of years of condensation, it is filled with the energy of Yanghe. Fang Qing thought of the relevant descriptions in the Purple Mansion Spiritual Objects illustrated book by Baoguang Dharma King given by Sanji, and couldn't help but think, is this the dangerous place that Bai Mu said? It's not that coincidental, right? And there is only one of the dangerous places he mentioned. It's not like there are 3 here. Even if it's a trap, the cost is too high. Wait a minute. This is obviously the blessed land of Nujiang. Where did the essence of Kongjin come from? The higher the Qi Dao monk's cultivation, the more valuable he is. Drops of blood are used as medicine. Drops of blood are used as medicine. Fang Qing no longer hesitated, and directly gave up this rare Zifu spiritual object, letting Fang Qing fly higher and higher, higher and higher, to the very height of the blessed land. Further up, there was the fetal membrane of heaven and earth transformed by the first layer of Tiangang. Through the heavy clouds and mist, Fang Qing's eyes widened instantly. At this moment, under a wider field of view, the distant horizon is no longer a straight line, but shows a slight curvature, like the edge of a huge sphere. That is an eyeball. The towering peaks are the huge nose bridges, the deep valleys are the sunken eye sockets. The entire land suddenly presents an outline of the facial features. This is a head? Fang Qing muttered to himself. The continent of blessed land actually has the face of that head. The rolling terrain is just the facial features of the face. The basin that I was walking in just now was the tongue of the head. The mountains are like teeth like door panels. The broad plain is the smooth forehead of the head, on which dark rivers rush and intersect, forming a complex and mysterious rune. Whoosh! A strong wind blew, and it seemed to be mixed with the roar of some giant thing. The earth trembled, and the huge head suddenly opened its eyes, revealing a pair of dark, lifeless eyes without the whites of the eyes. The door-like mountains closed in an instant, the huge head snapped together, and its tongue rolled up. Whether it was Daoji of the Immortal sect or Fang Qing who was flying extremely high, they disappeared without a trace in an instant. Do it. Qi Refining Road, Taibai Island. In the cave, Fang Qing cursed secretly, the Taoist beads in his body rolled around, and he opened his mouth. Poof. A sharp golden energy emerged, cutting through the restrictions, leaving deep marks on the cave wall, and finally turned into a piece of platinum gold iron. Taoji spiritual things are mixed with white iron one by one? Fang Qing rubbed his temples, feeling that his head was still dizzy. This is the same backlash and Taoist infusion brought about by looking directly at the divinity of stomach earth last time. But I feel better than that time. Is it because my cultivation level has become higher, or is it because the Kongjin, true lord is dead? Or is there no gold left in this corpse? That's right. Through the Taoist infusion, Fang Qing already knew that the huge head in the blessed land of oblivion came from a fallen true lord, Kongjin. It's the corpse of the true king. I just don't know if it is the Kongjin, true lord who was swallowed by Yuewu. But there are many ways to realize the gold position, and the ancient times are long, maybe there are many, Kongjin, true lore. DS who have existed. He exhaled a long breath and slowly digested the Daosheng. This time, due to the smaller backlash, I was able to persist longer and received more Daosheng infusion. Unfortunately, there is no Tao number for that person. The true king fell. There are 3 drops. The essence and blood were spread and turned into the 3 golden Shaoyang Yuan plants I saw. Is this flower transformed by the essence of Kongjin? It is indeed the essence of Kongjin. There is nothing more consistent with the image of the essence of Kongjin than the blood of the true lord. Fear. The strongest emotion on the corpse of the true king is fear. The fear of Worth Year. Worth Year is above the true king. She is afraid of the original Kongjin, Worth Year. A look of sudden realization appeared on Fang Qing's face. In the ancient times, the real, year-old age, was beyond the realm of the true lord of the golden core. It was only after the ancient times that the real, Sui, disappeared, and other Jindan monks ascended to the gold position. But even so, the position of the 12, Sui, set by Qi will not change due to the subsequent change of the true lord. My previous speculations about the ancient times were all wrong. The real value of year gives the 12 gold bits the image and symbol of controlling the years. It can never be deprived or replaced by subsequent changes of golden elixirs and killings. This also means that in the ancient times after the ancient times, the real value of year, the strong ones have all fallen or disappeared, and the strongest ones only have the golden core realm. There is a legend that the true lord walks on the earth. The strength of the golden core true monarch mainly depends on the Taoism and the realm. But if the Taoism and the realm are different, if the realm is the same, it depends on the strength of the symbols each masters. Zui Sui is a very strong symbol. In addition, there are also the right positions of various major traditions that symbolize the right. For example, they are all in the early stage of the golden elixir, and stomach earth is stronger than Lu earth and D earth, female earth, because stomach earth holds the righteousness of earth and controls the image of the right position of earth, but stomach earth is weaker than Lu Jin and wing fire, because in addition to their respective right position images, they also control the image of year-old. Even a swaying fire-like, with the symbol of New Year's Eve, the true lord in the early stage of the golden elixir can be comparable to the true lord, wetland, in the early stage of the golden elixir. This is the truth about the prominence of the golden fire in this world. The general trend set by the first generation of 12-year-olds in the ancient times has really not changed for thousands of years. Is this the realm above the true king? Then why did the Kais fall or disappear? Wait, now seems not the time to think about this. Fang Qing came back to his senses. The corpse of the nameless true monarch instilled many Taoist practices, mostly fragmentary, as well as his thoughts on heaven, earth, and practice, but the key is not here, but in the blessed land of oblivion. There is a talisman on the forehead of that true monarch. It is suspected to be related to Ntu. Was the corpse discovered, moved to a blessed place, and used as a corpse for refining? Other than the Yin Corpse sect, or the Ntu, behind the Yin Corpse sect, who can have such a skill and be in southern Xinjiang? Who else is he willing to reveal a trump card this time to calculate which one? Convinced, the sky above Kurosawa. Why haven't you, fellow Taoist, entered the blessed land to explore? Jinren Liu looked at Sanji and said with a smile, how about the two of us entering together? Sanji put his hands together and said, Donor, there is no need to persuade. The poor monk is hesitant, and it seems that the bone heart is warning him, but it is not suitable to explore today. According to common sense, with the isolation of the blessed land, even if the entrance have any reminder spells, it will be difficult to take effect. Even if those Taoists light the soul lamp and die after entering the cave heaven paradise, there will be a delay or even an error when the soul lamp is extinguished. After all, the cave heaven paradise is isolated from the void, and can even isolate the initiation method of the secret realm. Is it a joke? Therefore, Sanji should not know the situation in the blessed land, but he still firmly refused. The poor monk never gambles, so he will not lose. That's all. The line of jade will go first, the Dharma king will wait. This investment of 10,000 cultivation cannot be wasted, right? Jinren Liu laughed and stepped into the blessed land of oblivion. After entering the blessed land, his expression became extremely solemn. On the jade talisman, a magical movement opened a door. Jinren Liu opened the door again and came to a bronze palace. The surroundings were dark, and only the bronze palace lanterns were lit. Meet the sect master. Jinren Liu saluted to the bronze palace. I saw a person suddenly emerging from the darkness of the dense fog. This man was very tall, wearing a bronze mask and complicated and mysterious clothes. On the back of his robe, circles of magical radiance alternate, blooming with 4 different brilliance. He is clearly a great master of the Purple Mansion who has perfected the 4 magical powers. This person is the leader of the Immortal sect. Reporting to the sect mast. The White-Bone Dharma King saw the blessed land of annihilation. Opened it, but hesitated. Master Liu bowed down and told what happened one by one. This corpse sect will offer blood food every once in a while, and the Zhuanzhun's Haizhaijiu corpse condensation edict is even more mysterious. It's a pity that if a female earth, Zifu sacrifices this time, with the image of the master of the tomb, the blessed land of annihilation will be more stable, and it will be easier to bury the corpse. The Immortal sect master sighed quietly. But sect master, this sect has such a plan for a hidden Dharma king? Aren't you afraid of having a big karma with the secret realm in the future? Master Liu also doesn't want to provoke those lunatics. How do you know that this is not required by the secret realm? The Immortal sect asked back, what? Master Liu was surprised. Is Minzang so crazy? Would you even harm your own Dharma king? After all, it was the Bone Dharma King who broke through the Purple Mansion before, and it seemed that he was not strong enough. In the end, he only managed to break through with the help of spiritual atmosphere. This is doubtful, so there is a temptation. From under the bronze mask of the leader of the Immortal sect, a joking voice came out. Fang Qing came to this world with the power of killing. Combined with the secret technique of our sect, there is a magic called Slaughter Way, which specializes in killing the lowly people. Their lives are like candles. If your fortune is fluttering, you will see it collapse immediately when encountering the power of Fang Qing. However, if the qi is in your body, it is as solid as a rock and as strong as a pine and cypress, so it is difficult to kill and you will be safe and sound. So, this is a situation. A test? If the White-Bone Dharma King dies, does it prove that his physical strength is different? And he is the hidden Dharma King after all, so he leaves the dirty work to Oh me? Master Liu understood. Yes, if the White-Bone Dharma King survives, he will inform the Wuxiang Temple of all living beings. If he dies, he will inform the Mahakala Temple. You know what to do. The Immortal sect leader waved away the Jade Master, and the entire bronze palace fell into silence. Ahem. Suddenly, there was a cough in the silence. He bent over in pain, and the bronze mask fell to the ground at some point, revealing a face full of cracks. The face opened its mouth wide and coughed out mouthfuls of lus. The lus fell to the ground and suddenly turned into baby birds, flapping their wings as if frightened, flying around. After a long time, a voice full of resentment sounded in the bronze palace. Sanji, Zao Lord, Qi Refining Road, Taibai Island. Noting that Sangji returned to Wuxing Temple safely, Fang Qing nodded with satisfaction. After all, it is the realm of Zifu. The person is in the body, and wandering around Taishu is like taking it easy. Even if a few more middle-level Zifu people come, they may not be able to keep Sangji there. The so-called person in the body is the nameless true monarch's cultivation of the Zifu realm. Understand? After Zifu cultivated a magical power for the beginning of seeking gold, he interacted with the fruition position, and a little bit of personality was lowered and promoted. It is precisely because of having a little bit of personality that Zifu is extraordinary and otherworldly, and he is like a different species from the practitioners under Zifu. Furthermore, with the help of personality, one can also travel through the void without fear of the turbulent currents of the void. It can also be used to calculate and cultivate, and it will be unfavorable, just like Fang Qing who borrowed the status of Daoshengzhu. No matter how powerful the Daoji monks are, or what spells they cast, they can't do anything to Z Mansion, just because of the personality gap. The person without personality fights the person with personality. The two sides are as if they are in different dimensions. No matter how high the lower cultivator jumps, he cannot defeat the upper cultivator. The difference between the magical power of the Purple Mansion of Qi Dao and the magical power of the third-level monster beast of Qi Refining Dao is right here. As for Terra? Even if it's just a trace of Dharma King's personality, it's still a huge disadvantage compared to Dao Ji. Even with a little bit of personal blessing, the power of a spell by a Zifu monk can increase 1,000 times, which can turn the world upside down. Some practitioners call this the power of will, which means that the will of the Purple Mansion is the place with the power of heaven and earth. Fang Qing smiled slightly, put down his enlightenment, and began to consider reality. This blessed land of oblivion mission was personally promulgated by the great Dharma King Kamala Jia of the Wuxiang Temple of all living beings. There is an incarnate Buddha in the secret treasure area. Don't you know this blessed land? The hidden secret? So, a test? This secret realm is so cruel that not only the fate of mortals and lower cultivators is not taken seriously, the fate of the Dharma King is also not taken seriously. This should still be the sequelae of the previous failed breakthrough, but after surviving this time, it should be better. As for my own path, My birth destiny is, Jishui, I am afraid that I will become enlightened with, Jishui, in the future. That is a weakling. Fortunately, the position of the 5 virtues can be changed. For example, the symbol of the position of stomach earth was stolen from Lu Tu, so it's best to grab the image of the upright position of water, so that you can sit at the same table with the other Taoists who are not in the upright position of the golden fire Taoism. As for New Year's Eve, it's still too far away for me to remember. However, I am not yet in the Purple Mansion, and thinking about this is just like a joke. Fang Qing touched his temple, feeling the Daoshengzhu, and finally felt better. In a world with limited positions like conquering Dao, it is really difficult to get along without a golden finger. The folk customs of this small world are still simple, which is enough to comfort my heart. He got up and left seclusion, had some fun with Qin Rushiwe and the others, and went to the Bingpa cave to refine a batch of 3rd-level elixirs suitable for the cultivation of monks in the early stages of elixir formation. Then Sher Shiran returned to the cave and continued to retreat. Cultivation without the sun and moon. After elixir formation, the lifespan will be 500, a retreat may last for several years or decades. Fang Qing is a little better, he does not need to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth directly, but directly swallows the pills. Therefore, the cultivation progresses rapidly, and before he knows it, it is another 2 years of cold and heat. Absorb the Qi Dao. Shitua County, Whitebone Road, Wuxing Temple. It was midnight, but a sun suddenly appeared in the west. The sun shone brightly, turning night into day. Sangji felt something in his heart when he reappeared. At the junction of the land of Shu and the secret area, a dark plateau rises from the ground, which is more than 300 feet away from the ancient Shu plain. On the other side of the dark plateau, a bright sun emerges, causing the whole Shitua County to see the sun at night. Suddenly, the great sun set quickly and turned into a shadow of a red-robed monk. This monk has sunken eyes, bronze skin, and is covered in all kinds of golden jewelry. The golden ornaments are bathed in the radiance of the sun, blooming with all kinds of precious lights, bringing with them a splendid feeling of great wishfulness and great perfection. Sanchi, I have met Dharma King Vairocana. Sanchi put his hands together and bowed. Sangji is preparing to receive the great sun golden edict. Dharma King Vairocana raised an object in his hand, and it turned out to be a golden scroll, decorated with gold, making it look golden. What was even more terrifying was the aura on the scroll. It was as if the great sun just now was dwelling on it. Praise to the Tathagata the great sun. Sangji's face was full of piety, and he knelt down on the ground. The Dharma King in front of him, even if he practiced the great sun initiation secret technique and became a Dharma King, he was not worthy of his respect, even if he came down from the snow mountain. This represents the will of the Lord of the Snow Mountain. Dharma King Vairocana's eyes suddenly turned into pure gold, and the mark of the great sun appeared on his forehead. He raised the golden edict in his hand and said, with the might of the supreme 3 jewels and the blessing of my Dharma protector, I now send this Vajra secret edict to the white bone path as the Lord of the great sun. You disciples of the Dharma protector, you should know that there is harmony in the east. To please demons and confuse living beings, you need to hold a pestle for subduing demons, wear a secret mantra wheel, and light a lamp of wisdom to break the mountain gate. This order is shared by the world and the world. Seeing the order is like seeing the true face of the Buddha. Anyone who violates it will go to the Mani hell. Follow the lotus body, the surrounding spiritual atmosphere is circulating with heavy pressure. After Dharma King Vairocana announced his decree, the inexplicable pressure suddenly dissipated. Sangji will obey the Buddha's instructions, but please ask King Vairocana to show you how to act. Sangji put his hands together and said respectfully. He didn't know why the secret realm wanted to go to war with the Hahuan sect. You know, shouldn't Mazang join forces with Moyunya and Hahuan sect to deal with the pressure of the demon clan at Th? Is time? It can only be said that compared to the Great Sun Reincarnation Temple, Sanchi has become a lower cultivator again. This is the Buddha's instruction, just follow it. I want you to go eastward in the secret treasure territory, not just to occupy the Shitua County. You should go east, break through the Xuantu Gate, and cross Wushan County, until you reach the border of Hahuan. King Vairocana said, with the power of your white bone Dao, it is not difficult to complete this matter. After that, it will be a matter for our entire secret treasure territory. Sanji was shocked, and then he discovered that the secret treasure territory only had an agreement with Moyunya before, but had no restrictions at all with the Hahuan sect. Adhering to the Tao of Qi, there is no life temple. Sani, the boneless Dharma King, was wearing a tiger skin robe, sitting on a high platform, clasping his hands, and silently chanting sutras. Moonlight White Terra and Skybird Terra stand respectfully on both sides. The Taishu suddenly broke open, and a figure walked out. It was Fang Qing. Greetings to the Dharma King. Vidra Liduzi, please stand to one side and watch the seat for the 2 terras. The top item, Sangji's face remained unchanged and said, now that the white bone path has received the decree of the great sun, it is going to go eastward with all its strength, so naturally it is impossible to leave 2 empty seats. Sangji is ready to be promoted. The so-called Vajra power is naturally Fang Qing's official title as a Duzi. At this point, his Vajra power Duzi is enough to open a side hall in Wuxing Temple, or build another temple, put up his own statue, and accept incense offerings from believers. According to the law. Fang Qing walked aside and smiled at Yu Guangbai and Kong Ke, but he got 2 blank looks. This Vajra power, it is obvious that it can cross Taishu, but it was pretending not to know before, asking us to carry him, it's really hateful. A little anger arose in Moonlight White Terra's heart, and then was extinguished, turning into a swaying white lotus in her hand. Not long after, 2 Taoist female cultivators came in. When they saw several people, they all bowed respectfully, greetings to the Dharma King and Terra. Fang Qing glanced over and saw that the female cultivator on the left was petite, with dark skin and delicate facial features. She was cultivating, female earth. Another female cultivator was dressed in green, with picturesque features and a soft temperament. She should be cultivating, Jingmu. Even if the line of fire promotes Terra, she is not a concubine. After all, she still has to be a Taoist practitioner with some basic skills to be qualified. Otherwise, if a convinced monk is promoted, his body may explode and die, and someone who practices the same Taoism as the Dharma King is more suitable. Also West Tua the county could not find a second, Daoji, otherwise it would not be the turn of the, wood, repairer. Fang Qing recognized the, Daoji. He was originally a monk who obeyed the Qi of Wuxing Temple. He was originally unknown, but after Sangji became the Dharma King, he used the weather to stand out and build the Daoji. As for the female Daoji in the green skirt, she is a casual cultivator from Shitua County. She received the inheritance of the Jingmu Daoji during the previous chaos. She even had a spiritual object and luckily succeeded in casting the Daoji. This time I also heard that there was an opportunity to reach heaven in one step, so I went to Wuxing Temple to worship, and I was lucky enough to be chosen. Alas, she is also the taller one among the short ones. These 2 women were actually chosen by Fang Qing himself. After all, the one in, Weitu, made the world a law with one word, and destroyed most of the many disciples of Wuxing Temple. In the chaos before, Sanji really has no one in his hands. This is the chance for the 2 of them. At this time I saw the radiance of Sanji's magical power. The white bone temple fell, and magical powers emerged out of thin air, bringing huge pressure like mountains. This Dharma King will give you 2 initiations and the Dharma title today. Fang Qing watched this initiation, but he had a clearer understanding in his heart. This is actually with the help of rituals. Styles, rituals. Lend a wisp of one's person. And the location is limited, and it still needs to be transferred through the star sun, gold position on the snow mountain. Now that it has entered the secret, all the past has been forgotten. After the initiation ceremony, Sanji looked at the 2 freshly baked terras, first pointed to the gentle woman who was practicing, Wel. Elwood, I give you the auspicious green name. From today on, you are the auspicious green Terra of Wuxing Temple. Thank you, Dharmaraja. The auspicious green Terra bowed slowly, with such joy in her voice that the monks who heard it couldn't help but smile. Sanchi looked at the other dark-skinned secret nun, because they are both, female earth, Taoist priests. This girl has gained greater benefits than the auspicious green Terra even if they are all Terra, and their strength will be stronger. You are the black Terra of subduing demons. I teach you the solving demons and refining methods. I hope you will practice well. Thank you, Dharma King. Black Terra, who subdues demons, raised her head, and her dark skin actually had a jade-like brilliance, and her whole body seemed to be carved from a piece of black jade. In an instant, the combat power of 2 major Zifus was achieved, even the combat power of Zifu Shame. These 2 women are the biggest cannon fodder. Fang Qing was also very emotional when he saw this scene. The Dharma King of the Secret Treasures has always preferred to have less than too much when he accepts his son Terra. Old people like Yu Guangbai are not a special case like him. Even Kong K. Terra was able to be extradited to the door because of her noble status, profound cultivation, and good luck. Jixiang Green and Fu Mohei are both in the early stages of Daoji. They are promoted from the front line, so naturally they have to do the most dangerous work. It's a pity that the convinced monks are too poor in both cultivation and Taoism, and it is difficult to control the skyrocketing Terra Dharma. Otherwise, how can I promote a member of the Fang family to a higher position? This has to be intentional by the Fang family and can only be done through additions. I can't blatantly go through the back door for them. Fang Qing shook his head and expelled these distracting thoughts from the sea of consciousness. Really speaking, among the 5 sons of Terra, he is the one who can beat him the most. My strongest form should still be the true elixir mana of Blue Sea Kung, which can be improved with the title bead, and attack with the cultivation level of the middle stage of elixir formation. plus a bit of borrowed personality, so the mana is no less than that of ordinary Zifu in the early stage, and has the blessing of a personality, but it is different from the other, and the problem is easiest to detect. The second is, M2, Tao the base, combined with the character, is an ordinary Dizzy combat power, but he has a third-level body refinement, named Vajra Strength Dizzy. Both the Fang Qing Dharma Protector magic skill and the Dragon Elephant Golden Body achievement method are pure secret realm skills, and it is legitimate to appear on his Vajra Strength Dizzy. On the high platform, Sanji clasped his hands and said something. The 6 major purple mansions took action together to break through the Taishu. It didn't take long before they arrived at the huge hanging mountain at the gate of Xuanta Gate in Lita County. I saw that underneath the suspended mountain, I don't know when a dense army had been stationed. The White Bone Path has attacked Lita County once before and occupied several territories. This time they are making a comeback. Of course, it doesn't matter how the monks below are doing. The important thing is to see the outcome of the Z mansion above. Sanji, you are too bullying. Xuantu Jinren, who was dressed in earth-yellow Taoist robes and had a face like a young man, appeared, a little angry. Xuantu Donor, please calm down, the monk doesn't want to. Sanji clasped his hands together. This is the decree of the Great Sun, and we Brahma disciples have no choice but to obey it. Does the donor want to single out the 6 of us, or will he be besieged by the 6 of us? Xuantu Master's head was rolling with a mysterious light, and his whole body was unstable. He was obviously very angry, and it took him a long time to utter 2 words, shameless. The donor is in trouble. Terra is a part of our Dharma King's magical power, so how can we bully the few? Please. Sanji clasped his hands together, and the Terras on all sides took action, blooming Brahma light, and forced Xuantu Master into the void. With their kind of fighting power, if they were to fight in this world and their magical powers were slightly overflowing, a large number of Taoists might die. Even Master Xuantu gave in half-heartedly. After all, the bottom is his mountain gate. Wouldn't it be a huge loss of face if we were led by this shameless secret monk to break down our own mountain gate together? Humph. Sanji, you are just relying on the power of Terra. I also have a few friends. When the time comes, we will invite them over and see what you can do. A circle of divine light bloomed behind the head of Master Xuantu, turning into a grey mist, covering Taishu. This is his magical power, D2's Twilight Mist. It not only has the effect of hiding the body, but also can transform many poisons and add curses. If the donor can still call the Taoist friends, he should be in Taishu at this time. Sanji smiled and actually stepped into the grey mist transformed by twilight. Sure enough, the secret zone is marching eastward at this time. Did you see that Moyunya has already been invaded by the powerful outsiders? After all, the stomach earth prohibition order before was enough to seriously injure the vitality of these earthly demon cultivators, and the monster clan has made a comeback, putting huge pressure on the cliff. Nowadays, it is difficult to mobilize the great real people's combat power. Fang Qing showed the bronze gun holding the embryo of Z Mansion's magic weapon stirred in his heart. Could it be that the secret realm is colluding with the demon clan? This method is really dirty. Under his gaze, Sanji held a white bone relic and found the location of Shua. NTU Master without any hindrance. White Bone Temple's magical power has the ability to break illusions, and the cover of grey mist is useless. And the curse power that wrapped around Sanji's body, squirming like insects, disappeared without a trace under the brush of the bone relics. It is the dust cleansing function of this Zifu magic weapon that is amazing. A Zifu magic weapon can naturally bring unparalleled blessings to the combat power of Zifu Master. What's more, this cleaning dust is magical, coupled with the magical power of White Bone Temple. It actually defeats the magical power of Dusk Mist. This was given to Zifu by Zushu Wuxing Temple back then. Was the magic weapon designed at the time? Fang Qing's eyes jumped. It seems that the secret realm is very determined to penetrate the ancient Shu. The white bone relic jumped up and turned into a ferocious white bone powerful god and demon. The white bones were covered with various secret spells, and all kinds of auras flickered, to the point where Daoji monk would be seriously injured just by looking at it. The white bone Hercules god demon opened its ferocious mouth and bit hard. Boom. Taishu seemed to turn into a piece of glass, which was bitten into pieces and chewed in its big mouth. But Master Xuantu has disappeared. With the magical power of walking in Taishu, he just shuttled back to the present world. This is why Master Zifu is so difficult to kill. If Dezhenren hadn't taken action, even if several middle-stage Zifus were besieging him, it would be difficult for an early-stage Zifu to fall. Of course, it is easy to defeat. Zuantaman Mountain Gate. The leader, Tu Yuanzi, tremblingly resisted the army of monks, and suddenly a Sanskrit voice came to his ears, Donor. I am willing to admit defeat. It's over. His heart felt empty, and the shadow of the tragic defeat decades ago resurfaced in his mind. Beyond the hanging mountain. It's not easy for Master Xuantu. After all, he is just in the early stage of Zifu who has developed a magical power, and he doesn't have any Zifu magic weapon in his hand. If we continue to fight, there is a real possibility that he will be beaten to death by the six of us. Fang Qing holds the bronze gun and watches Master Xuan to leave. Zifu Jinren can't be defeated, so it's easy to escape. The fall of the Z mansion that he had heard about several times was either trapped in the cave heaven paradise, or the great master of the late Z mansion took action. These were all special circumstances. But Master Xuantu is really miserable this time. The mountain gate is lost, and even the Zifu formation cannot be taken away. Moving the Zifu formation is a very troublesome matter. Before Master Xuantu could reach the step, he was killed by Bone Dao at the door of his house. But my white Bone Dao has also offended an enemy of the Z mansion and Moyunya. Master Sichen is very careful. When we get rid of the pressure of the demon clan in the future, we will definitely have a plan. Fang Qing sighed and waved the bronze gun in his hand. He has now reached the third level of body refining, and his energy and blood are soaring into the sky, like a great demon. The quality of the bronze sword in his hand is extraordinary, but it can easily withstand his huge power. The bronze in his body flashes with light and turns into a bronze sky pillar, which crashes onto the Zifu formation hanging on the mountain. The tombs of the Zifu formation turned into thousands of ravines under the rays of light, and there was also the image of Su Yuan Qingkuan, but they were blocked by it. Not bad, Fang Qing praised and shouted, let's do it together. In an instant, figures of Terra appeared one after another. The moonlight is shining, the 5 elements of divine light fall to the ground, there is even more auspicious green, and a darkness. The gathering of many magics seems to turn this world into the pure land of Brahma, with Brahma light stretching far and wide, flowers falling from the sky, and golden lotus sprouting from the ground. Wow! Suddenly, the Zifu formation opened, and a Daoji monk emerged, followed by a group of quail-like little cultivators who shrank their heads in submission. Xuantu sect 2 Yuanzi, willing to surrender, the Daoji monk knelt on the ground, holding high the seal of the leader in his hand. Fang Qing took it indifferently and saw that the seal was a small earth-yellow seal, as if carved from a whole piece of bright yellow stone. After the sacrifice, you can sense the Zifu formation and have the right to control it. Thousands of gullies and ravines formation? Back then, we invited everyone to arrange the formations on Moyun Cliff, and the corresponding one was a magical power in D2, Su Yuankuan. Back then, in order to establish this Zifu formation, Master Xuantu and the Xuantu sect worked as cattle and horses for Master Yasheng formation for 50 years before he could pay off the debt. This also delayed Master Xuantu's practice and did not even have to sacrifice a Zifu magic weapon. The entire Xuantu sect's treasure house is actually not as valuable as the Zifu formation. This grudge is finally settled. Fang Qing casually threw the small seal to the moonlight white Terra next to him. This Zifu formation must be dismantled. After all, Master Xuantu must still have the highest control authority, and keeping it will be to support the enemy when the time comes to replace this hanging mountain formation with the Brahma Gate Mandala ritual formation. Even Master Xuantu will not be able to recognize the portal. He took 2 Yuanzi and handed it over. Several ancient books came. The first one is the Xiantu Zhenjing. This method of practicing, D2, Twilight Mist, is the Zifu level. It's a pity that I already have a better tude. Fang Qing glanced threw it to Kongke Terra, and then looked at the list of disciples and the treasury accounts that were finally presented. Well, it is the Zifu sect after all. After all, it has some treasury. After the last robbery, it is time to relax again. It is a pity that we encountered these unreasonable people in the secret area. This broke down the mountain gate, held its master, and knelt in front of the steps. Xuantu sect was really destroyed? Below, there were many convinced monks. Lu Mingxue clenched the Xianqing magic sword in her hand and stared at this scene. She knew the Xuantu sect. Back then, it was this sect's Daoji Dashio who piloted a huge boat and sent away the top leaders of the Kitchen God sect and her husband, never to return. Later, she heard that her father-in-law followed the Brahma soldiers and once broke through this mountain gate, but failed to complete the task and returned with regret. I didn't expect that the second time my family set foot here, they would see the Xuantu sect destroyed. I believe that the spirits of my husband and father-in-law in heaven will be happy to hear this. Lu Mingxue relaxed her body and glanced at the monk Fayuan next to her. This monk the couple really surrendered, and the Fang family was both prosperous and devastated. With the Fang family's spiritual resources, they finally managed to maintain their magic power and recover from their injuries, and came together to attack Xiantuman this time. The destruction of the Xuantu gate is just the beginning, but the expression on monk Fayuan's face was ugly. If the Brahma enemy is only the Xuantu gate, why should the young monk grovel? This time, the army is going to break the Xuantu, attack Wushan, fight all the way through ancient Shu, kill the Hehuan sect, and then compete with the Jingdan sect. Fang Wujiu and Lu Mingxue both sighed and cursed in their hearts. Why is this plague-stricken secret monk so crazy? Did the Hehuan sect provoke you? Why don't you travel thousands of miles to risk your life with others? However, the secret is like this: the control is extremely tight, a thought by the superior, the world below will be turned upside down. Qi refining way, Taibai Island. With a flash of light, Fang Qing's figure quietly emerged. After breaking through the Xuanti gate, we still have to hurry. Most of the army is composed of convinced monks. They can't fly very far at all. They mainly rely on walking, not to mention that there are a bunch of Daoji and convinced forces along the way, still to attack Wushan County, the gateway to Shu, and then run to the border of Hehuan. It will take at least several years just to travel. It is very difficult for Xiaoxiu to cross ancient Shu, and it also has the task of attacking cities and territories, which takes even longer. Fang Qing was obviously indifferent to Xia for such a long and bloody battle. Immediately return to Taibai Island and prepare to explore the more vast world of cultivating immortals in the East China Sea. After all, he has now cultivated Dizzy. In the past, the 1,000 miles of sea road, which was quite far away for Dongjia monks, is now only half a day's work in Taishu. Fang Qing came out of customs as usual, ready to enjoy himself before going on his way. At this time, Bei Lingshu came over and brought some bad news to the sect. What? The celestial phenomenon of forming a pill appeared in the sect 3 days ago? Fang Qing's heart moved and he made some calculations. So, it's sure Tianxin. The last time the gold-forming pill was prepared for him. With his cultivation, qualifications, and a gold-forming pill, the probability of forming the pill was almost 50%, but it failed. This is not my fault. You can't be defeated or scared by me, right? Fortunately, there are no enemies in Shaohuanhai now. Yuan Jishuan and the Dongjia ancestor are enough to suppress it. Send a letter of condolences for me, that's all. He waved his hand and said nonchalantly. Bei Lingshu stepped back with confusion on his face. I and her intelligence. It just describes the celestial phenomenon of forming pills on Bu Island, but never mentions the success or failure. Why does Patriarch Fang think that the opponent has failed to form pills? In the world of Qi refining Dao, the Zhao Wanhai immortal cultivation world is only a corner of the East China Sea immortal cultivation world. And it is only connected to the East China Sea immortal cultivation world by Wanli Haidao. There are many places with extraordinary spirits, and the journey is not only long, but also very dangerous. In addition, there are really no special products here, and there are very few spiritual objects above the 3rd level. As a result, high-level monks rarely come here unless they are from the local area. In the void, I occasionally bypass the void storm to avoid danger. After spending half a day, I came to a sea area. This sea area was red, and the seabed was full of all kinds of brilliant blood-colored corals. In the ordinary world, any coral could be sold for a sky-high price, but to a cultivator, anything without aura is just garbage. Here we are. This should be the Red Coral Sea. Fang Qing took out the sea chart Zhong Lingxiu sent before and compared it. The Tianchuang sect is not far from this sea area, and its subordinates occupy many sea areas. This island has 4th-level spiritual veins. It has many 3rd-level spiritual islands under its jurisdiction. Zhong Lingxiu is currently taking the Zhong family to live temporarily on Bingtian Island. There is a market on this Bingtian Island, which rents out caves, up to 3rd level. He has now built a small island. The force is called Zhongming, and it is considered to be affiliated with the name of Tianchuang sect. In the East China Sea immortal cultivation world, a force that does not have an alchemy cultivator is simply not worthy of the name Bingtian Island. Br. It is said to be an island, and it looks like a majestic continent. In the middle of the continent, a magnificent building rises from the ground, divided into 9 floors, with a large number of palaces built on each floor, forming a continuous formation. This building is completely wrapped in it. The upper part corresponds to the stars, attracting the light of the star Han, and the lower part connects to the earth veins, gathering the energy generated from all directions. It is actually a quasi-4-level structure. In many palaces, there are tablets of elixirs, cranes crow, and spiritual apes pick fruits. This square has large gates to all directions, and there are strange ice sculptures on the left and right of each gate. They are all 3rd-level ice puppets. Bingshan Fang. This square is not ranked among the world of immortal cultivation in the East China Sea. They are all so magnificent. No wonder the monks who have been to the East China Sea cultivation world look down upon the rural place of Zhao Wanhai. Fang Qing did not go to Fang City, but came to another place on Bingtian Island. Place. As far as the eye can see, there is an ice canyon with a large number of castles built, and there is a faint quasi-3rd-level spiritual energy flowing out. And at the top of the frost castle, there is a snow-white flag with the word Zhongming. In an ice and snow palace. Zhong Lingxiu was drinking tea with a black-robed alchemy-forming monk. Fellow Taoist, please have some mercy on me. This black-robed alchemy-forming monk is the deacon of Bingshan Fang, with the Taoist name Xian Qi. Hearing this, he shook his head. We opened the gate widely and ran spiritual veins to various families. Naturally, it is all based on business. If the Taoist friend is not an elder of Tianshuang sect, the price may not be as low as this, and it can't be lower. Xianqi took a sip of the spirit tea and said, fellow Taoist, you have really worked hard. In fact, if we did not maintain this small force, we and the Zhendan monks would not be able to live freely. Alas, they are my tribe after all, Zhong Lingxiu replied with a bitter smile. In fact, if it weren't for young master's orders, he would have thrown away all these burdens and gone to Tianshuang sect to relax. Fellow Daoist Zhong. Mr. Bai is asking for an audience while Zhong Lingxiu and Taoist Xuanqi continued to talk. A piece of pill-forming spiritual consciousness came. A joyful expression immediately appeared on Zhong Lingxiu's face. Fellow Daoist Bai, have you succeeded in forming the elixir? He turned around and introduced to Xianqi, he is my friend from Shaohuanhai. I didn't expect that you finally succeeded in forming the elixir. It turns out that there is a new comrade, which is indeed a happy event, Taoist Xianqi thought to himself. It turns out that there is also a Danjia hidden in this Zhongmeng, so it makes sense. There are 2 Danjia monks sitting there. In the town, one person guards the house and the other goes out. Whether it is running a boat or hunting monsters, he can always earn enough spirit. After waiting for a moment, he saw a white light fall, and a sword-browed and starry-looking male pill-forming male cultivator appeared. The power of the elixir is extremely mellow, and his cultivation is indeed as if he has just entered the elixir formation. It is Fang Qing who appears with the appearance of Fang Jin. Fellow Taoist Bai, I am Xianqi, I have not yet congratulated my fellow Taoist for forming the true elixir. Xianqi smiled and chatted with Fang Qing for a few words, and then stood up, since Zhong Daoyu has a guest, I will come back in 2 days. After this person left, Fang Qing sat down on the main seat without being polite and said, what's going on? He used to focus on the Qi Dao war and didn't care about the little things on Zhong Lingxiu's side. Now it seems that the situation is not good. It's just a quasi-third-order spiritual vein, but the rent is so high. Isn't the world of immortality in the East China Sea extremely rich in resources? Fang Qing was a little strange. The resources are rich, but they all have owners. This ice island belongs to Bingshan Fang. The owner of the ice island is said to be A.M. Ankh in the late stage of Danjia, and is related to an old Yuanying monster, Zhong Lingxiu said with a bitter smile. Although the ice island is open to the outside world, renting spiritual veins to sects and big families, but charging a high fee, means forcing the monks to work in the market, working as cattle and horses for them. In fact, if Fang Qing hadn't asked him to find a neutral place to settle, he could have pulled people under the rule of Tianshuang sect, and then it would be relatively simple to allocate a third-level spiritual land. Even now, Zhong Lingxiu is just reluctant to bear the high rent and wants to bargain. Yes, Fang Qing understands that left and right are not a big deal. He leaned lazily on the soft chair and said casually, tell me about the current general situation of the East China Sea immortal world. Zhong Lingxiu bowed. The villain has given the information about the East China Sea immortal world to the young master before. Needless to say, the palace and the temple are the first level of the East China Sea overlord. The next 3 islands and 4 gates are Merchant Island, Fujian Island, and Blood Demon Island, as well as Sihaiman, Zuanzhongman, Tianjiman, Yushiman. Merchant Island is controlled by the immortal cultivation family, Shang. This family has also established the largest chamber of commerce in the East China Sea cultivation world, Shang Alliance. At the top auction every 100 years, it is said that there is an auction of Mingying spiritual objects. Fujian Island is famous for its seal script and swordsmanship, and there is also a special Fujian method, known as the dual cultivation of law and sword. The Blood Evil Island is a demonic force. It is a mobile island. Its whereabouts have always been elusive. It can withstand several righteous encirclements and is probably the strongest among the 3 islands. The other 4 sects have their own characteristics. The Tianji sect is good at puppy. The Xuanzhong sect is good at alchemy, the Beast Control sect is good at controlling beasts, and the last Sihai sect is also a chamber of commerce model, composed of a bunch of medium forces practicing immortality and various arts. They are all involved. Strictly speaking, I, the Tianshuang sect, am also a supporter of the Sihai sect. As for the elixir that increases the mana of the alchemy monks and can help break through bottlenecks, it is quite rare even in the East China Sea cultivation world. Medium powers such as the Tianshuang sect can only use it as occasional rewards. It is impossible to always support the alchemy monks to take third-level elixirs. If you want to get them in large quantities, you can only find away from these top forces. Zhong Lingxiu said eloquently. He is also a monk in the early stage of forming pills. Asking about these will not attract any attention, it is a matter of course. Well, this is not urgent. Fang Qing waved his hand. In his hand, he still had a batch of third-level elixirs refined from Millennium elixirs, which were enough to last for a while. Although I have medium qualifications, my cultivation speed seems to be about the same. It should be that the cultivation of alchemy monks mainly depends on the quality of true elixirs, and the role of qualifications has been reduced a lot. and Zhong Lingshou's qualifications are second only to Tian Pin's spiritual roots. What I got was a middle-grade true elixir. According to Fang Qing's calculations, if he is a monk with superior qualifications and condenses low-grade true elixirs, his cultivation speed in the realm of elixir formation may be even worse than his own. I am slightly better than the quality of high-grade true elixirs. Maybe the bottleneck in the middle stage of elixir formation is not too difficult? If a true elixir is swallowed, my fate is up to me. After cultivating the elixir, I finally changed my destiny. Otherwise, where would I go to find a secret realm in the Zhoutian Star Palace to collect resources? Fang Qing was relieved. He originally planned to come to the East China Sea Immortal realm to find treasures and secret techniques to improve his qualifications. Now it seems that it can be slowed down. After sending Zhong Lingshou away, Fang Qing took over the best cave in Zhongmeng and began to meditate. Sure enough, the spiritual energy is not as good as Taibai Island. Coming to the East China Sea cultivation world is just like coming to a big city from the countryside. The materials are abundant, but the living conditions are not good. No matter how bad Ziyuanhai is, at least the third-level spiritual island can be monopolized by Jiedan. This place is only suitable for renting third-level caves. Zhongming, what's worse, the spiritual energy is almost third level. Of course, if you are really rich and powerful in a big city, you will live in a bigger house than a farmhouse in the countryside. That is to say, the old monster Yuanying, who has a fourth-level spiritual vein to enjoy one after a little meditation and breath adjustment to recover. Fang Qing began to think about the cultivation of his own qi refining path after forming the elixir. The accumulation of mana by the true elixir does not happen overnight. As for ordinary elixir-forming monks, after condensing the true elixir, the first important thing is to refine their own natal magic weapon. This is the case with Zhong Lingshou. In order to refine his own Ice Soul Pearl, he still owes Tianshuang sect a large amount of contribution. I have seen several natal magic weapons in Bihai Gong, and the more outstanding ones are one bead and one flute. Shanheizu and Qingfeng flute. These are actually the Huahai Pearl and Jade flute magic weapons in Fang Qing's hands. Bihai Zhenren could do it back then. As a great monk who has perfected the pill formation, the natal magic weapon is naturally the best. Now that it has been passed to Fang Qing. Although the power of the natal magic weapon has been reduced, it is still sufficient in the early and middle stages of the pill formation. Not to mention, there are still a bunch of powerful treasures in his hand. Even the slaying wolf flying sword. Thinking of this, the golden energy in Fang Qing's lungs circulated and turned into a flying sword. This natal flying sword has been being warmed and nurtured in his body. Since he was in the late stage of Taoji, he transformed into Lu Jin and Rui Mengzhang and was warmed and raised several times. Especially with the help of the third-level true fire of Wu Mingjiao Jin, it has been refined twice more. Now it is a third-level flying sword. Only speaking, it is no worse than ordinary low-grade magic weapons. But I am a water practitioner after all, so using a gold-based flying sword is always a bit inappropriate. Fang Qing silently thought about his qi refining Tao pill formation technique. In fact, after forming the elixir, Blue Sea skill gradually became less important to him. After all, this skill is really mediocre. And the power of the natal magic weapon is also relatively average. Fang Qing naturally had plans for what technique he would turn to later, and that was swallowing the sea kung fu. This skill can be practiced to the point of spiritual transformation, and it is in the same vein as the Blue Sea skill. Well, in fact, no matter what kind of skill I switch to, it is effortless. But the problem is that after switching to another skill, the various experiences and spells I practiced before can still be used. The swallowing sea kung fu is worthy of being a god transformation technique. It has many more choices of natal magic weapons than the Blue Sea Kung Fu, and there are many powerful treasures. Fang Qing took out the piece of swallowing sea order, injected it with magic power, and carefully looked at the magic weapon part of his life. Xianming Mirror, Chaoyin Qin, Yuan H. Ai Pao, Yuan Pu Bead, Tide Nail, Swallowing the Sea. They are all extremely powerful natal magic weapons, and each has a different magical effect. Xianming Mirror can illuminate illusions, clear the heart and calm the mind, and is very effective for when the nascent soul is condensed. Heart Demon Tribulation has a certain effect. As for the Ko Yinkan, which is biased toward music, I know nothing about it, so I'll rule it out first. The Yuanhai Robe Master's Defense. It is said that it is difficult to cross the abyssal sea with supernatural powers. It can resist most third-level attacks. The Yuan Tong Pearl is a treasure of spiritual consciousness. It is like the third vertical eye between the eyebrows. It can increase one's spiritual consciousness by a small level, and it can also attack with spiritual consciousness such as illusions. The Tide Nail is a flying needle magic weapon. There are 13 pieces in a set. It is very powerful and very sinister. The last sea swallowing bottle has its own space inside. It is said to be able to swallow rivers and seas, and is good at absorbing all kinds of magic. Speaking of which, Fang Qing wants all these natal magic weapons, but as a human being it is better to be more practical. For the sake of breaking through the nascent soul, he naturally chooses the Shanming mirror and the Yuan Tongzhu. After all, one of them involves the nascent soul demon tribulation, and the other can enhance the spiritual consciousness, which is very useful for breaking through the realm. B or the second choice depends entirely on the materials on hand. He happens to have a piece of the main material in his hand that is enough to refine the swallowing sea vase, the 9 abyss stone. But, it's an inexplicable coincidence. If I am convinced of Qi Dao, I will never use it. But it doesn't matter here. Fang Qing made a calculation. This swallowing the sea bottle seems to be related to a chance. After forming the elixir, his ability to calculate has undoubtedly reached a higher level in Xiao Huanhai.at this time. Even if the old monster nascent soul is involved in the calculation, he can barely react. While calculating the cause and effect, an unexpected figure emerged. Spread the red sleeves. This girl has disappeared inexplicably since she came to the East China Sea cultivation world. She must have entered the sea as a dragon. At the same time, she also doesn't want to expose her family to the eyes of a master Jidan, right? But this woman and I have deep karma, so we don't need any support, just calculate it. It seems that the opportunity of swallowing the sea bottle is also related to the Zhoutian Star Palace.